I saw that red thread again, a thin strand, lying in the deepest corner of the drawer. The color is so vivid it stings the eyes, like a gash of blood gouged from someone's heart in my past life. I tied it around Xiaolingzhou's wrist. He did turn around. As expected, he'll come home on time, hold me, take my hand in front of others, and whisper, Jihe, from now on, I'll only look at you. But I've never had a single day of true peace, because I know that's not him loving me. It was the red thread of fate that pulled him back for me. So in this life, I didn't wait for him anymore. I lowered my head and wound the red string around my wrist, loop by loop, a slight tremor of the fingertips as the thread is knotted, as if something had finally, slowly awakened from a long nightmare. I was reborn 2 days before Xiaolingzhou's brand launch event. The computer screen is still on. Above is the 7th draft of the main visual I created for his brand. Every line, color scheme, and composition was painstakingly crafted by me, stroke by stroke. A ring of dark stain had formed around the cold coffee on the table. On the phone screen, a message from Xiaolingzhou, sent half an hour ago, still lingered. Won't be back tonight. I have a client to meet here at Chamon's. Very brief, not even an explanation. No explanation needed, because on this night in my past life, I had already explained it for him countless times. He's busy. He is tired. Starting a business hasn't been easy for him. Xiaoman is a brand marketing consultant, just a work colleague. As a wife, I should be understanding, be sensible, and not cause him trouble at critical moments. That's how I talked myself into it back then. While trying to talk him out of it, I sat at this desk and worked on revising the main visual for his press conference until 4 in the morning. After I finish revising it, I'll send it to him. He didn't reply. The next day at noon, he only sent one line, it's okay, but Xiaoman said it could be a bit more upscale. I stared at those words, so heartbroken I could barely breathe. Yet he still went on to revise it for the 8th time. 9th edition, 10th edition. The press conference was a success. Xiaolingzhou stood on stage, impeccably dressed in his suit, the lights falling on his shoulders. He said, I want to thank my team. The audience erupted into thunderous applause. No one knows that the visually striking main image, praised for its warmth, memorability, and distinctiveness, was something I stayed up several nights in a row to create. No one cares either, including Xiaolingzhou. Only after the dinner party ended did he casually bring me over to Xiaoman and say, in a flat tone, this is my wife, Meng Jihe. Xiaoman smiled and extended her hand, a delicate ring adorning her fingertip. That ring was a brand anniversary edition I picked out with Xiaolingzhou. I remember it very clearly, because I once stood at the counter and asked him seriously, is this one too delicate? Is it suitable for men? He said at the time, it's not for me to wear, it's for the brand's photo shoot, so that's how it's used. I was in the bathroom at the dinner party, crying so hard I started dry heaving. After coming out, Xiaolingzhou frowned at me. Jihe, today is important, don't be like this. At that moment, I even wondered if I was the one who wasn't mature enough. If I were just a little better, a little more dignified, a little more magnanimous, would he come back later? I met that red thread of fate. The old lady selling thread said, tie it around your beloved's wrist. As long as the thread never breaks, you'll always have a place in their heart. I clung to it like it was my last lifeline. While Xiaolingzhou was asleep, she tremblingly tied the red string around his wrist. The red line fades into the skin. The next day, for the first time, he took the initiative to make me breakfast. On the 3rd day, he turned down Xiaoman's invitation to have dinner with me. A week later, he held my hand in front of his friends and said I was the most important person to him. Everyone said that Xiaolingzhou had finally come to his senses, but I've become more afraid he might glance at Xiaoman, afraid his phone might light up. I'm afraid he'll turn his back on me in the middle of the night, afraid that one day I'll wake up to find the red thread gone and him no longer loving me. I have lived my life as a thin thread beside the red line. It breaks at the slightest breeze. In the end, I stopped painting and doesn't go out either. Night after night, staring at Xiaolingzhou's wrist like a child hoarding stolen candy, knowing full well it isn't theirs, yet still terrified of it being taken away. How ridiculous, reborn into a new life. Yet here I am, sitting at the very same table. The draft for Xiaolingzhou's press conference is still on the computer. His phone still showed the message about Xiaoman's absence. In the drawer, there was still that same red string, but this time, I didn't touch his name. I tied the red string around my left wrist, very light, virtually weightless. The moment it could be tied, a subtle warmth suddenly spread across the wrist bone. I was taken aback. The next second, my stomach let out a soft growl. I looked down at myself. Only then did I realize that I hadn't eaten a thing since I woke up this morning. My stomach was completely empty. My fingertips were slightly numb from drawing for so long. At this time in my past life, my mind was completely occupied with whether Xia Linzhou had eaten, if his client meeting went smoothly, and whether Qiao Man would be sitting in his passenger seat again, but never once asked myself, Meng Jihe, are you hungry? The red line gave another gentle burn. It feels like it's urging me. I suddenly burst out laughing. Pretty absurd. Even a thread nose to remind me to eat. I myself have forgotten for all these years. I closed my laptop the moment the screen went dark. The gentle orange glow of Xia Linzhou's brand visual also faded away. I stood up and walked into the kitchen. There isn't much in the fridge. Xia Linzhou doesn't like strong flavors. After we got married, he even turned my fridge into a showroom. Low-fat milk, sugar-free yogurt, frozen chicken breast, a neatly arranged row of sparkling water. There's still a box of beef brisket on the bottom shelf, which the aunt bought a few days ago. I took out the beef brisket and dug up 2 tomatoes. When slicing tomatoes, the juice splashed onto the back of my hand, a single spot of vivid red like a red thread on the wrist. As I kept watching, my nose tingled with a sudden, inexplicable ache. I used to love eating these 2 beef brisket with tomatoes, noodles tossed in chili oil, and a bowl generously topped with cilantro, but Xia Linzhou found the smell too strong. He said, Jihe, you weren't like this before. I truly believed that I had become the one at fault, so the family meals became increasingly plain. My taste has also become increasingly subdued. In the end, I grew so quiet that even I almost forgot. I used to be the kind of person who'd add 2 extra spoonfuls of chili oil to my noodles. The soup in the pot is bubbling away. The fragrance slowly wafted out. I cooked some noodles. I dug out another bottle of chili oil from the very back of the cabinet. The moment I twisted the lid open, the familiar spicy aroma hit my nose. I couldn't resist and poured a full spoonful into the bowl. After thinking about it, added another spoonful. The chili oil spread out, floating on the rich broth, stunningly beautiful. I sat down at the table with my bowl in hand. The first sip of hot soup slid down my throat, and it felt like a small flame had suddenly dropped into my stomach. Hot, sour, spicy, alive and real. I lowered my head and ate the noodles, sweating on my forehead. Halfway through the meal, my phone buzzed. It's Qiao Man. I didn't note her down, but that profile picture, I know it all too well. In my past life, I must have clicked into her moments hundreds of times. She checked which restaurant she went to today, what necklace she wore tomorrow, and whether Xia Linzhou's hand appeared in the corner of a photo the day after. I'm like someone looking for a knife to hurt myself, clicking in again and again, cut again and again. In this life, her news came earlier than I had expected. Miss Meng, how are you feeling? Lin Zhou mentioned that you've been a bit off lately and told me not to bother you. My hand, holding the chopsticks to pick up noodles, froze midair. A pang of pain still struck my heart. It's not a thunderous kind of pain, it's more like an old wound being gently picked open by someone's fingernail. Not deep but annoying. Soon, a second message popped up. It's a photo by the glass window of an upscale restaurant. Xia Linzhou sat under the light, his half-profile refined yet aloof. Qiao Man's hand rested on the table. He was looking down, fastening a delicate bracelet around her wrist. That bracelet was my initial sketch for Xia Linzhou's brand anniversary collection. There is a small leaf on the inside. I explained it at the time. The leaf represents the he in Jihe, and also symbolizes the brand's birth. Xia Linzhou said the symbolism was too personal to be used publicly, so it turns out it's not unsuitable for public disclosure. It's not suitable for me. Qiao Man sent another message. This bracelet is really beautiful. I thought you designed it yourself. I stare at the screen. The warmth in my stomach slowly spread. Fingers tightened little by little. In my past life, I would have called Xia Linzhou immediately. Ask him why. Ask him what gives him the right. Ask him if he has ever thought of me as his wife. Then they stopped answering calls and replying to messages. I'll keep dialing, over and over, and keep waiting. In the end, I turned myself into a joke. The red string on my wrist suddenly burned. This time, it's not a subtle warmth, it was a clear, distinct sound. I lowered my head. There's still half a bowl of noodles left. The beef brisket is tender and falls apart. The tomato broth is perfectly thick, and the chili oil floats with a beautiful red sheen. I've already wasted far too much for Xia Linzhou. Time, talent, tears, sleep, and myself. I can't afford to lose this bowl of noodles too. I placed my phone face down on the table. He scooped up a big mouthful of noodles and brought it to his mouth. The spiciness hit me, and I coughed, choked by the heat. Tears welled up instantly. Can't tell if it's spicy or painful, but I didn't stop. I finished eating the noodles. I even drank a few sips of the soup. My stomach was finally full, and my hollow body felt as if it had been pulled out of icy water. I pulled out a tissue and wiped the tears from the corners of my eyes, then pick up the phone. Xiao Man's photo is still sitting in the chat box. I didn't reply to her, nor did she confront Xiao Linzhou. I just opened my computer and dragged the file named Xia's Home Launch Event Main Visual Final Version into the recycle bin. The system displays a prompt. Are you sure you want to delete? I watched for a few seconds. Click confirm on the empty desktop. Only a folder remained, untouched for 3 years. Name, Hi's Diary, my illustration account. Before I got married, I drew many little comics under this name. Paint a dog waiting for its owner at the entrance of a convenience store on a rainy day. Paint a rented room with its lights still on at 3 in the morning. A girl secretly crying on the subway, then looking up at the sunset glow at the next stop. Back then, many readers left comments saying, "Hi, you drew me so well." Later, I married Xiao Linzhou. He said my little moods and stories were too personal to keep sharing publicly. He said, "You're Mrs. Xia now. Don't always let people see your vulnerability." So I stopped updating. On the first day of my hiatus, readers asked if I was sick. In the first month of my hiatus, editor Tang Yuning messaged me, saying the new column was still being held for me. In the first year of the hiatus, people still came to the comments saying, "Waiting for you to come back. It's been 3 years since I stopped updating, and no one asks anymore." I opened that folder. The last draft inside is a girl standing in the center of a tangle of yarn. She lowered her head, her body wrapped in a dense tangle of red threads. Every line leads beyond the frame. Not a single one was held in her own hands. I stared at the picture and suddenly felt like I couldn't breathe. It turns out that the me from 3 years ago had already sketched the person I am today. I just didn't get it back then. The red string on the wrist gently rests against the skin. It's not hot anymore. Like a quiet little breath, I picked up my paintbrush again. My wrist is a bit stiff from not having drawn in a long time. The first stroke landed, and the line was terribly crooked. I paused for a moment, but didn't delete it. Keep drawing downward. Draw a woman looking down at her left hand, a red string tied around the wrist. The man whose line does not reach far, nor does it lead to any closed door. It made a full circle and gently returned to her own heart. Just as I was drawing this, my phone suddenly rang. Xiao Linzhou's name popped up on the screen. I didn't answer right away. The phone rang for over 10 seconds before automatically disconnecting. Soon, he sent a message. "Xiao Man said you didn't reply to her just now. Meng Jihe, don't cause trouble before the press conference." I looked at the words, "Stop messing around," and suddenly laughed. So in his eyes, even though I don't cry, don't argue, don't press for answers, don't wait for him, and don't even reply to his messages, I'm still the one causing trouble. As long as I don't suffer in the way he's used to seeing, just messing around. Before I could reply, the sound of the keypad lock turning came from outside the door. Drip, drip, drip. The door opened. Xiao Linzhou stood at the entrance, carrying the scent of the night breeze and a faint trace of women's perfume. He lowered his head to change his shoes, his tone coldly familiar. "You deleted the main visual for the press conference." I looked up at him under the light. His sleeves were slightly rolled up on the inside of the left wrist. There seems to be a very faint red mark, a thin circle like a thread. Long thought gone, finally rising slowly from deep within the flesh too. My breath caught in my throat as I stared at that red mark, very shallow, so faint that if the light hadn't happened to fall on his wrist bone, I would have almost mistaken it for an illusion. Seeing that I remained silent, Xiao Linzhou's brow furrowed even deeper. "Meng Jihe, when he calls me by my full name, there's always a restrained displeasure in his tone, as if reminding me that I've done something wrong again. I used to be most afraid when he called me that. The moment he frowns, I instinctively start explaining myself. I didn't mean to. I'm just too sad. I didn't mean to affect your work. But at this moment, I just feel that the bowl of tomato beef brisket noodles was totally worth it. At least my stomach is warm." I leaned back in my chair and looked at him calmly. "Deleted." Xia Linzhou paused mid-motion while changing his shoes. He looked up at me. "Do you know how many days are left until the press conference?" "I know." "Then why did you delete it?" "I don't want to draw anymore." The air fell silent for a moment. Xiao Linzhou looked as if he had just heard something utterly absurd. He walked in, draped his coat over the arm of the sofa, and rolled up his shirt cuff slightly. The faint red mark showed a little more. I forced myself to look away. "Don't stare, not now. At least, don't want to paint anymore." His tone was flat. "Meng Jihe, do you think this is some kind of child's play?" I didn't respond. He walked over to the table, saw the empty bowl I had left behind, and then noticed the bottle of chili oil on the table. His brow furrowed even tighter. Eating this so late, in his past life, he said the same thing. He said it's greasy, it's said to be bad for the stomach, saying that I've been letting myself go more and more since getting married. I loved spicy food back then, yet I still quietly tucked the chili oil away into the deepest corner of the cabinet, like hiding a shameful version of myself. I looked down at the empty bowl. A bit of tomato broth remained, with chili oil floating on the surface, and the steam had already dissipated, but that feeling of fullness in my heart still lingers. I'm hungry. Xiao Linzhou seemed to be choked by my answer. He paused for a few seconds, lowering his voice. I was asking about the press conference. I was also answering questions at the press conference. I looked up. I'm hungry, so I'll eat first. I'm tired, so I'm done drawing. I don't want to keep doing free visual work for your brand, so I deleted it. As his words fell, Xiao Linzhou's expression finally changed. It's not anger, it's more like something hard to comprehend, like an old piece of furniture that had always stayed in its place. It suddenly grew legs and moved over to the window. He stared at me. Freebie, I softly hummed in agreement. From the founding of your brand to now, I've basically drawn all the holiday posters, packaging illustrations, and offline display drafts. Xiao Linzhou, have I ever taken any money? He remained silent. Let me answer for him. No, because I'm your wife, because I'm supposed to support you, because between husband and wife, you shouldn't keep such a clear account. I've heard these words way too many times. We're so close that I can finish his sentences before he even says a word. Xia Linzhou's gaze turned cold. So you're settling scores with me now? No. I pulled out a tissue and slowly wiped my fingers clean. I'm starting from now, no longer operating at a loss. He seemed to have completely lost his patience. Jihe, don't let Qiaoman's moodiness get to you. Finally, he still ended up saying it. I actually feel like laughing. Men are quite interesting. They've done something wrong, yet they always like to dismiss women's reactions as mere emotions. It seems that with just one phrase, "You're making a scene," they instantly transform from perpetrators into victims disturbed by unreasonable fuss. I looked at him. I didn't mention Qiaoman. Xiao Linzhou's brow twitched slightly. You didn't mention it, but that doesn't mean you don't care. Of course I care. I admitted it too quickly, and he was stunned instead. Let me continue. It matters to me that she wears the bracelet I designed. I care that you described me as unstable. I'm upset that you had me stay up all night drawing for the launch event while you were out meeting clients with her. I care too. The first thing you say when you walk in the door isn't asking if I've eaten, but why I deleted your picture. Xiao Linzhou's eyes darkened. That bracelet is a brand sample. I nodded. So you made her wear it. The client department needs to present, so you fastened it for her yourself. He opened his mouth as if to speak, closed again. In my past life, this was the moment I had been waiting for. Wait for his explanation, wait for him to say it's not what I think, waiting for him to say that I'm the only one in his heart. But now, looking at his silent demeanor, I just feel a bit weary. Explanations are the most boring thing. Someone who truly wants to put your mind at ease won't make you live like you're under interrogation, but someone who doesn't want to put you at ease, no matter how much they explain, is just dressing up the next hurt in a new disguise. I stood up and carried my bowl to the kitchen. Xia Linzhou grabbed my wrist firmly. Meng Jihe, what exactly are you trying to do? His hands are cold, the force is not light. He held my left wrist, the red thread pressed right beneath his palm. In an instant, a searing heat shot through the wrist bone. It's very hot. It felt like a cluster of fire burning beneath the skin. I winced and let out a soft gasp of pain. Xiao Linzhou jerked his hand back as if burned. He looked down at his own palm. A momentary daze flickered across the face. What's that tied around your wrist? I pulled my cuffs down a bit. The red thread is mostly hidden, with only a small, vivid tail end exposed. Decoration. Xiao Linzhou stared at that single spot of red. I've never seen you wear that before. I've never seen you put a bracelet I designed on anyone else before. His expression stiffened slightly. I walked around him and placed the bowl in the sink. The water came rushing down with a loud splash. I squeezed out some dish soap and washed the bowl very slowly. Xiao Linzhou stood at the kitchen doorway. He seemed about to say something more, but his phone rang. The screen lights up. Qiaoman. I saw it. He saw that I saw him too. The atmosphere suddenly became subtle. In his past life, when such moments came, he would take his phone and step out onto the balcony to answer. I'll sit on the sofa, listening to the muffled sound separated by the glass door. I can't hear the content clearly. All you could see was him occasionally lowering his head with a smile. That faint smile would pierce my heart like tiny needles. one prick at a time, and then my mind starts to wander. What did she say? Why is he laughing? Would he think she's more mature than me tonight? He didn't answer right away. Maybe it's because I'm too calm. The calm was so unusual that it made him uncomfortable. The call was automatically disconnected. Soon, Xiao Man sent another message. Xiao Linzhou glanced down and furrowed his brows. I finished washing the dishes and dried my hands. You can take it. He looked up. I said, I won't cry. I won't throw things. And I definitely won't grab your phone. Xiao Linzhou's face looked somewhat grim. Do you have to talk like that? I'm just letting you know in advance, so you don't think I'm too busy. I turned around and walked back to the study. I don't want to keep arguing with him at the kitchen door anymore. I've already finished the noodles tonight. The dishes are washed too. This is a good step forward. One should not be too greedy. As for the messy accounts in marriage, tonight is not the time to dig them up. I'm afraid that turning over might disturb my sleep. Behind her came the sound of Xiao Linzhou's footsteps following her in. The visual for the press conference must be restored by 10 a.m. tomorrow. His voice turned cold again. I can pretend tonight never happened. I stop, turn around and look at him. It cannot be restored. You can recover it from the recycle bin. I've cleared it all out. His expression finally darkened completely. I did clear it out before washing the dishes in the kitchen. I casually clicked empty recycle bin, smooth, almost a little happy, like a stone that had been pressing on my chest for 3 years, finally dropped into the sea with a heavy plop. Xiao Linzhou rarely lost his composure. Meng Jihe, do you have any idea how crucial this key visual is for the launch event? I know. Then why are you still doing this? Because I'm pretty important to myself too. Even I was taken aback by my own words, so this sentence isn't that difficult after all. I matter to myself too, but no one ever told me before. I never told myself either. The red string on the wrist rests quietly against the skin. This time it didn't get hot. It seems like approval. Xiao Linzhou stared at me for a long time, suddenly let out a laugh, very light, with a hint of disdain. You think just because you stopped this image, I can't do anything to you? I didn't say anything, he continued. The brand isn't carried by you alone. Xiao Man's team also has a visual department. They can handle it. That's great. I nodded, wishing you all the best. Xiao Linzhou was rendered speechless by my words. He seemed to have a lot to say, blame, threat, sarcastic sneer, but if I don't take it, he's like punching a pillow. No, not cotton, it's a door. A door finally locked from the inside. He stared at me and suddenly said, you've really been off lately. I smiled. Is that so? You weren't like this before. I haven't had many good nights of sleep before either. Meng Jihe. He lowered his voice. Don't bring marital issues into the workplace. Another couple, 2 very convenient words. We're a couple only when I need to give, when I need to be accommodating. We are husband and wife when I need to turn a blind eye. We are husband and wife. But when he gave my design to Xiao Man to wear, why didn't he remember that we are husband and wife? I sat back down at the computer. Work. I clicked on the empty desktop. Then let's talk business. My illustration licensing fee starts at 5 figures per piece for commercial use. The entire main visual package will be billed separately. I don't dwell on the past. From today onward, every transaction will be settled immediately. The hint of disdain on Xiao Linzhou's face gradually faded. He looked at me as if seeing me for the first time. Are you talking to me about money? I looked at him. After all, it's too much of a loss to talk about feelings with you. When these words fell, the entire study fell silent. A flicker of pain finally surfaced in Xiao Linzhou's eyes, but that's not guilt, it is an offense. He's gotten used to me loving him. He's so used to it that even my grievances are treated as part of the marriage package. Now I suddenly talk about money. He felt humiliated instead. He sneered. Meng Jihe, do you really think you can land any decent collaborations with an account that's been inactive for 3 years? My fingers paused slightly. This statement is spot on, like a thin, sharp blade, not fatal, but it cuts deep, causing pain. Paused for 3 years. No works, no exposure, no contract. Over the years, I've revolved around Xiao Linzhou, slowly erasing my own name from the world. Now, a casual remark from him is enough to hit me right where it hurts most. The red string around the wrist began to warm gently. It's not hot, it's warm, like a hand gently pressing down on my wrist. I took a breath, opened the browser, enter the account backend URL. Xiao Linzhou stood behind me, as if waiting to see what else I could do. The login page pops up. I entered my account. The password was entered incorrectly twice. It took 3 tries to get in. The backend interface felt unfamiliar after such a long time away. The follower count is a bit lower than I remembered. The last update was 3 years ago. The comment section is as quiet as a dusty old room. I didn't post anything immediately. Instead, I opened the private message. At the very top are some ads. Further down, there are scattered comments from readers. Hi, it's Raining today. It suddenly reminded me of the dog you drew. Are you coming back? I passed the graduate school entrance exam. Back then, your manga got me through those tough times. You may never see this, but I still want to say thank you. As I read line by line, my eyes suddenly welled up. So all these years I've been gone, it's not that no one remembered me, I was the one who forgot myself first. Xiao Linzhou spoke from behind. What's the point of digging through all this now? Yes, of course, it's far more meaningful than revising the 11th version of the main visual for you. I ignored him and kept scrolling down until a private message from 3 years ago caught my eye from Tang Yuning, my former editor. Jihe, I've kept the new column open for you. You're always welcome to come back. It was 3 years ago. In winter, I remember that day. Xiao Linzhou didn't come home for the first time all night. I held my phone all night until dawn, but never opened that message back. Then, my mind was consumed by a single thought: why hasn't he come back yet? But as it turns out, on that night when I was waiting for him to come home, someone had also left a path for me to return. I stared at the message, my throat tightening. Just then, a new private message suddenly popped up in the upper right corner of the back end. The profile picture looks familiar. It's still Tang Yuning. The message is just one sentence. Hi. Is that you back? 3. My fingertips paused on the screen. The words, "Is that you back?" fell like a tiny pebble into still water. So light, yet it sent ripples spreading out, one after another. I stared at it for a long time, so long that Xiao Linzhou's voice sounded from behind. Tang Yuning. He obviously saw it too. There was a hint of surprise in the tone, which quickly turned into dismissiveness. She still hasn't given up looking for you. I didn't answer. Xiao Linzhou continued. Her platform doesn't have much traffic these days. Even if you go back, it's not guaranteed you'll make it work. Besides, the launch is right around the corner. What's the point of getting distracted drawing these now? I suddenly found it amusing in his eyes. Whenever I do my own thing, it's always called being distracted. Staying up all night to revise his drawings for him, that's what I call support. Covering for him at the press conference is what we call a united couple. But if I paint a picture of my own, I'm suddenly accused of not knowing my place. I open Tang Yuning's chat window, fingers hover over the keyboard. It's been a long time since I last spoke to anyone as unfamiliar as learning to walk all over again. In the end, I typed just 2 words. It's me. The message had barely been sent when the reply came almost instantly. Are you okay? My nose tingled with sadness. What an ordinary sentence. He didn't ask me why I stopped updating. He didn't ask where I'd been for the past 3 years. Nor did they blame me for suddenly disappearing back then. She just asked me, are you okay? I instinctively wanted to reply, it's fine. These 3 words, like an old habit, found their way to my fingertips with practiced ease. But the red string on the wrist suddenly grew warm, gently, like a reminder. I paused for a moment, then deleted those 3 words. Re-enter. Not so good. After sending that message, I suddenly felt a little lighter in my chest. Turns out, admitting your flaws won't make the sky fall. Tang Yuning was silent for a few seconds, then sent a message. Don't say yes just yet. Do you want to draw? I stared at these 4 words. Do you want to draw? It's not about whether you can still paint. It's not about whether you have commercial value. It's not about whether you're popular enough right now. She asked if I wanted to. I looked down at my own hands. These hands were trembling just moments ago because of a single word from Xiao Linzhou, but now, it suddenly felt a strong urge to hold a pen. I really want to draw a line that no longer leads to anyone else. I replied, yes. Tang Yuning sent a document. We've been working on a collection of short stories about women's growth, and we were originally looking for new writers to test the waters. If you're willing, I'll say the first piece for you. You pick the theme, you set the pace. I have just one request. I asked. What? She replied. Stop erasing yourself from the picture. The words on the screen blurred for a moment. I raised my hand and rubbed my eyes. Xiao Linzhou spoke coldly from behind. Meng Jihe, have you forgotten that I'm still standing right here? I didn't look back. No. So what do you mean now? It means I'm going to work now. When these words were spoken, Xiao Linzhou looked as if he had just heard a joke. Work? Yeah, you call this work? I finally turned around to look at him. Didn't you just say that after a 3-year hiatus, I wouldn't land any decent collaborations? Now someone is looking for me. Isn't this just work? Xiao Linzhou's expression darkened slightly. He probably didn't expect Tang Yuning to arrive so soon. I never expected that I would actually dare to take it on. He paused for a moment, then changed his tone. Jihe, it's not that I'm forbidding you to paint. This phrase is all too familiar. In his past life, every time he gave in, It always started with this sentence: I'm not saying you can't go out, I'm not stopping you from making friends, I'm not stopping you from working, it's just not the right time now, you're just not in a good place right now, it's just that my career is at a critical stage, just wait a little longer. Waiting and waiting, I lost myself in the process. Sure enough, the next second he continued, but the press conference is more important now, restore the main visual first, once this week is over, you can draw whatever you want, I'll connect you with a better platform when the time comes. That small project of Tang Yuning's isn't worth your energy right now. I looked at him. He even said it with genuine sincerity, as if they were genuinely looking out for me. If it were my past self, I would probably waver again. He already said it. Wait until the press conference is over. He will support me. He will connect me with a better platform. I just need to hold on a little longer, help him one more time, and put my own matters off again. But I already know, with Xiao Linzhou, there is no later or future. I asked him, last time you said that once the press conference was over, you'd come with me to see my offline illustration exhibition. Do you remember? Xiao Linzhou was taken aback. When I laughed, look, he doesn't remember. That was my last exhibition after getting married. The exhibition space is modest, housed in a small gallery in the south of the city. I told him 2 weeks in advance. That day, I wore the white dress I hadn't put on in a long time and stood in front of my painting, waiting for him. Waited from afternoon until closing time. Later, he sent a message, got a meeting that came up, I'll make it up to you next time. No. Next time, on the day the exhibition was taken down, I removed each painting myself, one by one. The staff asked me, didn't your husband come? I was even making excuses for him at the time. He's busy. In the end, I was so busy that I didn't even dare to hope he would show up in my life. Xiao Linzhou clearly remembered something as well. A faint frown creased his brow. Is it necessary to bring up the past now? Yes, I said, because every time you made me wait, nothing ever came of it in the end. So this time, I'm not waiting anymore. Xiao Linzhou's face turned completely cold. Do you have to pick a fight with me right before the press conference? Here we go again. I stood up and picked up my computer. I'll go paint in the guest room. As we passed each other, he suddenly grabbed my arm to stop me. Meng Jihe, if you walk out of this study today and anything goes wrong at the press conference, don't come crying to me. I stopped walking. Xiao Linzhou, I looked up at him. My biggest regret is that I used to solve all your problems for you. His eyes darkened. What do you mean? Meaning, I hugged my computer tightly. Your press conference, figure it out yourself. With that, I walked around him and headed to the guest room. This guest room hasn't been used in a long time. The bed sheets were a grayish blue, and a few unopened cardboard boxes were stacked by the window. It's full of my old painting supplies. When I moved into this place, I said I wanted to turn it into a studio. Xia Linzhou said at the time, keep the guest room ready, just in case my parents come to stay. So I folded up my easel. The pigments were sealed inside the cardboard box. The graphics tablet and manuscripts were stuffed into the cabinet. 3 years, his parents have never stayed in this room, not even once. My painting tools, however, have been lying quietly in the corner like old bones sealed away. I put the computer on the desk, opened the first cardboard box. Inside is paint. A few of them have already dried up. The second cardboard box contains old art albums. The third item is the drawing tablet and sketchbook I often used before marriage. My fingers paused as I touched the sketchbook. The cover is slightly yellowed. I turned to a page where a girl stood in the center of a tangle of yarn. Her body was wrapped in threads, yet she held a small pair of scissors in her hand. I froze. This drawing is older than the one in the High's diary folder. It must have been drawn many years ago. I hadn't met Xiao Linzhou back then. I don't even understand why I would draw a girl like this now. It feels like a cry for help sent to myself across the years, a letter that was never mailed. I turn to a blank page, hold the pen. My wrist is still stiff. The lines are still unsteady, but I didn't stop. I drew a woman sitting at a dining table. A steaming bowl of tomato beef brisket noodles sits before me. Her phone screen was lit. On the screen, someone else's provocation. But she didn't reach for her phone. She lowered her head and finished the noodles first. As I painted this part, my eyes suddenly welled up. What a loser, just finished a bowl of noodles. Why do I feel like crying while painting? But the red string on my wrist quietly clings to me. No one is rushing me. It didn't burn me. It seems like saying, let it all out. It doesn't interfere with painting anyway. So I kept painting, tears streaming down my face. Draw her washing dishes. She removed the main visual that didn't belong to her. She opened her old account. Draw her in a dusty room, unwrapping her paintbrushes again. In the last panel, I draw her looking down at her own wrist. That red thread doesn't lead anywhere far, nor does it hold on to anyone. It circled around and gently returned to her heart. I named this page, the thread is in my hands, save, export, upload. I stared at the caption box for a long time before posting. I have so much I want to say, just wanted to say I'm back. I want to say sorry for keeping everyone waiting so long. I want to say that I haven't been doing well all these years. I want to say that I once lost myself, but in the end, I only wrote one line. Today, I'll first bring myself back. Clicked publish, the page refreshed. Success. In that moment, I felt completely hollowed out. Yet as if I had finally surfaced from the depths, I sat in the chair, not moving for a long time. 1:47 in the morning, the city outside the window grew quiet. The hallway outside the guest room was also quiet. Xiao Linzhou did not come knocking again, probably waiting for me to regret it. Myself in his past life, he was best at waiting for me to bow my head first. Let me cry until I'm done, let me throw my tantrum until I'm tired, let me go over and apologize on my own. This time, he's likely to be disappointed. Just as I was about to exit the background, a message notification suddenly lit up. 1, 2, 10, dozens of them. I was stunned. The first comment came from a familiar longtime fan. Hee. Article 2, is it really hee? I thought I was seeing things. Article 3, you're finally back. Article 4, this picture, I don't know why, but it makes me want to cry. Article 5, I didn't wait for his reply today either. I just went ahead and had my meal. I stared at that comment, and finally, my tears fell onto the keyboard. It's not sadness, it was something belated, yet steaming hot. So it's not just me. So many people have handed the reins of their lives to others, and so many people are waiting for just one sentence. You can start by pulling yourself back. Messages are still popping up in the background. Tang Yuning sent a voice message. I clicked on it. Her voice sounded a bit more mature than I remembered, but still crisp and clear. Jiha, this data is rising very quickly. Don't worry about Xiao Linzhou's side. Let's have a conference call at 10 a.m. tomorrow. And also, she paused for a moment. Welcome back. I listened to the voice message twice before I could even tap to play the third round. A new message suddenly popped up on my phone. It's not Xiao Linzhou, it's Xiao Man. She sent a screenshot. The screenshot shows the comic I just posted. She traced the final red line back to her heart, her voice laced with a smile. Miss Meng, this painting is truly wonderful, but Lin Zhou said that your artistic style was originally cultivated from his brand identity. We'll continue using this gentle, flowing line style for the press conference as well. You don't mind, do you? I stared at those few lines of text. The heart that had just begun to warm slowly grew cold. Soon, she sent a second picture. This is a backup visual draft for the Xiao Linzhou brand launch event. In the center of the frame, there is also a red line protruding from the woman's wrist, but it never circled back to the heart. Instead, it wound toward a blurry male profile in the distance. Below is written the theme of the brand launch event, home. I suddenly smiled. They stole my art style, steal my lines, stole the bracelet I designed. Now, even the thread I just used to pull myself back. I want to take it to weave love stories for them. The red string on my wrist suddenly burned hot. I looked down at it. This time, I didn't cry. I opened the chat window and sent Tang Yuning the backup visual, then typed the next line. Yuning, I'd like to talk about the copyright notice. For after sending the message, Tang Yuning called directly. The moment I picked up, her voice came slashing through. Did they send you the picture? Sent by Xiao Man. Does Xiao Linzhou know? I don't know. There's no way they didn't know. Tang Yuning sneered. The fact that a marketing consultant dared to privately send you the backup visuals for the brand launch as a provocation shows that internally, they've already tacitly approved using your style this way. I stared at the image on the screen. That red line was drawn beautifully, fine, soft, lingering like love, but I just find it disgusting, because what they took was not just a thread, it's just a little piece of myself I just fished out of the mud. Can I issue a statement? I asked. Tang Yuning was silent for a second. Yes, but you need to think it through. Once it's posted, it's no longer just a marital quarrel, it's you who publicly disassociated from Xiao Linzhou's brand. I looked down at the red string on my wrist. It's not hot anymore, as quiet as a sliver of winter sunlight. I've made up my mind. I don't want them to use my story to tell theirs anymore. Tang Yuning took a soft breath. The tone softened a bit. Jiha, don't rush. Save the chat screenshots and the original draft timestamps from the back end tonight. I'll review the statement for you, but don't curse, don't bring up personal life, and don't drag Xiao Man into this. You only mentioned authorization. The cleaner, the stronger. I grunted in acknowledgement. And one more thing. She paused. You just got back to updating your work. Don't burn yourself out. Get some sleep first. I smiled. I might not be able to fall asleep. Then just lie down with your eyes closed. It's going to get loud. She's right, but to my surprise, the first Voice didn't come from Xia Linzhou, it came from my mom. 2:30 a.m. I was saving the pictures Chow Man had sent into a folder when the phone rang. The word mom popped up on the screen. I stared at it, my fingers suddenly frozen. In my past life, I dreaded answering her calls the most, because every time, I already know what I'm going to hear. Don't be dramatic, it's normal for men to socialize outside. You're lucky to have married a man like Xia Linzhou. A woman's most important task is to hold her ground. These words are like old keys. She always knows exactly how to unlock the most vulnerable room in my heart. I didn't pick up. The call ended. It rang again soon. Hang up again. On the third ring, the guest room door was suddenly knocked. Xia Linzhou's voice came through the door. Your mom called me. I closed my eyes for a moment. Opened the door. Xia Linzhou stood outside the door, his phone screen still glowing. He has changed out of his shirt and is now wearing dark loungewear. There was a hint of weariness in his expression, along with a trace of matter-of-fact acceptance. Pick it up, she's really worried about you. I almost burst out laughing. Worried? That sounds really nice. He knew exactly what she would say. He knows it all too well. The Meng parents care most about saving face. It's Xia Linzhou, the son-in-law. It is the face I can bring to the Meng family after marrying into the so-called upper-class circle. Whether I am happy or not, or whether I deserve respect, is not important. As long as the position of Mrs. Xia is still mine, I should be grateful and feel deeply indebted. Xia Linzhou handed over his phone. Don't make your elders worry. I didn't answer his call. Pick up your phone and press answer. The moment the call connected, my mother's sharp voice pierced through. Meng Jihe, what the hell are you doing? I didn't say a word. She didn't need my answer at all. Linzhou said you deleted the photos from the press conference. Why would you pick a fight with him on such an important occasion? Isn't it normal for a man to have a few female business partners when he's busy with his career outside? Is it really worth your while to nitpick over these trivial matters all day long? I sat back down on the edge of the bed. The sky outside the window was pitch black. Only a small desk lamp was on in the guest room. The light fell on my wrist, and the red string was vividly clear. I suddenly felt exhausted. Mom, I speak up. The voice was calmer than expected. They took my work and used it. What work? Don't talk about work. She cut me off immediately. Your husband and wife. Why separate what's yours and mine? Besides, weren't you drawing those things for Linzhou's own good? Now that his career is taking off, you get to enjoy the good life with him. Isn't that better than doodling those little figures online? My hand gripping the phone tightened little by little. That's my job, work. Mother looked as if she had just heard a joke. Meng Jihe, don't talk to me about such nonsense. You've been married for 3 years, and you still think you're a young girl. Your most important job right now is to be a good Mrs. Xia. A man like Linzhou has countless women eyeing him out there. You don't help him, you don't understand him, and you hold him back at critical moments. Have you lost your mind? Every single word feels so familiar that for a moment, I couldn't tell past lives from this one. In my past life, Chow Man pushed me to the brink of collapse, and I had a huge fight with Xia Linzhou. The next day, my mother called again. Just like that, she said, even if you win the argument, so what? Can you win back a man's heart by making a scene? It's enough that he's willing to come home. Don't be too greedy. At that time, I asked her through tears, Mom, I'm really upset. Can you please not yell at me right now? She was silent for 2 seconds. Then he said, what's the use of being sad? Life isn't lived through sorrow. After that, I rarely told her when I was feeling down, because it's useless. Tears that aren't caught only need to fall once. On the other end of the line, my mother was still talking. I'm telling you, go apologize to Linzhou first thing tomorrow morning, restore the press conference images immediately, and as for that Joe guy, since he's your colleague, just be magnanimous about it. Can't you be a little more generous? I softly repeated. Her mother's voice dropped. Don't be sarcastic. I'm doing this for your own good. Don't follow those women online who are always going on about independence and self-identity. Can independence put food on the table, without Xia Linzhou, who would still give a damn about you? This sentence falls. The room suddenly fell silent. Xia Linzhou stood right by the door. He didn't stop it. Not a single word was spoken in my defense. He just watched, like a hunter patiently waiting for his prey to stumble back into the trap, and my mom was just the stick he borrowed. My chest feels really tight. For a moment, I could barely breathe. The red string on my wrist suddenly burned hot. It's not telling me to fight back. Instead, it made me distinctly feel my own hands trembling. My stomach started to churn. The bowl of noodles I just ate tasted sour, as if steeped in grievance. So I can still feel pain even after being reborn. My own mother's words, who still gives a damn about you, still send a chill through my entire body. I opened my mouth. I want to argue. Back, I want to ask her if I am really her daughter. I want to ask her why. When others hurt me, her first reaction is always to tell me to endure it, but when the words came to my lips, all that was left was a bitter ache. I suddenly don't feel like arguing anymore, so tired. Mom, I said softly, I don't want to hear this tonight. She immediately raised her voice. You have to listen whether you want to or not. I'm your mother. Would I ever harm you? If you really piss Xiao Linzhou off, I don't know what you'll do then. I close my eyes. We'll talk about it later. With that, I hung up the phone. First time I was the one who hung up on her. The phone screen went dark. My hands are still shaking. Xiao Linzhou looked at me, his tone softening a bit compared to before. Your mom may have spoken a bit too harshly, but she means well for you. I looked up at him suddenly. This man felt terrifyingly unfamiliar. He knows exactly what I fear the most, and they know exactly which words will break me. So he doesn't have to do it himself. Just hand me the phone. He could have my parents do the disciplining for him. How clever, how dignified, without even staining the blade with blood. Xiao Linzhou, my voice is a bit hoarse. What did you say when you called them? His expression remained unchanged. I'm just saying you've been a bit emotionally unstable lately. What else? Say that because Xiao Man misunderstood the working relationship. You deleted the main visual for the press conference. I let out a laugh, very light, so in their ears, I'm crazy, dramatic, and have no sense of propriety. Xiao Linzhou frowned. I didn't say that, but you know they'll think that way. He remained silent. This is clearer than a rebuttal. I nodded. Get out, Jiha. He took a step closer. We can have a proper talk after the press conference. Restore the image for now. I'll explain things to your mom. I looked at him. Explain what? Explain that I'm not crazy. Are you trying to say I'm just a wife throwing a tantrum because you got too close to Xiao Man? Or explain, was my work originally meant for you to use? Xiao Linzhou's face darkened. Your current emotional state really isn't suitable for discussion. Not this again. As long as I don't comply, it's considered an emotional problem. I suddenly feel so exhausted, too tired to even look at his face. I picked up the computer. He blocked the doorway. Where are you going? Get out. It's 3 a.m, so what? You're going to run away from home over a few words? I stopped walking. Look up at him. It's not running away from home. I just don't want to cry here. Xiao Linzhou was stunned, probably didn't expect me to be so straightforward. I walked around him and headed to the entrance. Change your shoes, get your coat, take your phone, get the drawing board. The movements were smooth and seamless. Tears betrayed me and fell heavily. A drop, 2 drops. It fell on the back of my hand. It's scorching hot. How embarrassing. He was talking so tough just a moment ago. He turned around and burst into tears like that. But I don't want to call myself weak for crying anymore. I'm just sad, betrayed by her husband, scolded by her mother, and driven back into the old cage by those who should have been her closest. Why shouldn't I be allowed to be sad? Xiao Linzhou stood in the center of the living room, his voice turning cold. Meng Jiha, if you walk out that door today, don't expect me to come pick you up. I pulled the door open. The night wind rushed in. It's freezing. I turned around to look at him. His face was half lit, half shadowed under the lamp. Still handsome, still dignified. It still makes me feel suffocated. I said, no, thanks. This time, I'm picking myself up. The moment the door closed, the tears finally fell. The elevator mirror reflects my image. Hair is disheveled, red eyes. The buttons on the coat are all misaligned by one. The red string lay quietly against the skin on her left wrist, very popular, like the one small flame that never went out in the bleak night. I crouched in the corner of the elevator, finally unable to hold back my sobs, cried in an ugly way, very undignified. It was also quite satisfying. The elevator has arrived on the first floor. The door opened. The security guard was taken aback, probably never having seen a resident crying so hard at 3 a.m. I wiped my face haphazardly and walked out. A light rain began to fall during the night. The wind blew, blurring tears and rain together. I stood at the entrance of the residential complex and opened the ride-hailing app. My hands were shaking so badly that I typed the address wrong twice. Finally, I came across a name in my contacts, Meng Qinggu, my aunt. When I made the call, I didn't really have high hopes. She runs a second-hand bookstore and always goes to bed early, but the phone was answered after just 2 rings. Jiha, my aunt's voice was a bit hoarse, still heavy with the drowsiness of just waking up. It's so late. What's wrong? I opened my mouth. The grievance I had held back in front of Xiao Linzhou and my mother just now came flooding out all at once. I can't speak in complete sentences. All I can do is cry. There was a few seconds of silence on the other end of the line. Then, my aunt didn't ask me why I was crying, nor did they tell me not to cry. She only asked, "Where are you?" I sniffled and told him the name of the neighborhood. She said, "Stand where there's light. And don't get caught in the rain. I'll come pick you up." Half an hour Later, an old white car pulled over by the roadside. The window rolled down. Meng Qinggu poked his head out. Her hair was casually tied up, a dark gray coat draped over her shoulders, and there were still traces of sleep-deprived redness in her eyes. The moment she saw me, her brow furrowed slightly but didn't ask anything. He simply got out of the car, opened the umbrella, and walked over to me. "Are you cold?" I shook my head. She reached out and touched my hand. "Your hands are this cold, and you still shake your head." She shoved the umbrella into my hand and then took off her coat to drape it over me. The coat carries a faint scent of paper, pages and sandalwood. It's not a very expensive scent, but it made my nose tingle, and I almost started crying again. My aunt noticed the red string on my wrist and paused for a moment, asked nothing, just hold my hand. "Let's go." "Going home?" I was taken aback. "Go home?" It's been so long since anyone said those two words to me. Xiaolingzhou's house is very large, the light is very bright, the decoration is beautiful, but that place isn't home. It feels more like a display case. I'm placed inside it, tasked with being dignified, gentle, and flawless. The car drove into the rainy night. The city lights, shattered by rain, spread across the car window. I leaned back in the passenger seat, tears still falling. My aunt didn't try to persuade me. She turned the heater up just a little. He fished another fruit candy out of the storage compartment and tossed it into my arms. "Hold it in your mouth first. It's sweet." I unwrapped the candy. The orange flavor slowly melts on the tongue, sweet and sour, very cheap, yet it felt more real than any dessert from Xiaolingzhou's expensive restaurants. When I arrived at the bookstore, it was still dark outside. My aunt's bookstore is at the end of the old street. The storefront is tiny, with a faded business hours sign taped to the glass. She turned on the light. The warm yellow light gradually brightened a bookshelf, an old wooden table, a single armchair by the window, and a lazy chubby orange cat in the corner, too sleepy to open its eyes. Everything feels old, yet it remains steady and secure, like a blanket softened by time. My aunt pressed me down onto the sofa. "Sit down. I'm cooking noodles." I have a very nasal voice. "I've already eaten." Crying like this, all that food went to waste. She turned and went into the small kitchen at the back. Soon, the sound of water boiling came from the pot. I sat on the sofa and finally slowly came around. My phone has been vibrating non-stop. "Thank you, Linzhou." My mom, Chow Man, lighting up in turn. I took one look and immediately muted it. The world is finally quiet. The red string on my wrist no longer burns. It felt as if I was truly let out of that room. Soon, my aunt brought over a bowl of noodles with greens and eggs. It's very simple. The soup is clear. On top sits a fried egg with its edges crisped to a golden brown. She handed me the chopsticks. "Eat." I lowered my head and took a bite. Tears fell into the bowl again. My aunt sat across from me and let out a sigh. "Meng Jihe, it's okay to cry." She looked at me and said, word by word, "But don't cry from hunger." I bit into the noodles and finally let out a sob. This time, it wasn't the kind of cry that makes your chest ache from holding it in. It was a shameful, messy, and utterly complete cry. I ate while crying, eating with tears streaming down my face, completely losing my composure. My aunt pulled out a few tissues and pushed them toward me. "Take your time, no one's going to take it from you." I cried even harder. "Yeah, no one is competing with me, but why have I been living these years as if everything has to be fought for?" Steal the husband's attention, a little understanding of taking from parents, seize the gaps that Xiaoman hasn't taken, snatching the occasional tenderness Xiaolingzhou deigns to offer me. I'm so exhausted I feel like a thread about to snap. After finishing the noodles, my aunt took the bowls away. I sat on the sofa, hugging my knees, and whispered, "Auntie, am I really that useless? Even if I could live it all over again, it would still hurt." My aunt paused in her motion of drying the dishes. She turned her head to look at me. "Who told you that living again means you can't feel pain?" I was stunned. She walked over and sat down beside me. "The pain proves you're not made of stone. It's already impressive that you still managed to run out despite the pain." I looked down at the red string on my wrist. The rain had stopped without me noticing when. The sky outside the window was still dark, but my face was reflected in the glass. Red and swollen eyes, hair is a mess, wearing her aunt's old coat, ugly in a very real way. I let out a very soft laugh all of a sudden. Yeah, I got out, even though crying, though in a mess, even though he'd buttoned his shirt all wrong, but I managed to escape. Just then, the phone screen lit up again. I thought it was still Xiaolingzhou, but then I saw a message from Tang Yuning. "I've drafted the statement. Also, your piece The Thread is in my hands. Made it onto the platform's new chart. Jiha, many people are waiting for you to continue drawing." I looked at that message. Before the tears had even dried, my heart suddenly gave a gentle flutter, like a seed dampened by rain in the pitch-black soil. It stirred silently. My aunt leaned in and took a look. "Want a painting?" I gripped my phone tightly. "I want to paint, now, now." My aunt stood up and pulled out an old cardboard box. From under the counter, that works perfectly, she patted the surface of the box. Dust flew up, making the chubby orange cat cough and let out a dissatisfied meow. Auntie smiled. Something you left with me before. I was stunned. She opened the box. Inside is a stack of old picture books. The top one has a yellowed cover with curled corners. I reached out and picked it up. Turned to the first page. In the painting, a girl stands in the midst of a dense web of red threads. The threads wrap around her limbs and tighten around her neck, yet she keeps her head down, holding a small pair of scissors in hand. 5. I stared at the painting for a long time without saying a word. The paper has yellowed with age. The pencil lines have also faded a bit. The look in the girl's eyes in the painting was astonishingly clear. She didn't cry, no call for help, just lowered her head, holding that tiny pair of scissors, like waiting for the right moment. It was as if waiting for herself to finally make a move. My aunt glanced over from the side. You left this at my place back in high school. I asked you what you were drawing back then. You said it's someone who will eventually come out. My fingertips gently brushed against the drawing paper. So early on, I already wanted to run away. It was only later that I met Xiao Linzhou. I thought I had finally found a place to belong, so he willingly threw away the scissors, handed over the line. I locked the version of myself that wanted to escape back into the painting with my own hands. Amazing, Meng Jihe, you've actually managed to fool yourself for all these years. My phone buzzed. Tang Yuning sent the first draft of the statement. I clicked it open. The text is not long. The tone is very calm. I, Meng Jihe, under the pen name Hai, have never authorized Xia's home furnishings or any related teams to use, adapt, or imitate original visual elements from my published or unpublished works, including but not limited to character compositions, line settings, the red thread, imagery, and series of storyboard expressions. I reserve the right to take further action regarding the disputed content. Here's another sentence. Marriage does not constitute authorization of works. Reading the last line, I felt a sudden, gentle pang in my chest. Marriage does not constitute authorization for works. What about feelings? Doesn't love also not justify unconditional sacrifice? Just because I once loved someone doesn't mean they have the right to take away my time, talent, dignity, and life as they please. My aunt placed a cup of hot water beside my hand. Well written. I looked up at her. Can you understand it? She raised an eyebrow. I run a bookstore, not a funeral parlor. I couldn't help but let out a chuckle. My eyes are still swollen, so my smile probably looks awful, but I don't care. I replied to Tang Yuning. This sentence is kept. Tang Yuning replied instantly. Of course, keep it. But I suggest you post it at 9 a.m. If you post it now, the buzz will fade quickly. At 9 o'clock, platform users start getting active, and the Xia family's office opens for the day, so their PR response will be more genuine. I replied with okay. No sooner had I put down my phone than Xiao Linzhou called again. I stare at the screen. Didn't pick up. It's me. Mom didn't answer either. Then, Xiao Man sent a message. Miss Meng, Linzhou is looking for you. He was really worried when you went out so late. Worried. These two words have been popping up quite frequently today. It seems that as long as it's wrapped in the guise of concern, any form of control can be made to seem tender and affectionate. I took a screenshot of her message and saved it into a folder, then blocked them directly. The movement was so smooth that even I was taken aback for a moment. My aunt is cracking sunflower seeds nearby. Blocked. About time. She tossed the sunflower seed shells into the wastebasket. People who stay up late causing trouble for others should be in a temple knocking on a wooden fish, not staying in your phone. I smiled again. That smile seemed to lighten the heavy weight pressing on my chest. Just a little. Just before dawn, I managed to catch 2 hours of sleep on the small bed in the bookstore's second floor. My dreams were all jumbled up. Then there were the red marks on Xiao Linzhou's wrist. Next, it's the backup visual sent by Qiao Man. Then, she becomes the girl holding scissors in the picture book. She stood in the center of the tangled yarn. Looking up at me, she asked, "How much longer are you going to wait?" When I woke up, it was already light outside the window. The rain has stopped. The old street was washed clean and left glistening wet, with raindrops clinging to the plane tree leaves. A chubby orange cat crouched at the foot of the bed, like a fuzzy judge. I reached for my phone. 8:47, 26 missed calls. Thank you, Linzhou, for the 12 communications. My mom is very sociable. My dad is a triple bypass patient. 3 missed calls from an unknown number. There was also a message from Xiao Linzhou. Where are you, Meng Jihe? Don't be willful. Let's talk when you get back. The press conference must go off without a hitch. Anything you post now will affect the brand. The last one was 10 minutes ago. I'll have the driver pick you up. I read those messages, feeling unexpectedly calm. It doesn't have that dense, piercing pain from yesterday. Maybe because I was asleep, maybe it's because I ate, perhaps it's also because I am no longer waiting in that room for his verdict. 9 o'clock sharp. I will issue the statement on time. The moment I pressed send, the red string around my wrist gave a faint, warm pulse like a tiny clap. The statement had been out for less than 5 minutes when the comments section exploded. At first, it was my longtime fans. What do you mean? Is that teaser image from Sia's home furnishings really a copy of Hi? I thought so last night. Especially the red line and the profile of the character. Marriage does not constitute authorization of works. That line is brutal. So, has Hai been on hiatus all these years just to become free labor for her husband's brand? Soon, people started asking questions in the comment section of Sia's Home Furnishings official blog. Has the visual design for the press conference been authorized by Hai? Why is the chart your marketing consultant sent out last night so strikingly similar to Hia's new work? Even couples should respect copyright, right? The situation escalated faster than I expected. Tang Yuning sent me a message. Don't respond yet, you've declared enough, they will definitely get in touch with you. Sure enough, Xia Lingzhou's call came in 10 minutes later. I hung up. He called again. I kept ignoring it. The third time, I answered. His voice was very low on the other end of the line. Meng Jihe, do you have any idea what you're doing? I sat by the window in the bookstore. My aunt just brought me a glass of soy milk. I took a sip. It's a bit hot, but it smells great. I know. Delete the statement. No. His breath noticeably deepened. Taking this online won't do you any good. I'm not making a scene. I'm just making it clear that I didn't authorize it. You're my wife. I'm the author. These 4 words fell, and the other end of the line went silent. Xia Lingzhou probably hadn't addressed me like that in a long time. No, to be honest, he had never really looked at me like that before. To him, I am first and foremost his wife. Next are his supporters. In the end, one might finally become a person who can paint, the kind that can be arbitrarily requisitioned. His tone shifted. The press conference is starting tomorrow. What do you want? We can talk. I gently stir the soy milk. Licensing fee. What? If you want to use my style, elements, storyboards, and the red thread imagery, let's discuss a commercial license. Otherwise, all will be removed from the shelves. Xia Lingzhou looked as if he was amused despite being annoyed. Are you really going to keep such a clear account with me? Meng Jihe, we're not divorced yet, so what? So there are many things between a couple that can't be measured by money alone. So what do you want to watch? I asked. Are you accompanying Qiao Man to meet clients? Are you seriously wearing the bracelet I designed on her wrist? Or should I watch you get my parents to call me in the middle of the night and scold me for being inconsiderate? Silence on the other end of the line. I suddenly lost interest in continuing the conversation. Xia Lingzhou, I already told you last night, it's not worth it to talk about feelings with you. With that, I hung up the phone. My aunt sat behind the counter and looked up at me. Feeling good? I gave it serious thought. Not feeling great. My hands are a little shaky. Auntie chuckled. Even with shaky hands, you still managed to hang up. I looked down at my own hands. It's really shaking. But this time, it wasn't fear. It's more like someone who has been held underwater for a long time, finally surfacing. But their lungs haven't yet adjusted to the air. It's normal to shake, just living. It's not shameful to shake it a few more times. At 10 o'clock, Tang Yuning called in for the meeting right on time. She also has the platform's legal and operations teams on her side. The process is very fast. First, confirm my original timeline. Reconfirm the past usage of my works by Sia's Home Furnishings. I packed up and sent over all the old drafts, sketches, publication records, and chat screenshots saved on my computer. Halfway through sending, I spotted a folder. Sia's Home Furnishings visuals through the years. Open it. Densely packed. Holiday poster. New product packaging. Offline event. Main visual. Brand brochure illustration. There were even the conceptual photos from Xia Lingzhou's award-winning project last year, which the media praised as brimming with warmth and female insight. All drawn by me. Not a single one bears my name. As I stared at those documents, a chill slowly crept down my spine. It turns out I've had a job all these years. I've just been working for Xia Lingzhou for free all along. What's even more ridiculous is that he claimed I stopped updating for 3 years and couldn't land any decent collaborations. He connected my faucet to his garden and then mocked me for having a barren land where nothing grows. Nice one, very capable. Tang Yuning was also silent for a few seconds. Jihe, her tone dropped. None of these have signed authorization contracts. No. Is there any record in the chat where he asked you to make changes? Yes, pack it up for me. As I was exporting, I asked, could this turn into an audit and a lawsuit? Tang Yuning paused. Do you want to fight? I thought about it. No, not now. At least, that's not the point of my story. I don't want to waste all the strength I've just regained on Xiao Linzhou. Tang Yuning understood. Then we won't fight. We only do two things. First, make the boundaries public. Second, get your new serialization up and running. The Xie family wants to put out the fire, so they'll naturally take it down. As for old scores, when you have the strength later, you can decide whether to settle them or not. My nose tingled with emotion. Okay, I realized I don't have to fight to the end right away. You can take care of yourself first. You can go ahead first. You don't have to drag yourself onto the battlefield every time you're hurt, fighting everyone until you're covered in blood. Tang Yuning added, one more thing. The thread is in my hands has good numbers. The platform wants to give you a featured spot tonight. Could you add a cover page? I was stunned. Tonight, can you draw it? I looked at the old sketchbook on the table. The girl holding the scissors lay quietly on the yellowed paper. She waited for me for many years this time. I can't make her wait any longer. Yes. I hung up the phone and immediately turned on my computer. My aunt poked her head out from behind the counter. Want to grab lunch? My instinct was to say no. The words were on the tip of my tongue when the red string around my wrist gave a faint, warm pulse. I changed my tune. Yes, my aunt nodded with satisfaction. Now that's more like it. She cooked wontons for me, just a small bowl. The soup is dotted with seaweed and dried shrimp. I was eating while brainstorming the cover design, if not painting women this time. Then who? Nor does she paint the man far away. The girl I was drawing finally looked up. The stitches on her body are still there. They didn't all magically disappear. Some are even tied around the wrists, some are still tangled around the ankles, but the scissors in her hand were already open. The first thread has been cut. Click. As I painted this gesture, I suddenly felt an exhilarating sense of release. It's not the thrill of exacting a long-awaited revenge, it's the sheer relief of finally being able to breathe. 2:00 p.m. CS Home Furnishings issued a statement. The wording is very elegant. The backup visuals for the press conference are still in internal testing and have not yet been officially launched. The team respects originality and will communicate in a timely manner regarding Ms. Meng Jihe's personal emotions. It is hoped that the public will not overinterpret them. Personal emotions. I stared at these 4 words and smiled, as expected of Xiao Linzhou. Even at this point, you still can't help but pin the problem on my emotions. It didn't take long for people in the comments to start stirring things up. Dragging a marital dispute out like this, the wife isn't exactly covering herself in glory either. A housewife draws a few pictures and actually thinks she's an artist now. Feels more like marital issues being vented through copyright claims. These words are like mud splatters, dirty but not heavy. At least it won't kill me. I didn't respond. Continue drawing the cover. Instead, it was Tang Yuning who sent a message. Don't read the comments. I replied, it's nothing. I'm drawing a pair of scissors. She replied with a thumbs up. 5 in the evening. Xiao Man texted me from a new number. Miss Meng, letting things escalate like this benefits no one. You've misunderstood me and Linzhou. That bracelet is a brand sample, and the backup visual is also the team's creative concept. If it really bothers you, I can apologize, but you didn't have to ruin such an important launch event for Linzhou. I finished reading it. No reply. She sent again. Linzhou has really had a tough time these past few years. As his wife, you should know that better than anyone. I smiled. Yeah, I know it all too well. I know every moment of his frantic struggles in the early days of starting his business. I know how many sleepless nights he spent on the first flagship store. He knows very well who drew reference images for him, one by one, when he didn't understand the brand's tone at the very beginning. I clearly remember when he got his first round of funding, he hugged me and said, Jihe, once the brand takes off, I'll make sure everyone knows that you're the most important person behind me. The brand really took off later. Everyone knows that Xiao Man is his marketing consultant, knowing that she accompanied him to meet clients, attended events with him, and stood by his side in front of the cameras. No one knows Meng Jihe. I picked up my phone and finally replied to Xiao Man, then you clear it up for him. Send it, then block. 8:00 p.m. My new cover went live right on time. The promotion slot wasn't very generous, but it's enough. Title, The Thread is in My Hands. On the cover, a girl holds scissors, cutting the first red thread. Caption, not every thread is worth holding on to until the end. The comment section quickly heated up. This cover is absolutely stunning. I suddenly understand why he had to put out that statement. Marriage is not a power of attorney. This line really hits me hard. I also cut a thread today, deleting a chat box I'd been waiting on for 3 years. I'll read through them one by one. A sour, tight ache swelled in my chest. My aunt sat beside me, knitting a scarf. A chubby orange cat was purring at her feet outside the bookstore. The old street's lights flickered on one by one. This is the first time since my rebirth that the night doesn't feel so terrifying, but this peace didn't last long. 9:30 p.m. Xia Linzhou has arrived. A wind chime at the bookstore door rang once. He pushed the door open and came in. The black coat carried the chill from outside. There is also someone following behind. My mom. Her eyes reddened the moment she saw me. The words that can be spoken still cut like a knife. Meng Jihe, are you satisfied now? Do you have to drag your family drama online for everyone to laugh at? 6. My mom's voice isn't very loud, but the bookstore was too quiet. Those words shattered like a glass dropped on the floor, scattering fragments everywhere. The fat orange cat was startled awake and, annoyed, squeezed past its aunt's feet to hide behind the bookshelf. My aunt set down the half-finished scarf she was knitting and glanced up at my mom. Sis, this is a bookstore. If you want to curse someone, go outside and do it. My mother's face stiffened. Xiao Wu, this is a family matter, not in my shop. It isn't. My aunt spoke in a low voice, yet it stays firmly fixed, like a nail driven into a board. My mother was so angry that her chest heaved. Go ahead and spoil her. She's been so spoiled by you that she doesn't even want to come home anymore. Home. Hearing that word, I couldn't help but glance at Xia Linzhou. He stood by my mother's side. His expression was much calmer than during the morning phone call. Maybe it was because my aunt was there. Maybe it was because he realized that tonight he couldn't use that condescending tone to force me back anymore. He even brought a box of pastries, that expensive Chinese dim sum place in the east of the city. I used to really like it. Later, Xia Linzhou said it was too sweet and not suitable for eating at night, so I rarely bought it anymore. He placed the snacks on the table, slowed down the tone. Jihe, I've come to take you back. I stared at the box of pastries. Quite ironic. Last night, when I was at home starving with an empty stomach, he didn't even ask if I wanted to eat. The internet is buzzing today, yet he still remembers what pastries I like. People's gentleness always arrives right on time when they're trying to regain control. I didn't touch that box of pastries. I'm not going back. My mom immediately got anxious. If you don't go back, where will you stay? Stay at my place. My aunt answered quickly. I have a bed, blankets, and hot water upstairs. It feels more like a place for people to live than some of those big houses. My mom glared at her. Don't make things worse. A married woman like her staying at your place every day. What does that look like? Auntie cracked open a sunflower seed. Act like a human. I almost laughed out loud. Xia Linzhou's gaze fell upon my face. Jihe, the online situation has already affected the brand. I know you're upset, but the statement can be withdrawn first. Let's discuss the licensing after the press conference. Look, he knows perfectly well how to say something soft. I just didn't think it was necessary before. I gently stirred the water in the cup. After the press conference, you said last time you'd make it up to me after the exhibition. Never made it up. The time before last, they said they'd spend my birthday with me after the funding round closed. That didn't happen either. The year before last, they said once the flagship store opened, they'd do a co-branded promotion for my account. Later, it was promoted to the new column managed by Qiao Man. Xia Linzhou's brows furrowed little by little. I looked up at him. Xia Linzhou, your future is too cheap. He remained silent, seeing him choked by my words. My mom quickly interjected. Meng Jihe, that's enough. Linzhou came to pick you up in person. What more do you want? A man humbling himself to this extent is already showing you great respect. I looked at her. Mom, are you here to pick me up, or to pick up the title of Mrs. Xia? Her expression shifted as if she had been hit on a sore spot. What kind of talk is that? What has Linzhou ever done to wrong you? I laughed. Really, I actually laughed. How have you wronged me? I spent 3 years designing brand visuals. No credit, no permission, no pay. He gave the bracelet I designed to another woman to wear. He's been messing around with Qiao Man, yet he has the nerve to call me emotionally unstable. He contacted you in the middle of the night and got you to come yell at me, and now they want me to retract the statement and keep covering up for his disastrous press conference. I said it all in one breath. My heart is beating very fast, my hands are shaking too, but with every word spoken, a little more emptiness opened in my chest, like pulling out old wads of cotton stuffed inside the body, one clump after another. My mom opened her mouth as if to speak. Finally, he said, but you can't take it to the internet either. Not this again. It must not blow up. It shouldn't look ugly. Can't lose face. But when I'm in pain, why doesn't anyone say, don't let her suffer? Xia Linzhou finally spoke. I admit that I wasn't thorough enough in handling the credits for your work in the past. Very smart. Not thorough enough, not occupying. It's not neglect, not exploitation. For Casual words, and 3 years were dismissed as a mere work oversight. After the press conference, I'll have legal draft a licensing agreement, you name the amount. As for Chow Man, she and I are just colleagues. The bracelet is a sample display, the backup vision is also the team's direction. It wasn't intentionally targeting you. He spoke very steadily, every sentence sounded like it was rehearsed in advance. If an outsider were sitting nearby, they might even think he had been decent enough. I looked at him, suddenly asked, "Did you tell her to stop using the red thread imagery?" Xiao Linzhou froze. I continued to ask, "Did you ask the brand to take down that backup image? Has Chow Man apologized yet? Or did you come here just to get me to retract the statement?" His expression turned a bit cold. The answer is already very clear. He is not here to solve the problem, he came to deal with me. The one who raised the issue. My mom was beside herself with anxiety. Do you have to be so aggressive? Linzhou all said they paid the compensation. In a marriage, there's no need to keep score of who's right or wrong. I looked at her suddenly. It all feels absurd. She has always been like this, ever since she was a child. My classmate snatched my paintbrush and said, "Can't you just buy another one? I won a prize in a competition." But a relative said that girls have no future in learning painting. She said, "They mean well for you." After I got married and stopped updating my account, she said, "Since you married well, just take it easy." She understands perfectly well. She always just picks the easier side, and I am always the one who should step back. I suddenly said, very softly, "Mom, I'm tired." My mom was taken aback. "Stop playing the victim, I'm really tired." I looked at her, my voice low. "You always make me give in to classmates, give in to relatives, give in to your husband, give in to your in-laws." In the end, I gave so much that I lost myself completely. "You still think it's not enough?" The anger on my mother's face froze. She had probably never heard me speak like this before. "It's not talking back, it's not a complaint, rather, it is a statement so calm that you can't hit back with 'You're making a scene again.'" Xiao Linzhou was silent for a moment, then suddenly reached out to pull me. "Jihe, let's talk when we get back." His hand had just touched my left wrist. The red line suddenly burned hot. Almost at the same moment, Xiao Linzhou yanked his hand back as if burned by fire. Hiss, he looked down at his own palm. I lowered my head too. There was no wound on his palm, but the faint old scar on the inside of his left wrist was clearer than it had been the night before. A thin circle. "It feels like something has been strangled." My heart skipped a beat. My aunt saw it too. She narrowed her eyes but remained silent. Xiao Linzhou quickly pulled down his sleeve, too fast, so fast, as if he himself was hiding something. I stared at his hand. "What happened to your wrist?" His expression shifted almost imperceptibly. "It's nothing, allergy." I didn't press further because the time is not right yet, but that thought fell into the depths of my heart like a grain of ice. In my past life, I personally tied the red thread of fate around Xiao Linzhou's wrist. The red thread faded into the skin, leaving no trace behind. At least, I thought not at that time. But why does he have old scars on his wrist in this life? Could it be that the effect of the red thread never vanished with my death? Or was it never what I thought it was? The red string on the wrist grew still. He seemed unwilling to answer. Just then, the wind chime at the bookstore door rang again. A woman in a black trench coat walked in, short hair, red lips, holding a document folder under his arm. I was taken aback. "Yuning." Tang Yuning closed her umbrella, her gaze sweeping across the faces of my mother, Xiao Linzhou, and my aunt one by one. In the end, it fell on me. "Sorry, I'm late." She walked over to me and placed the file folder on the table. "I have brought the follow-up materials as stated, and also the platform's letter of intent for signing." Xiao Linzhou's gaze fell upon that document. "Editor Tang." His tone was polite, yet cold. "This is a family matter." Tang Yuning smiled. "I'm sorry, once it involves licensing of works and signing contracts with platforms, it's no longer just a family matter." She opened the file folder and pulled out a few sheets of paper. Meng Jihe, also known as Hai, has seen great performance data for his latest release. The platform is willing to give her the first featured promotion in her collection of short stories on women's growth. The signing conditions are stricter than they were 3 years ago. Also, regarding the suspected use of Hai's original elements by Xie's Home Furnishings, the platform's legal team also recommends first clarifying the boundaries. My mom was completely dumbfounded, probably never expected that my little doodle figures would actually get signed. She asked subconsciously, how much money could there be? The moment the words left her mouth, Even she seemed to realize it was inappropriate, her expression freezing for a second. Tang Yuning glanced at her, enough to spare her from swallowing all the grievances just for the title of a wife. My mother's face was a mix of pale and livid. Xia Lingzhou's expression also turned cold. Are you encouraging her to break up families on your platform? Tang Yuning said calmly. We encourage authors to create. As for family, she looked at me, a family that can only be sustained by her disappearance is hardly a masterpiece. My nose suddenly tingled with emotion. My aunt muttered quietly beside me, this editor sure knows how to make their words count. I almost laughed again. Xia Lingzhou was silent for a few seconds. When he spoke again, his tone had turned completely cold. Meng Jihe, are you really sure about this? Sign this today, and I won't manage the press conference's public opinion for you anymore. If the netizens dig up your old stories, it might not end well for you. I looked at him. Old times, you stopped updating for 3 years, lived off your marriage, and now you suddenly pop up talking about copyright. Have you thought about what people will say? Of course I have. They'll say I'm using marriage for publicity. They say I can't stand to see my husband succeed. They say I'm undignified and lack a sense of the bigger picture. How could a woman just walk out of the house and demand her own name and money? But so what? Being told off a bit won't kill you. If you keep silent, I will truly wither away little by little. I picked up the pen. The letter of intent for signing is right in front of you. The paper is very white. The black handwriting is perfectly clear. Party B. Meng Jihe, not Mrs. Xia, not Xia Lingzhou's spouse, not the woman behind the brand founder. It's Meng Jihe. I carefully wrote my name, stroke by stroke, in the name field. As the final stroke fell, the red string around my wrist gave a faint warmth. It felt as if one of the threads that had been tightly wound around my heart had been quietly snipped away. Xia Lingzhou stared at my signature, his face darkening to an extreme. My mom suddenly burst into tears. Jihe, how did you become like this? I looked up at her. Her face was full of anguish. It felt as if I wasn't signing a contract, but some scandalous confession of guilt. This time, I didn't comfort her. No explanation either. I simply slid the signed document over to Tang Yuning. Yuning, I can submit the next chapter tonight. Tang Yuning put the documents away. A hint of a smile finally appeared in his eyes. Have you thought of a title yet? I looked down at the old photo album. The girl in the painting is still holding the scissors. The lines on the body are densely packed, but she had already lifted her head. I said, I've made up my mind. Just call it The First Cut. Xia Lingzhou's phone suddenly rang. He glanced down and his expression shifted slightly. Then my phone lit up as well. Tang Yuning's assistant sent a screenshot. The comment section under the teaser page for Xia's home furnishings launch has completely exploded. Someone dug up multiple posters by Xia from the past 3 years, whose compositions are highly similar to my early works. Someone even put the alternate visual that Xiao Man sent me last night side by side with the cover of my new comic. Trending hashtags are climbing up. Hashtag marriage does not constitute authorization of works. Hashtag hi Xia's home furnishings. Hashtag I've got the thread in my hands. Hashtag I stare at the screen, a slight chill at my fingertips. It's not fear, it is knowing that the wind has finally risen. But this time, I didn't stand at the center of the storm waiting for someone to save me. I have scissors in my hand. 7. Xia Lingzhou said nothing more. He looked down at his phone, his expression gradually turning cold. My mom still wanted to scold me, but Xia Lingzhou suddenly spoke up. Ma'am, let me walk you back first. My mom was taken aback. Lingzhou, it's too late today. His voice remained steady, but it had clearly lost the patience it carried when he first walked in. Jihe is not in a state to listen right now. I can't take it in. That's wonderful. In his words, I am not unwilling to continue being manipulated, just won't listen. I didn't argue. No need. If someone insists on labeling you as emotionally unstable, no matter how much sense you make, they'll just think the echo in that box is too loud. My mom wanted to say something more, but Xia Lingzhou, half supporting and half persuading, led her out of the bookstore. Before leaving, she turned back to look at me. His eyes were full of mixed emotions. There is anger, there is disappointment, there was also a hint of panic she herself hadn't even realized. After all, in the past, all she had to do was bring up Xia Lingzhou, the marriage, or the I'm your mother card, and I would back down. But this time, I didn't. The wind chime at the bookstore door gave a soft ring. The door closed. The cold wind is kept outside. My aunt sat back down at the counter and picked up the half-knitted scarf. Finally, some peace and quiet. Tang Yuning glanced at the time. I'll head back first to handle the platform recommendations. She slid the document folder across the table toward me. Keep this safe, and also, don't check the trending topics tonight. I nodded. I want to finish drawing the first cut. Tang Yuning looked at me and suddenly smiled. Then draw it, but have dinner first before you draw. My aunt immediately chimed in. Did you hear me? I smiled too. I heard you. After Tang Yuning left, my aunt reheated some food for me: plain white rice, scrambled eggs with tomatoes, shredded pork with green peppers. There's also a small bowl of pork rib soup, very homestyle, no plating, no fancy tableware, but I ate with great concentration. A mouthful of rice, a mouthful of vegetables. Halfway through the meal, my phone lit up. It's a message from Xia Linzhou. The press conference will proceed as scheduled tomorrow. You'd better not regret it. I glanced at it and turned off the screen. My aunt across from me asked, "Who, Xia Linzhou? What did you say? Don't let me regret it." My aunt snorted. He's pretty busy. The press conference is about to crash and burn, and you still have time to worry about your regrets. I couldn't help but laugh. After laughing, they continued eating. I really don't want to have any regrets, so you need to eat your fill even more. In the evening, I sat at a small table by the window in the bookstore, sketching the first cut. An old album of paintings lay open beside it. The line drawings from her girlhood were very immature. The lines are too heavy, and the proportions of the figure are off, but the urge to break free was unmistakably straightforward. I didn't redraw her. I let my present self pick up where my past self left off. First frame, the girl stood in the center of the tangled threads, looking down at the scissors in her hand. Second case, she tried to cut the first wire. The thread is too tight, and the scissors are stuck. Third case, red marks were left on her wrist from the restraint, and she trembled in pain. Fourth case, she stopped to tend to her own wounds first. My brush paused at this point in the painting. In the past, I would have told her to grit her teeth and just cut it off, even if it means bleeding or breaking down. Prove immediately that you can win, but I don't want to anymore. If you're injured, bandage it first. Not all wounds need to be seen by the audience in the midst of battle. I'll continue drawing. Fifth case, she took a bite of the hot rice. The sixth cell, she had a sleep. Seventh grid, when dawn broke, she picked up the scissors again. Click, the first thread snapped. In the final panel, I didn't draw her rushing out. She simply drew herself placing the cut thread on the table. I watched carefully for a while, like bidding farewell to something that once trapped her, yet she had mistaken for a place to call home. It was already 1 in the morning when I uploaded it. The caption this time is shorter. Before cutting the wire, don't forget to bandage yourself first. After it was published, I stopped monitoring the back end. Put your phone down and go take a shower. As the hot water hit my shoulders, I realized my whole body was drenched in sour sweat. It has only been 2 days since my rebirth, but I felt as if I had finally let out all the breath I had been holding for years in a past life. After I finished washing up and came out, my aunt had already made the bed for me on the second floor. The old picture album rests by the bedside. There's also a glass of warm water. I slipped under the covers. The lights of the bookstore outside went out one by one. The red string on her wrist glowed like a faint, unextinguished light in the dimness. I touched it. Great work today. After saying that, even I was taken aback for a moment. This sentence, it turns out, can be said to oneself. No need to wait for Xia Linzhou. No need to wait for anyone. I slept very soundly that night. I didn't dream of Xia Linzhou. I didn't even dream of Qiao Man. In the dream, the girl in the painting cut the first thread and then sat by the window, basking in the sun. At 10 a.m. the next day, the Xia's home furnishings press conference officially began. I didn't go to the scene. Sitting in a bookstore, watching the platform's live broadcast, my aunt sat beside me holding the chubby orange cat, her expression even more serious than mine. Is this that press conference by someone named Xia? The backdrop is really ugly. I took a careful look. The red line visual that was questioned last night has been removed, switched to a minimalist gray and white background. No line, no one, no warmth, like an expensive funeral brochure. I almost choked on my soy milk. Auntie is quite serious, really ugly. I said, it might be too late to make changes. That just shows you spoiled him too much before. I nodded. The press conference started off fairly smoothly. Xia Linzhou stood on the stage, dressed in a black suit, his voice steady and composed. He excels in situations like this. Calm down, dignity, in control, explain the brand philosophy, discussing the aesthetics of living, the warmth of home. Someone in the bullet comments wrote, Mr. Xia seems to be keeping his composure quite well. Why is the background so plain? Wasn't there a red line visual yesterday? Haven't you cleared up the plagiarism controversy yet? Hi, just posted new work. You should check it out. It's way more interesting than here. I didn't say anything. Keep watching. At 10:20, the press conference moved on to the new product introduction. The big screen switches to the new collection of bracelets and home fragrance collaboration. The host invited Qiao Man to come on stage. She is wearing a white suit today, gentle, clean, and great at choosing angles. The camera panned to her wrist. That delicate leaf bracelet is still there. The comments exploded instantly. Isn't this the one he mentioned? She still dares to wear it. Brand samples. Then why is she the only one wearing it? This lady has strong mental fortitude. Xiao Man was clearly aware that the camera would capture her. Instead of covering herself, she raised a hand and brushed her hair back, smiled steadily. This collection is inspired by the ties between people and where they belong. We hope that every wanderer can find a place to call their own. As I listened, I suddenly felt a bit sick of it. Home, they really love that word. It seems that as long as you keep talking about home, every act of control can be disguised as deep affection, Joanna continued, so we used lines as the core element. The words had barely left his mouth, the large screen switches to the product concept image, the lights dimmed on sight, the screen lights up, a thin thread extends from the woman's wrist, its end fading into a blurry domestic space. It's not the picture from last night with the red thread wrapped around the man's profile, but the composition still looks the same, and to make matters worse, one of the fragrance posters has almost the exact same composition as my old work. Rainy night convenience store, from 3 years ago. All our glass windows, all our women with bowed heads, all just a red umbrella outside the window. They just changed the red umbrella to a red string. The barrage comments have gone absolutely wild this time. Isn't this an old piece by He? I even saved it on my phone. Unbelievable. I swapped one out for another, and it still looks the same. How many of He's images did Xia use? Anyway, soon, longtime fans posted screenshots of my old work in the comments. Compare left and right. The resemblance was as glaring as a slap in the face in public. The host on site clearly stumbled for a moment. Xiao Man's smile froze on her face. Xia Linzhou sat in the front row of the audience, looking up at the big screen. For the first time, a crack appeared in his expression. I stare at the screen, no exhilaration, just a little dazed. I remember all these pictures. Rainy night convenience store, was painted before I got married. I worked late that night and bought some Odin at the convenience store. It's raining outside. A girl stood in the doorway, without an umbrella. I don't draw her because I'm lonely. It was because a kind stranger later shared half her umbrella with her. Back then, I always felt that even though the world could be cold, there would always be someone willing to offer you a roof over your head. And then, later, I saved this image into Xia Linzhou's brand reference folder. He said it was very warm. Eventually, this warmth became his brand language, but my name was never there again. A message from Tang Yuning popped up. Steady, we don't interrupt, let netizens dig it up first. I replied, okay. The scene at Xia's press conference has already descended into chaos. The host tried to steer the conversation back to the product, but the barrage of comments was overwhelming. Please respond to the copyright issue. He's personal statement is still up. This is supposed to be home aesthetics, more like marriage swallowing a manuscript. Xiao Man was starting to show obvious signs of panic. Her smile faded as she spoke faster. As for the visual aspect, it's all built on the team's years of brand expertise. Before she could finish her sentence, the live stream suddenly cut to another shot. It was Xia Linzhou's turn to take the stage. He took the microphone. We will address the visual controversy that has drawn public attention in a unified statement after the press conference. The focus of today's press conference remains on the product itself. Very standard. Thank you, Linzhou. Every sentence is trying to force what's out of control back into the process, but once some threads are cut, they can never be tamed again. A journalist in the audience suddenly asked, President Xia, Ms. Meng Jihe is your wife? And also the original author under the pen name He, have all the visual elements used by Ms. Xia over the past 3 years been formally authorized by her? The scene fell silent for a moment. Xia Linzhou's fingers tightened slightly around the microphone. The camera zoomed in for a close-up. I saw that faint red mark reappear on the inside of his left wrist, deeper than last night, as if something is stirring beneath the skin. Auntie saw it too. She clicked her tongue. That thing on his hand is pretty creepy. I didn't say anything, but my heart was beating faster and faster. In the livestream, Xia Linzhou was silent for 2 seconds. Then he said, Meng Jihe is my wife. She has always been very supportive of my career. There is no exploitative relationship between us as speculated by outsiders. No sooner had these words been spoken, the barrage paused for a moment, then scrubbed even harder. Doesn't a wife need authorization? Supporting a cause means free usage. Marriage does not constitute authorization for the work. Haven't you read the statement, President Xia? Translation, not authorized. I stared at the screen and suddenly smiled. Xia Linzhou is very smart, but he had been clever for too long, so long that he forgot. Some words could silence me in the past, but they couldn't silence everyone, especially when I no longer make excuses for him, no more covering for him, no longer smiling from the audience as the dignified wife. His dignity, it turns out, is so easily punctured. The press conference ended early. The camera shook just before the live feed cut out. I saw Chow Man rushing off the stage, pale-faced, frantically typing on her phone with her head down. In less than 10 minutes, her social media account posted an update. I am only involved in marketing communications and am not responsible for visual creation or copyright review. We deeply regret today's controversy and respect all original creators. Very short, cut cleanly and completely. Someone in the comments mocked, "Wow, you run really fast, sis, take the resources, but don't take the blame." I finished reading and closed the page. My aunt sighed beside me. "This girl sure knows how to make a getaway," I said. "She doesn't love Xiaolingzhou, I can tell." Auntie is petting the chubby orange cat. What she loved was the ladder Xiaolingzhou handed to her. Now that the ladder's burned, of course she'll jump out the window. I was silent for a moment. Suddenly, it all feels so absurd. In my past life, I regarded Chow Man as my greatest enemy, staring at her moments, compare her clothes, analyze every word she says. I hate her for stealing my husband, but now I see clearly, she was never trying to steal love, she's just grabbing resources. It was never her who truly pushed me to the brink. It's Xiaolingzhou, it's my parents. It was also the version of myself who tied all my worth to Xiaolingzhou. 1:00 p.m. Xiaolingzhou called. "This time, I'll take it." His voice is very hoarse, not as calm as last night. "Are you satisfied now?" I looked out the window. The sun shines beautifully in the old street. The sunlight fell on the bookstore's glass, warm enough to be dazzling. "It's okay." The breathing on the other end of the line grew heavy. "Meng Jihe, are you determined to ruin me? Did I tell you to use my images without authorization? Did I tell you to have Chow Man wear the bracelet I designed? Did I tell you to say at the press conference that your wife supports you, so there's no exploitation?" He remained silent. I suddenly felt very calm. "Xiaolingzhou, it wasn't me who destroyed you. You've always believed I wouldn't cut the string in my hand." There was a long silence on the other end of the line. "It's been so long." I thought he kicked the bucket, but he suddenly said in a low voice, "Where are you?" "Bookstore. I'll go over." "No need." Meng Jihe. His voice turned cold, yet carried a hint of panic he couldn't suppress. "There are some things I have to say to you in person." The phone hung up before I could even answer. My aunt looked up at me. "Coming." Should I lock the door? I thought about it. No need. Some things really need to be said face to face. At 2:30 in the afternoon, the wind chime at the bookstore door rang again. Xiaolingzhou walked in. He wasn't wearing the suit jacket from the morning press conference, just a white shirt, unbuttoned the top 2 buttons. There are faint dark circles under the eyes. For the first time, he appeared utterly disheveled, yet even so, he was still good-looking. In my past life, I dreaded seeing him like this the most. The moment I see him tired, my heart softens. I feel he's had a tough time too, wondering if I've gone too far, wondering if I should give him an out. But now, I can only recall that line from this morning's livestream, "Meng Jihe is my wife," as if these few words could erase all my signatures. He walked up to me. His gaze first fell on the red string around my wrist, then, his expression changed. "This thread." My heart skipped a beat. "You know him." Xiaolingzhou did not answer, just instinctively pressed down on my left wrist. The red mark was hidden beneath the cuff, but I know it's there. His voice dropped very low. "Where did you get that?" I looked at him. "You remember?" His pupils constricted slightly. In that moment, I suddenly knew for sure Xiaolingzhou is not completely unaware. At the very least, he was not entirely oblivious to the red thread of fate from his past life. The bookstore was so quiet you could hear the fat orange cat turning over. I slowly stood up. "Xiaolingzhou, last time, I tied the red string around your wrist. What exactly did you feel?" Xiaolingzhou's face turned pale in that instant. "Not surprised. It's the panic after being exposed." I looked at him. My heart is racing, but this time, it wasn't because I was afraid of him. It's because I finally got my hands on the thread hidden behind the fabric of fate. "You remember," I said. "It's not a question. It is confirmed." Xiaolingzhou's Adam's apple moved. He avoided my gaze. "I have no idea what you're talking about. You know." I took a step forward. "Last time, I tied the red string around your wrist. The next day, you suddenly started making me breakfast. On the 3rd day, you turned down Chow Man's invitation. On the 7th day, you held my hand in front of everyone. You said you finally figured it out. You said you'd only look at me from now on." His face darkened with every word I said. The light in the bookstore is warm, yet it illuminated him so brightly that he had nowhere to hide. Auntie sat behind the counter, holding the chubby orange cat. without making a sound. She knows nothing of rebirth. I don't even know where the red line is, but she understood that I was passing judgment on an old dream. Xiao Linzhou finally spoke. It was just a dream, really. I raised my left hand. A red thread wraps around the wrist, quiet yet vivid. Then why do you recognize this thread? Xiao Linzhou stared at it. His gaze was so complex it bordered on dark. After a long while, he said, Meng Jihe, you're in a really dangerous state right now. If you need, I can go with you to see the doctor. I smiled. Here we go again. What can't be explained. I just chalk up to my illness in my past life as well. I suspected he had a change of heart, but he said I was being too sensitive. I confronted Xiao Man, and he said I was unstable. I broke down sobbing, and he said I needed to calm down. In the end, even I started to believe it. I wondered if I was truly broken, but now the red thread gently touches my wrist. It's not hot, it doesn't hurt either. It seems to be telling me, no, that's not the case this time. You heard it very clearly, Xiao Linzhou. I speak very softly. Show me the marks on your wrist. His fingertips stiffened slightly. No need, then I'll say it for you. I stared at the faint red marks barely visible beneath his cuff. You're not without feelings. After the red thread was tied last time, you should have been able to feel my emotions. You get annoyed when I cry. When I'm scared, you get nervous. Just when I want to see you, you suddenly want to go home. So you thought that was love? No, I shook my head. Or maybe, you never thought that was love. You just realized that as long as you give me a little tenderness, I would stay by your side. Xiao Linzhou's expression finally changed. It was the kind of discomposure one feels after being stripped bare. There was also a hint of annoyance. Do you have to see me in such a bad light? No need to think, I say. You've already shown me. He remained silent. This silence speaks louder than any excuse. My heart felt a slight prick, as if by something. It's not a sharp pain, more like the belated sting when the last tiny splinter is finally pulled out. I see. So the answer to the question I clung to most in my past life turns out to be this ugly. Did he ever truly love me? Is he really coming back because of the red thread of fate? Is there even a shred of truth in every tender word he speaks? These questions once kept me up at night, tormenting me endlessly, but now I suddenly understand. The answer doesn't matter at all. The important thing is that he knew exactly how I hurt, yet they repeatedly exploited my pain in the previous life. The red thread allowed him to sense that I was on the verge of collapse. He didn't cherish it. He just soothed me with a few gentle words, enough to keep me as his respectable wife. That's not love, that is domestication. Xiao Linzhou suddenly stepped forward. Jihe. His voice dropped, no longer cold. I'm even a bit tired, I admit. There were some things in the past that I didn't handle well. I'll cut ties with Xiao Man. I can also give you public credit for the brand matters. You want a licensing fee? I'll pay it. If you want to keep painting, I'm all for it. He looked at me. There really seemed to be a hint of earnestness in his eyes. In my past life, I would have cried. She would throw herself into his arms. You feel like you've finally been waiting for this moment, but now, I just find it absurd. Xiao Linzhou, look, before the press conference went off the rails, you said I was emotionally unstable. The trending topic exploded, and you said we could talk about money. I exposed the red line, and you said you'd support me. Every concession you make happens after you lose control. His face stiffened. Let me continue. This is not love. This is a stop-loss. Xiao Linzhou's eyes turned cold at these words. So what do you want? Divorce. 2 words fell. The bookstore was so quiet that the only sound was the ticking of the clock on the wall. Tick-tock, tick-tock. Xiao Linzhou stared at me like finally hearing a result he had been deliberately avoiding all along. Are you sure about this? I've made up my mind. Because of Xiao Man. Because of me. He frowned. I looked him in the eye and said, word for word, because I don't want to waste any more time on you. Because I don't want to wait for you to come home anymore. Because I no longer want to trade my work, my sleep, my appetite, and my life for the occasional scraps of your tenderness. Because I finally realized. I glanced down at the red string on my wrist. It's not you I can't bear to part with, it's me, the one who's always waiting for you. Xiao Linzhou's pupils contracted slightly. For a moment, he seemed to genuinely feel a pang of pain, but I no longer want to recognize it. That pain, was it guilt, resentment, or the fury of losing everything? None of it matters anymore. I took a document out of the drawer. It was not printed on the spot. It was printed at a nearby copy shop, where Tang Yuning casually accompanied me before she left. Divorce agreement. I pushed it in front of Xiao Linzhou. As for the property part, the lawyer will handle it later. Let me just confirm one thing first. From today onward, your brand is prohibited from using any of my works, elements, or stylistic extensions. I'll settle those old scores when I have the strength. Xiao Linzhou looked at the agreement, didn't move. You even prepared this, when, last night, he let out a sudden laugh very low. So you never intended to turn back from the start? I shook my head. Not from the start. I've looked back too many times. This time, I don't want to. Xiao Linzhou's fingers pressed against the edge of the agreement, his knuckles slowly turned white. Meng Jihe. Do you really think you'll be fine without me? This sentence falls. I'm not angry, it even feels a bit familiar. My mom asked something similar too. Qiao Man also hinted at something similar. It feels as though the moment I leave Xiao Linzhou, I'll instantly fall into a desolate wilderness where no one cares. But I just had a hot meal in this second-hand bookstore, had a peaceful sleep, signed my own name, finished drawing the first cut. I've received many messages from girls I don't know. They said, I'll go ahead and eat first today too. I deleted the person I had been waiting for a long time. I don't know if I can cut it, but I want to try. I am no longer standing in the wilderness. I have finally left that seemingly magnificent cage. It's windy outside. There is also a way. I looked at Xiao Linzhou. I'm not sure if it will be very good, but at least, it won't be as bad as before. Xiao Linzhou's eyes darkened. You'll regret this. I chuckled softly. Maybe, that's my business too. This statement seemed harder for him to swallow than divorce itself. He is used to me handing over the power to decide my life to him, whether it's good, worth it, or right. It all depends on his approval. But now, I've even taken back the right to regret. Xiao Linzhou suddenly reached out, trying to grab my wrist. This time, I didn't run away. His fingertips had just touched the red line. The red line flashed brightly. It's not light, more like a surge of heat blazing from the depths of blood in an instant. Xiao Linzhou let out a muffled grunt and stumbled backward. He covered his left wrist. The cuff was torn open. The red mark was fully exposed, vivid, complete, a loop around the wrist bone like the red thread of fate from a past life finally surfacing from his flesh, giving the final answer on my behalf. Xiao Linzhou's face turned pale. What the hell is this thing? I looked at his wrist. Suddenly, I heard a very faint sound like a string stretched to its limit, finally snapping. At the same time, the red string on my wrist loosened a little. The lingering warmth that had been coiled around my heart slowly faded away. Many images flashed through my mind. In my past life, I woke with a start in the dead of night, my eyes fixed on Xiao Linzhou's wrist. In my past life, I asked him through tears if he still loved me. In my past life, he held me in his arms, patted my back, and said, "Don't be afraid, I'm here." But there was no love in his eyes, only exhaustion, only irritation. There is also a kind of impatience that comes from being forced to respond. The red thread never made him fall in love with me. It just passed my pain on to him. The more afraid I was, the harder he was to ignore. The more I fall apart, the more he's forced to turn back. So he coaxed me, comfort me, give me a little taste, not because I feel sorry for you, but because my pain affected him. How ironic. The love I fought so hard for was nothing but a painkiller they tossed my way just to get rid of the nuisance. But in this life, I tied the red string around my own wrist. It makes me hear my hunger. I'm exhausted, my grievance, my creative urge, my resentment. I want to live. It turns out that the red thread never truly binds love, the self I have neglected for far too long. Xiao Linzhou was still staring at his own wrist. For the first time, a look of near loss of control flickered in his eyes. He murmured, "Impossible." During that time, he didn't continue. "Let me finish for him. Mingming always wants to go home. You clearly feel uncomfortable seeing me cry." Mingming would suddenly want to hug me. "So you thought that meant you still loved me?" Xiao Linzhou looked up at me. I said softly, "No, that was when I was in too much pain. The pain is so intense that even the red line screams for me." He froze in place. My aunt stood behind the counter, her eyes slightly red. She didn't understand the talk of past lives, but she understood this one sentence. I picked up the pen and placed it on the agreement. "It's up to you whether you sign or not. But I'm not going back, Xiao Linzhou. From today on, I'm done waiting for you." He looked at me a long time. In the end, he didn't sign, just picked up the agreement. "Boy's horse. I'll have my lawyer contact you." "Okay." He turned and walked away. As I reached the door, the wind chime gave a soft ring. He stopped and turned to look at me. "Jihe, do you really not love me at all anymore?" This time, the red string on my wrist didn't burn. My heart wasn't torn either. I looked at him. Suddenly, this scene felt very familiar. In my past life, I asked him countless times, "Xiao Linzhou, do you still love me?" Back then, I waited for his answer like I was waiting for a pardon, but now, it's his turn to ask me. Only then did I realize how light this question actually was. Too light to be worth another tear from me. I said, "It doesn't matter anymore. I love myself more now." the last flicker of light in Xiao Linzhou's eyes slowly faded away. He pushed the door open and left. The wind chime swayed for a long time, ding-ding, like ringing the final bell for a bygone era. After the door closed, I stood there, not moving for a long time. Then she looked down and saw the red string on her wrist. It remains, but the color is no longer glaring like a gentle wisp of red. My aunt walked over and handed me a piece of paper. Are you going to cry? I touched my face. Only then did I realize that tears had already fallen without me even noticing. When I took the paper and wiped it, I don't know why I'm crying, Auntie said. Even a broken thread can sting for a moment. I nodded. How about grabbing something to eat? I sniffled. I just ate. If you cry, you've eaten for nothing. I was taken aback, then burst out laughing. Yet a few tears fell. It's okay this time. I don't despise myself. Go ahead and cry. Let it hurt anyway. I won't go back to the person who hurts me even more just because I'm in pain. The phone screen lit up. Tang Yuning sent a message. The first cut data went viral. The platform wants to sign the formal contract as soon as possible. Also, some readers are asking if you'll hold a small signing and sketching event. I stared at that message. The sky outside the window gradually darkened. The warm yellow light of the bookstore fell upon the old art albums. After cutting the first thread, the girl in the painting finally lifted her head. I touched the red string on my wrist and replied softly, "Done. The venue will be at my aunt's bookstore." 9. The signing and drawing session is scheduled for 3 days later. The venue is my aunt's second-hand bookstore. Tang Yuning had originally worried that the venue was too small. Upon hearing this, my aunt rolled up her sleeves and started moving the bookshelf. What do you know? A small place is where the real liveliness is. This place is too big. Makes your platform look dead. Tang Yuning was silent for 2 seconds. In the end, he actually nodded. Makes sense. So 2 women who are masters at making decisions got together and had my whole life figured out for me. Aunt is in charge of the venue. Tang Yuning is in charge of the process. I'm in charge of drawing, also responsible for not starving to death. This was specially added by my aunt. She even made me a feeding schedule for the creative period: soy milk and steamed buns for breakfast, lunch rice bowl, afternoon fruit, hot soup in the evening. I looked at the form and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I'm not a pig. My aunt didn't even look up. Even a pig knows to eat on time. I'll shut up. That makes a lot of sense. Xiao Linzhou did not show up for the next 3 days. The lawyer did contact me. Polite tone, clear process. Someone like Xiao Linzhou, even if a marriage shatters into pieces on the floor, you still have to sort the fragments by color and shape. I had the lawyer recommended by Tang Yuning take over the case. The matter of the old authorization has not been further investigated for now. I don't have the energy to dig up all the old grievances at once. What I want most right now is to keep drawing. The thread is in my hands. The trending topics gradually faded, but the new series numbers are still climbing. Many readers have left me messages. Someone said she finally unpinned her boyfriend from the top of her chat list. Some say she didn't wait for her husband to come home last night and went to bed on her own. Some say she's not ready to leave yet, but today she bought herself a bouquet of flowers. Some also say, I don't have scissors, but I'd like to look around first. I watched for a long time. Then I drew the 3rd chapter. The title is Looking for Scissors. The girl in the painting searched every corner of the room. Not under the pillow. It's not in the closet. There's nothing in the man's pocket. It wasn't in the old trunk my parents gave me either. Finally, she found the scissors in her own sketchbook. After it was published, some readers commented, so the scissors weren't given by someone else. I stared at those words, and my heart warmed. Yeah, the scissors were not given by someone else. In my past life, I always thought that only when Xiao Linzhou stopped loving me could I finally let go. Only when my parents understand me do I feel confident. Only when Xiao Man loses completely can I be considered the winner. But what truly keeps me moving forward isn't what happened to them. It is that I have finally come to believe I can do it myself. The weather was beautiful on the day of the signing and sketching event. The plane trees outside the bookstore were bathed in golden sunlight. My aunt scrubbed the doorstep until it gleamed early in the morning. A red bow tie was tied around the fat orange cat's neck by her. The cat is very unhappy. Auntie is very pleased. Mascots should have professional integrity. Fat orange cat. Meow. Sounds like a curse. Tang Yuning arrived with the platform staff to set things up. The table was covered with an off-white tablecloth. Next to me is a sample of my new art book. The cover features the girl holding the scissors. There is still a thread behind her, but no longer bows his head. There was also a small sign hanging by the bookstore entrance: small signing and sketching event. The thread is in my hands. I stared at the sign, feeling a bit dazed. Just a few days ago, I was still sitting in Xiao Linzhou's home study, editing images for his brand launch. All the spotlight was on him. My name was buried in a folder. Now, I'm sitting in this old bookstore, no crystal chandelier, no fancy backdrop, no expensive perfume, but the table sign clearly read author, He given name, Meng Jiha. I touched the red string. On my wrist it quietly clings to the skin, not hot, no rush, like companionship. I wasn't ready when the first reader came in. She was young, carrying a canvas bag, her eyes bright and sparkling as she walked up to me, her eyes suddenly reddened. Hi. I've been following your paintings since high school. When you stopped updating, I thought I'd never see your work again. My nose tingled with sadness. She handed over the picture album. Can you draw a cut line for me? I nodded. Sure. I drew a cut. Red thread on the title page. The end of the line does not droop, but gently tilts upward like a newly sprouted bud. She took it, tears streaming down her face. Thank you. You're welcome. I paused for a moment, then said softly, don't keep yourself waiting too long from now on. She nodded vigorously. The second reader was a woman in her 30s wearing a wedding ring on the hand. She said, I'm not ready to cut it off yet. But yesterday I had dinner first, without waiting for him to come back. I drew her a bowl of hot noodles. A loose thread is wrapped around the rim of the bowl. She watched and watched, then smiled. This is good. I like this. The third reader came with her daughter. The little girl leaned over the table and asked me, Sis, why does this person have so many tubes attached to them? Her mother felt a bit embarrassed and was about to pull her away. I smiled, because she used to always help others tie the knot, but forgot to leave a thread for herself. The little girl seemed to understand, but not quite. Does she remember now? I lowered my head and drew on her sticky note a little figure pulling its own shadow forward. Got it. The day passed quickly. My wrist is aching from all the drawing. Tang Yuning reminded me several times to take a rest. My aunt was more direct, squeezing into the autograph line with a bowl of wontons in hand. The author himself. Have a bite. My ears were burning with embarrassment. The readers burst into laughter. Some people say, eat. We'll wait, someone chimed in. Don't let He forget to eat again. Holding the bowl, I felt a sudden heat behind my eyes. Being reminded to eat isn't necessarily about control, it could also be love, a very light love, no binding, doesn't bite, like a little umbrella, placed right into your hand. In the evening, as the signing and drawing session was nearing its end, a person appeared at the entrance of the bookstore. My mom. She stood outside the glass door, holding a thermos in her hand. Looks a bit cramped. The moment her aunt saw her, her face immediately darkened. What is she here for? I have no idea. After signing the last one, I looked up. My mom pushed the door open and came in. The wind chime rang once. She didn't tear into me like she did last time. Just standing at the doorway, my gaze swept over the lingering readers in the bookstore, the art books on the tables, and the signed posters on the walls. In the end, it fell on me. Jiha, she called me. My voice is a bit hoarse. I put down the pen. Can I help you? Her fingers tightened around the handle of the thermos. I made soup. Your aunt said you've been busy these days. My aunt snorted coldly from the side. I never told you that. My mom's face showed a flicker of embarrassment. I checked out your account. Even as she said it, she herself seemed a bit uncomfortable with the words. A lot of people are watching. I don't know what to say. She stepped forward a few paces and placed the thermos on the table. Before, I had no idea so many people actually liked your drawings. She spoke very slowly. Every word feels as if it has been dug up from a very deep place. I always feel that painting is unstable. Even after marriage, a woman still needs her family. Your dad says the same thing. I listened quietly, no interruption, nor did I make excuses for her. She looked at me, her eyes slightly red. I was too harsh with what I said that day. It wasn't just that day, I whispered. My mom's expression froze. I continued. It was heavy many times, from childhood to adulthood. Her lips moved slightly. Tears suddenly fell. I don't know how to tell you. I'm afraid you'll have a hard time in the future, afraid people will laugh at you if you get divorced. I'm worried you won't be okay on your own. I looked at her. It still hurts inside, but it wasn't the kind of pain that would pull me back. Mom, I said, you're allowed to be scared. But just because you're afraid doesn't mean I have to keep putting up with it. She froze. Tears fell even harder. My aunt stood by, unusually refraining from interrupting. The bookstore fell silent. The setting sun streamed through the window, casting its glow onto the art book on the table. The girl holding the scissors was illuminated as if standing in the light. My mom looked at my wrist. This red string. I touched it instinctively. Why do you always wear it? To remind myself. Remind me of what? I thought about it. Remind me not to lose myself again. My mom opened her mouth as if to speak. In the end, nothing was said. She simply pushed the thermos toward me. The soup is still hot. Remember to drink. This is not a reconciliation, not yet. at least some wounds can't be healed with just a bowl of soup, but I didn't refuse. I opened the thermos. The aroma of lotus root and pork rib soup wafts out. It's very hot. It's nothing special. It's also been a long time. I served myself a small bowl, took a sip, a bit bland, just like my mom. She always tries to soften every sharp edge into it. For your own good, but this time, at least she didn't force me to go back. It's already a very, very small change, I said. Thank you. Tears fell from her eyes again. This time, I didn't hand her a tissue. Auntie passed away and said with great disdain, "You can cry, just not on my book." My mom choked a little. He actually smiled too. By the time the signing and sketching session ended, the sky had turned pitch black. The readers have all dispersed. Tang Yuning led the staff in packing up. My aunt was counting the art books sold today at the door, grinning like she'd just struck gold. I sat by the window, touching up the colors on the last few signed drawings. My phone suddenly lit up. It was Xiao Linzhou. He sent a photo. The photo shows the last page of the divorce agreement. His name has already been signed. Thank you, Linzhou. The handwriting remains sharp and elegant. Here's another message. You win. I stared at those 3 words a long time, finally replied to him. No, I just left. After sending the message, I put my phone face down, without waiting for his reply, nor do I care whether he will reply. A breeze passed by outside the window, the leaves rustled, the lights in the bookstore are warm. My aunt asked from behind the counter, "Are you still having the soup? Drink? Are you still eating the wontons? Have 2 or barely enough to whet one's appetite." I smiled. Those 3, you're hopeless. I held the soup, looking down at the red string on my wrist. I'm not sure if it's just my imagination. Its color has faded a little more, not like blood, more like a wisp of sunset glow resting on the edge of a cloud. I suddenly felt like drawing it, so he opened a new sketchbook and drew a woman on the last page. She stood before a tangled mess of cut wires. The threads fell all over the ground behind me. Some were still tangled around the hem of her skirt, some are still hanging on the distant doors, but she never looked back. Her red string was still tied around her left wrist. There's no one on the other end of the line, nor do I have a house, no marriage. There is no such thing as a final destination. It wound its way back into her own hands. I wrote a line beside it. The other end of the thread doesn't always have to be someone else. As I finished the last word, the red thread gently slipped off my wrist. It didn't break, nor has it disappeared, just loosened it, as if I've completed my own task. I hold it gently in my palm. It's very light, so light, it doesn't feel like something extraordinary. It feels more like a chapter of the past I can finally let go of. My aunt came over with a bowl of wontons and noticed the red thread in my palm. Lost it? I nodded. Still wearing it. I thought about it. Pick up the album and tuck the red string into the last page. I'm not wearing it anymore. Why? I closed the album and gently patted the cover. I remember the way now. My aunt looked at me, suddenly smiled. Okay, let's have wontons first. I took the bowl. The heat hit my face. My eyes are a bit sore, but I didn't cry. At least she didn't cry right away. I picked up a wonton, blew on it to cool it down, and put it into my mouth. Fresh, hot, nice and warm. It feels a lot like being alive. The night outside the window is gentle. The bookstore wind chime tinkled in the breeze. Ding ding. I lowered my head and continued eating. I still have paintings to finish tomorrow. There are still contracts to sign. There are still many old ties to slowly cut, but it's okay. It's okay if you can't finish cutting it all. I already know where the scissors are. Story 2. On my 50th birthday, my husband asked me for a divorce. He said Lu Xuan had waited for him for 30 years, and it was time to make an honest woman of her. I refused, but both my son and daughter came to persuade me. They said I'd been occupying Lu Xuan's place all these years, and now that they were both settled with families and careers of their own, they no longer needed the so-called perfect family. It was time I stepped aside for their Auntie Lu. When I traveled back to the year I was 20, and my husband Xinyan once again demanded that I, 6 months pregnant, prepare 8 dishes and a soup just to celebrate Lu Xuan's successful divorce and newfound freedom, I turned around, went to the hospital, and scheduled the earliest available abortion. 1. Xuan finally divorced that good-for-nothing husband of hers. She's coming over for dinner tonight with a few friends to celebrate her newfound freedom. Head to the market this afternoon too. Grab some groceries and cook us a meal at home. It's not a huge crowd, so just whip up about 8 dishes and a soup. Make sure to include a steamed perch with scallions. That's Xuan's favorite. You can decide on the rest of the dishes. Xinyan stood before them, radiating confidence with his youthful and handsome features. His handsome face softened unconsciously when Lu Xuan was mentioned. I stood frozen in disbelief, only to look down and see my perfectly round belly. The calendar On the wall showed December 22nd, 1995, the winter solstice. I realized I had been reborn, right in the 6th month of my pregnancy with twins. Dressed in a sharp suit and carrying a gleaming briefcase, Shen casually ran his fingers through his short hair as he glanced at the full-length mirror. Just as he was about to leave, he suddenly remembered something and turned to me, saying, "Oh, and don't put any scallions in the dishes. Shuiying can't stand the smell. She loves spicy food, so make sure to add plenty of chili." When he didn't hear a response from me after a long moment, his tone grew impatient. "What are you spacing out for? Are you even listening to me?" My mind went blank, and I let out an absent-minded hum. Only then did he leave, satisfied. Lu Xuan's brother once took a knife for Shen, and in return, Shen treated her like his own sister. Lu Xuan's marriage was unhappy, and she often went to Shen to pour her heart out. Later, with Shen's help, she successfully divorced her husband and grew increasingly closer to him. I was so consumed by household chores and completely devoted to my 2 children that I had no idea when they had gotten together. By the time I found out, I was like a bird with broken wings, no job, no income, and no means or confidence to break free from this predicament. For the sake of my children, I swallowed my pride and refused to make room for Lu Xuan, but I never expected that the children I had worked so hard to raise would also be won over by Lu Xuan. At some point I slumped into the chair, my mind flooded with scenes from before my death. The cream cake had melted into a sticky mess. My children, who had promised to celebrate my birthday, arrived late, with Shen and Lu Xuan following closely behind, hand in hand like a married couple. Their first words weren't "happy birthday," but a request for a divorce. Shen said, "Xuan has waited for me 30 years, she deserves to have her status recognized. After all these wasted years, instead of torturing each other further, why don't you let me go and free yourself as well?" I refused, but to my surprise, even our son and daughter urged me to consent to the divorce. My daughter confronted me bluntly, "You've occupied Aunt Lu's rightful place all these years, don't you feel any remorse?" Her eyes brimmed with disappointment as she scolded me with bitter frustration. "How did you become such a despicable shrew? All you do is cling desperately to your husband like some pathetic harpy." Though my son spoke calmly, his words were so chillingly rational and detached they sent shivers down my spine. "My sister and I are both married now. We don't need your so-called perfect family anymore. It's time you made room for Aunt Shui." He let out a cold, mocking laugh. "If our mother had been someone refined and cultured like Aunt Lu, my sister and I would have married into far better families. I can't believe the child I raised with my own hands now looks down on me for being unrefined, thinking I'm holding him back from climbing the social ladder." In a fit of rage, I tried to slap him, but Lu Xuan stepped in and blocked me. She said, "Sister Channing, this is no way to raise a child." She told me I don't know how to communicate with children, and that my approach will only push them further away. Furious, I swung backhanded at Lu Xuan, but Shen stepped in front of her. He roared angrily, "Look at yourself, you don't act like a mother at all. You're not even half the person Xuan is. No wonder the children don't want to acknowledge you as their own mother." A lifetime of pent-up rage erupted in that moment, and the slap landed squarely on Shenyan's face. I flung the melted cake at Shenyan and lunged at him as we struggled. A deafening explosion erupted from downstairs. A gas explosion downstairs had spread to the upper floor in a split second. My son yanked me to the ground while he and my daughter helped Shenyan and Lu Xuan escaped through the door. A piece of furniture crashed into my waist as it toppled. I dragged myself to the door with every ounce of strength I had left, only to find it bolted shut from the outside. As the flames engulfed me and my consciousness faded, all that remained was a heart full of bitter regret. Too, I had poured my entire life into my husband and children, yet in the end, I met a tragic and untimely end. Even the children I raised with my own hands came to despise me, deeming me an embarrassment to them. My wholehearted devotion for most of my life feels like a cruel joke staring at my swollen belly. I finally resolved to let them go. I rushed to the hospital with my documents and scheduled the earliest possible abortion due to my special circumstances. The procedure was set for a week later. After leaving the hospital, I picked a random restaurant to grab dinner. My pager went off over a dozen times, all messages from Shenyan. I paid no attention. With my stomach full and thirst quenched, I leisurely caught a cab home. I opened the door to find the modest living room packed with people. Peanut and sunflower seed shells were scattered all over the floor, the balcony was hazy with smoke, and the smell was suffocating just like in our past life. All the guests were friends of Lu Xuan and Shenyan. When Shenyan saw me, his face was filled with anger. "So you finally decided to come back. Do you have any idea what time it is? I paged you, why didn't you answer? Fine, let's just get dinner started, everyone's time is valuable, no point keeping people waiting. I tossed the hospital documents and medicine onto the table with a sharp slap. Xinyan's expression suddenly shifted, his gaze fell on my empty hands, and he asked in disbelief, Xiaoning, don't tell me you didn't even buy groceries. I spread my hands, you see. Xinyan frowned, what about dinner? Everyone's been waiting for you. No hands, don't tell me you're also broke and brainless, were you just going to starve if I didn't come back? Xinyan loved having friends over, even in my earlier months, entertaining them wore me out. Now that I'm heavily pregnant, the doctor says I could go into labor any day. It's downright exhausting. I've told Xinyan repeatedly to take his meals elsewhere. He always agrees, but then goes right back to his old ways. What could I do? Once he brought people home, I couldn't very well turn them away. Maybe because he'd grown accustomed to my tolerance. Xinyan seemed genuinely startled when I finally lost my temper. But you promised, didn't you? I let out a derisive snort. You also promised me before that you wouldn't bring it home. If he can fool me, I can fool him too. Xinyan froze in place. Seeing this, Lu Xuan walked over, joining. Do you dislike me? Are you deliberately avoiding hosting me and my friends? Did she think I would still use polite, diplomatic words like before? Trying to save her face from Xinyan's perspective. Never again, I admitted frankly. Yes, I dislike you. I dislike your lack of boundaries, how you take advantage of your relationship with Xinyan to come and go from my home as if it were your own, how you unapologetically take up all of Xinyan's free time, and how you endlessly complain about your marriage to a married man like a nagging, pitiful woman. I need to rest now. Please take your friends and leave. Lu Xuan stood frozen in place, her aggrieved eyes cautiously glancing toward Xinyan. Xinyan's heart ached with a mix of pain and anger. Xiaoning, you're being so petty. Xuan has finally moved on from a failed marriage. All I asked was for you to cook a meal to celebrate with her. It's not a big deal. Are you really that unwilling? You're a woman too. Why would you insult her like this? I've told you, Xuan is like a sister to me. Why do you insist on seeing her through such a biased lens? Someone else chimed in with a teasing remark. Exactly, sis-in-law. One shouldn't be so petty in life. It's just a meal. No need to make such a big deal out of it. Xuan had the courage to walk away from a failed marriage. We should be more supportive of her. As women, sis-in-law, why can't you show her a little more compassion? The chorus of accusations and questions echoed in my ears, as if not cooking this meal made me some unforgivable monster who'd committed the gravest sin. But who is Lu Xuan to me? Why should I be cooking for her with this big belly of mine? Her failed marriage is none of my business, yet my miserable past life was entirely orchestrated by her and Xinyan. Just as I was about to speak, Xinyan grabbed my wrist, apologized to Xuan. His tone left no room for argument. I looked up at him and retorted, why should I? Why, you broke Xuan's heart. Don't you think you owe her an apology? Lu Xuan gently tugged at Xinyan's sleeve. Brother Yan, let it go. Sister Channing probably didn't mean it. Let's just forgive her this once. Xinyan remained silent, just glaring at me, until Lu Xuan softened her tone. Brother Yan, do this for me. Only then did Xinyan shake his head helplessly and release my hand. His gaze towards Lu Xuan was full of adoration, but when he turned to me, his expression turned icy cold. Since Xuan personally pleaded for you, I'll let it slide this time. He glanced at his watch. There's still time to go buy groceries now. Everyone's time is precious, so don't waste any more of it. I grabbed the glass pitcher from the table and hurled it violently at Xinyan's feet. I said, no, you're perfectly capable, yet you're forcing a pregnant woman to wait on you. Have you no shame, no sense of decency? Have you thrown all dignity out the window? You're a married man, Xinyan. Instead of keeping your distance from other women, you bring one into our home and flirt right in front of me. Do you think I'm blind? Porcelain shards littered the floor. Lu Xuan turned pale with fright and threw herself into Xinyan's arms with a terrified shriek. Brother Yan, I'm scared. Xinyan held Lu Xuan close. Xiaoning, have you lost your mind? Lu Xuan shakily lifted her bare calf, where a shard of porcelain had left a thumb-sized gash, from which tiny beads of blood were welling up. Blood, blood. Pale-faced, Lu Xuan looked up at Xinyan and tearfully complained, Brother Yan, it hurts so much. Xinyan's face darkened instantly at the sight of the wound on her leg, and without warning, he slapped me hard across the face. Having spent most of my life with Xinyan, I'd always seen him as a considerate, humble, and refined gentleman. Even during our worst conflicts in our previous life, he never laid a hand on me. 3. Even on his 50th birthday, it was only me scratching and clawing at him. He never fought back, and here I am, 6 months pregnant with twins, at a time when I need care the most, so it never crossed my mind that he would suddenly turn violent and lash out at me. The force of the blow sent me crashing to the ground, my palms impaled by sharp ceramic shards. My mind went completely blank from the shock, until a searing pain in my palm snapped me back to reality. I think I understand now. The only reason Shen never laid a hand on me in our past life was because I never crossed his bottom line, so from this moment on, his heart had already completely belonged to Lu Xuan. Xiao Ning. Blood welled up in his palm. Shen stood frozen, panic flashing in his eyes. I didn't mean to. Even though I had long given up on him, my heart still ached fiercely when he treated me this way. Even if his heart wasn't with me, there should at least be some semblance of marital affection between us. Yet he shoved me to the ground over Lu Xuan's minor scratch. Shen, I'm pregnant, with twins, 6 months along. You're truly heartless. My abdomen tightened in waves, heavy with dragging pain. I was in so much pain I couldn't stand up, yet no one came to help me. Shen and Lu Xuan's friends grew increasingly awkward, quickly making excuses to leave. After a moment's hesitation, Shen stepped forward to pull me up, but Lu Xuan was quicker, hobbling over to my side as if to support me. The moment her hand touched my arm, she suddenly screamed and fell backward, as if someone had pushed her. Ah, my leg hurts so much. Lu Xuan doubled over, tears instantly gushing out like a fountain. Xuan. Shen changed direction and went back to hold her in his arms. Lu Xuan's gaze lingered on me with unspoken words, then as if steeling herself, she shook her head at Shen with tear-streaked cheeks. Brother Yan, Sister Channing definitely didn't mean to do it. TSSK, her face contorted in pain, every feature scrunched together. Lu Xuan was truly merciless to herself. Shards of porcelain covered the floor, cutting her legs all over and drawing quite a bit of blood. Fury crept across Shen face. He looked at me with disappointment. Xiao Ning, how could you become so vicious? Xuan kindly tried to help you up. And you actually pushed her. I pushed her. I couldn't believe it. Are you blind? You were standing right there. Couldn't you see whether I pushed her or not? Shen frowned, still denying it. Xiao Ning, you're really good at twisting the truth. What is she even worth? Not enough to dirty my hands. I, Xiao Ning, have always acted with integrity and have no use for such cheap tricks. We've known each other for years, so he's well aware of my temperament. Shen's anger seemed to subside slightly, as if he was about to speak, when Lu Xuan suddenly tugged at his sleeve. Brother Yan, it hurts so much. She glanced at me cautiously with an understanding expression, saying, Sister Channing didn't mean it. Let's not hold it against her. Alright. Shen softened his stance. You've already spoken up for her. What else can I do? Ha. With just one sentence you've already convicted me. Shen let out a deep sigh, bent down, and picked her up with a tone that was both helpless and doting. He said, I just can't handle you. Come on, I'll take you to the hospital first. After gasping in surprise, Lu Xuan bit her lip and said, then, what about Sister Channing? Shen looked down at me condescendingly and said, you just stay home and reflect on your actions properly. Huh, Sister Channing, I'm sorry. Her. Lu Xuan playfully stuck her tongue out at me. Her words were an apology, but her eyes were full of defiance. Shen pushed the door open and carried Lu Xuan away without a backward glance, leaving only a room in disarray. I struggled to push myself up, feeling a warm wetness trickling down my pant leg, a deep crimson stain spreading. My neighbor, Sister Jean, called an ambulance for me. By the time we reached the hospital, my pants were completely soaked, my body smeared with blood, for the doctor said the baby couldn't be saved, and without immediate surgery, my own life would be at risk. For general anesthesia surgery, a family member must be present to sign the consent form. My parents passed away long ago, and my only brother is away in another city attending university. As for Shen, I paged him countless times, but he never called back. Who can I possibly ask to sign my surgical consent form? My mind is a tangled mess. The doctor urged me to find someone to sign quickly. Where's your husband? It's an emergency. Call him to come right away. Waves of cramping pain radiated through my lower body, sharp enough to make me lose composure. Gritting my teeth through the contractions, I said, Doctor, I can't reach him. I'm fully lucid and can sign for myself. I'm sorry, but hospital policy requires a family member's signature for surgery. Patients cannot sign for themselves, the doctor said in exasperation. You're carrying twins, which is already higher risk. You're at an advanced stage now. Complications could arise at any moment. Your husband is being incredibly careless about this. I lowered my gaze and remained silent. I should have just told the doctor he was dead. This is the only major hospital in the city. Given how much Xinyan cares about Lu Xuan, he'd definitely bring her here. Chances are, they're in the same hospital as me. At this point, the only option is to send someone to find him. Even if they can't locate him, the doctors won't just stand by and let me die. Gritting my teeth, I begged Sister Jean to help me find Xinyan. He brought Lu Xuan to the hospital, so he should be in the emergency room right now. Kind-hearted as she was, Sister Jean immediately went to look for him. In less than 15 minutes, Sister Jean returned with a face full of anger. Qiao Ning, I'll sign this surgical consent form for you. I was a bit surprised. Couldn't you find Xinyan? Lu Xuan only had minor injuries, but Xinyan was so worried about her. They were very likely to come to this hospital. We left one right after the other. Given how dramatic Lu Xuan can be, there's no way she'd leave the hospital so quickly. Did he not show up? Sister Jean looked thoroughly annoyed. Don't even get me started. That Shin guy puts on a respectable front, but who'd have thought he'd be this kind of person? Sister Jean said she spotted Xinyan as soon as she arrived. She told him I was hospitalized and needed emergency surgery, requiring him to come sign the consent forms, but Xinyan didn't believe her. He said I was perfectly fine when he left, just a minor cut on my hand. How could it possibly be that serious? He thinks I just can't stand him. Favoring Lu Xuan and deliberately used a self-injury ruse to trick him into coming back. On the surface, Lu Xuan urged him to come take care of me, but she was actually hinting that I was throwing a tantrum and playing petty games for attention, even bringing that drama to the hospital. Xinyan grew increasingly skeptical of what Sister Jean said. When she scolded him, he even went so far as to say that if I really died in the hospital, I'd have deserved it. Sister Jean was so furious she couldn't speak. Perhaps she couldn't comprehend how such people could exist in this world. Trembling, I grasped Sister Jin's hand. Sister, I'll draft a power of attorney. I'm afraid I'll have to trouble you to sign it for me. All right, Sister Jean agreed without hesitation. When I was wheeled out of the operating room, my belly had already gone flat. The hollow emptiness of my stomach gave me a surreal sense of having passed through an entire lifetime. Had those two children truly vanished completely from my world? Sister Jean sighed with regret. So many people long for twins, a boy and a girl, but can't have them. What a terrible shame. Noticing my pale complexion, she gently reassured me that I was still young and would surely have another child someday. Even without this accident, I wouldn't have kept these two children. It would only have been a matter of delaying the inevitable by a day or two. I don't think I'll ever have children of my own in this lifetime. Elder sister, I have one more favor to ask of you. Tomorrow, please take my child to Xinyan's workplace and hand them over to him personally. Xinyan works for the government. Go on. His reputation means more to him than anything else. 5. Sister Jin's face fell. Girl, are you really done with that Shin guy? If we actually delivered the miscarried fetus to Xinyan's workplace, he wouldn't just lose face, his career would be ruined. If I burn bridges with Xinyan, our marriage will be over too. If you know it's a quagmire and don't want to sink deeper, you should extricate yourself before it's too late. In my past life, if it weren't for the two children holding me back, I wouldn't have rotted in that mire either. I nodded. Of course, it's also my fault for not being able to harden my heart, always being too soft-hearted and trapping myself. His heart isn't with me, and he caused me to lose the child. There's probably no point in continuing such a marriage, is there? A flicker of compassion crossed Sister Jin's eyes. Having endured domestic violence herself, she'd struggled for years before finally divorcing her husband. No one understood this pain more deeply than she did. Sister Jean patted her chest reassuringly. Don't you worry, dear, I'll make sure this is handled perfectly for you. I won't take up your time for nothing, ma'am. I'll compensate her for any work hours she misses. I just smiled. After working for nearly 3 years, I've managed to save up a modest sum. It should be enough to cover my postpartum recovery period. Well, a good neighbor is better than a distant relative. This little favor is nothing. Helping is a kindness, not helping is the default. Sister Jean is so kind-hearted, I can't possibly take advantage of her. Rubbing my now flattened stomach, I tossed and turned, unable to fall asleep. In my past life, Xinyan asked me to cook a celebratory meal for Lu Xuan's divorce, and I didn't refuse. I spent the entire afternoon shopping for groceries, prepping ingredients, and cooking, finally preparing a table full of dishes. When Xinyan returned, He only noticed I hadn't used enough chili, scolding me for being careless and saying few dishes suited Lu Xuan's taste. My diet has always been light, and during pregnancy I rarely touch spicy food just because 2 of the dishes had a bit less chili. He and Lu Xuan's friends started criticizing me. Lu Xuan pretended to calm them down, saying they shouldn't pick on a pregnant woman, while mocking me for being overweight and overly sensitive. I never thought Sister Channing would be so delicate even after gaining so much weight. Can't even handle a little spice. She smiled sweetly and suggested to Shen, don't always cater to my preferences. Sister Channing is pregnant now. Brother Yan, you should be more considerate of her needs. I worked hard to cook a whole table of dishes only to receive a heap of complaints, while Lu Xuan earned praise for being kind and thoughtful with just a few words. At the time, I just thought she was too young to know any better, so I didn't make a big deal out of it. But then, under the guise of pouring me a drink, she ended up spilling half the bottle all over my stomach. Before I could even process what had happened, she suddenly reached out and lifted up my shirt, saying she wanted to wipe it clean. Just like that, the winding, deep purple stretch marks on my stomach were abruptly exposed for everyone to see. Lu Xuan recoiled in horror, her hand flying to cover her mouth in shock. Oh my God, Sister Channing, have you mutated? These patterns are terrifying. With tears welling in her eyes, Lu Xuan turned to Shen and said, Brother Yan, I never want to end up like this. It's so hideous, just like earthworms. Waves of mocking laughter erupted around me, and I shamefully tugged my clothes back down. The dense stretch marks on my belly were already distressing enough, but they deliberately rubbed salt in my wounds. I demanded an apology from Lu Xuan, but Shen and his friends accused me of making a mountain out of a molehill, saying my belly was as big as a pig's but my tolerance was as small as a needle's eye. No one stood up for me. I was so upset I started crying, and Shen blamed me for ruining the mood and wrecking what should have been a perfectly good gathering. Thinking back on all these past events, I resent both Shen and Lu Xuan, but I also resent my own weakness in this second life. All I hope is that Shen and Lu Xuan get the miserable fate they deserve, and spiral deeper into their own wretchedness. I slept like a log through the night. When I woke up and checked my pager, the screen was blank. Not a single message from Shen. 6. His pregnant wife was out all night, yet he didn't show the slightest concern. Or did he stay with Lu Xuan all night without ever returning home? I couldn't help but laugh at myself. Even after everything Shen has done, I'm still holding out hope for him. How pathetic. I waited quietly at the hospital for news from Sister Jean. It was barely noon, and I hadn't even finished my soup when Shen stormed into the ward with a grim expression. Sister Jean and a few of Shen colleagues followed close behind. Veins bulged on Shen neck and face, his eyes burning with suppressed rage. His gaze fell on my flat stomach. With a violent swipe, Shen knocked the lunchbox from my hands, sending soup splattering across the floor, most of it staining my hospital gown. Xiao Ning, have you lost your mind? His eyes were bloodshot, his voice trembling. How dare you terminate my child without my permission, just because I slapped you? Those were 2 living human beings. Can't you act like an adult instead of being so childish? You were in the wrong first. As your husband, I have the right and responsibility to correct you. Why are you so spiteful that you'd take it out on our child's life? I let out a bitter laugh, tears streaming from my eyes. She lifted her gaze to meet his, enunciating each word with chilling clarity. Both children were lost by your own hand. Sister Jean pushed forward, her voice ringing with conviction. When your wife called me, she was already lying in a pool of blood. I went to the emergency room begging you to sign the forms, but you refused to believe me, too busy clinging to your mistress. You even told your wife to go die. I bear witness to this. And so do the doctors. You're the one who killed those 2 children. Shen shook his head. No, that's impossible. I only slapped her once. How could it be this serious? She was perfectly fine when we left. Shen refused to believe it, shaking his head in stubborn denial. Sister Jean let out a scornful laugh. Just a slap. How could a fragile woman carrying twins in her 3rd trimester withstand your brutal strike? Look at her face. The mark from yesterday's slap hasn't even faded. You hit her so hard she couldn't stand. She had to crawl all the way to me for help. You beat your own wife over some floozy, then have the gall to blame others, acting all respectable while being this monstrous. It's downright terrifying. People around were whispering and murmuring among themselves. Shenyan's colleague also gossiped quietly. Who would have thought that engineer Shen, who always seems so refined, could be so brutal to his wife? It just goes to show, appearances can be deceiving. I heard she was pregnant with twins. Nowadays, every family is. only allowed one child, and he just beat them out of her. What a waste, all for some other woman. And engineer Shin could be so heartless. Others started speculating further. You never really know what's in a person's heart. Maybe he's been planning to divorce her all along. The kids were in his way, so he deliberately got rid of them to make it easier to divorce and run off with that mistress. That's a valid point. There are far too many men in this world who abandon their wives and children. The attending physician came by on rounds and confirmed that my miscarriage was indeed caused by the fall. Shin Yan clutched his head, completely shattered. It was just a slap. How could it possibly lead to something this severe? He couldn't believe it, yet the undeniable truth stared him in the face, leaving no room for doubt. He crawled on his knees toward me, clutching my hands as he pleaded, chanting, "I didn't mean to do it. You're still young. We can have another child. I'm begging you. Please forgive me just this once." I pulled my hands away. "Shin Yan, let's get a divorce." Shin Yan was completely stunned. We've been married for less than a year, and he couldn't believe I was actually bringing up divorce. 7. What is it? Divorce? No, I won't agree to that. There's nothing wrong with our relationship. I refuse to get a divorce. Shin Yan shook his head vehemently, saying he would never divorce me. We can have another child. If this is about Xuan, I'll have her come apologize. She's just like a sister to me. There's absolutely nothing going on between us. He didn't want the divorce. He just couldn't accept losing the child, nor could he stomach that I was the one initiating the separation. I cut him off with a raised hand, unwilling to listen to his excuses. If you refuse to agree, I'll have no choice but to report the assault that caused my miscarriage. You can't have both your career and this marriage. Choose one. Having Sister Jean make this trip was already causing significant disruption to Shin Yan's work. His friends and the hospital records can all testify that he caused my miscarriage through physical assault. If this goes to the police, he won't escape criminal charges. With illegal conduct occurring in a government institution, his iron rice bowl is as good as gone. I originally planned to bide my time about the divorce until after recovering from the miscarriage, but this situation has given me a chance to make a clean break sooner. Shin Yan's heart was never with me to begin with. When it comes to choosing between his future and our marriage, the answer is crystal clear. Shin Yan never expected me to be so resolute. Muttering, "I need to think about this," he fled in utter dejection. I went through the discharge procedures in the afternoon and returned to pack my things. Pushing the door open, I found the place still in disarray. Dark brown bloodstains had dried on the floor, while the abortion appointment forms and medications remained exactly where they were, untouched. It turns out Shin Yan never came home after taking Lu Xuan to the hospital. I tore up the receipts and tossed them into the trash along with the medicine. I packed a few essentials and moved back to my own place. Shin Yan came by several times, even bringing Lu Xuan along to apologize, but I never opened the door. If we're ending this, let's make it a clean break. Once my health improved, I contacted Shin Yan to finalize our divorce at the Civil Affairs Bureau. Getting divorced now is much easier than later. There's no mandatory cooling off period. As long as Shin Yan agrees, we can get the divorce certificate immediately. Shin Yan said he wanted to talk with me, and I agreed. I thought it was about dividing our assets, but I never expected Shin Yan to have his eyes on my job. Xuan just got divorced. She's a young woman on her own now, and without a job, she can't support herself. Your position would be perfect for her. Besides, I helped you land that job in the first place. I want you to give up your job for Xuan. If you agree, we can go get our divorce certificate today. After marrying Shin Yan, I switched to a job closer to home, one he helped me get through a friend's referral in my previous life. Just over a month after I left the company, before our child was even born, Shin Yan took it upon himself to go to my workplace and process my resignation, then handed my job over to Lu Xuan. They all kept it from me until I finished my postpartum confinement and was ready to return to work, only to discover my job was gone. Shin Yan coaxed me by saying our 2 children needed their mother's care, and that he wouldn't feel comfortable hiring a nanny to look after them. While I was hesitating, he showed me numerous news articles about nannies abusing children, strongly urging me to focus on our family and devote myself entirely to caring for our children. This way, Xuan gets what she wants, and you can stay home to take care of the kids and me. It's a win-win situation. No need to hesitate any longer. He used a mother's love for her child to trap me at home, turning me into a housewife with no income of my own. Now that our feud is out in the open and everyone knows about it, he has no standing or authority to go to my company and handle my resignation. But this job, while it may seem easy, comes with a lot of temptations. In her previous life, Lu Xuan landed in serious trouble shortly after taking on the job. Shen Yan spent all his savings just to bail her out. I can let her have it, but I have one condition. Shen Yan raised an eyebrow. Go on, I said slowly, you leave with nothing, Joanne, don't push it. I grabbed my bag and stood up. Then we have nothing more to discuss, we'll settle this at the police station. Before I could even leave my seat, Shen Yan grabbed my wrist. I pulled the pre-printed divorce papers from my bag and methodically filled in all the blank sections. I slid the duplicate copies across to him. Sign here. The moment he signed, we headed straight to the Civil Affairs Bureau. I agree. Holding the divorce certificate, I felt somewhat dazed. So this is all it takes to get divorced. In my past life, I built walls around myself, retreating into the shell called family and never daring to take that first step. I squandered my youth and ruined my entire life. Once you bravely take the first step, the second and third will follow naturally. When should we handle the work handover? Shen Yan asked me. You and Lu Shuang should move out of that apartment first. Once the property is properly handed over, we can sort out the work matters. Perhaps the mockery in my eyes was too palpable, making Shen Yan look somewhat guilty. He began to explain, it's not convenient for Shuang to keep staying at a friend's place. Since we have an extra room, I thought I'd help her out. She's just a young woman after all. We're already divorced. That's your business. There's no need to explain yourself to me. Besides, your explanation sounds feeble no matter how you spin it. After all, in our past life, Shen Yan ended up in Lu Xuan's bed. Shen Yan looked genuinely hurt. Xiao Ning, even though we're divorced, I still hope we can be friends. Let's skip the friendship. I don't make a habit of being friends with abusive scumbags. The best outcome is for us to go our separate ways. His misfortune brings me joy. Shen Yan fell silent with an awkward expression. The first thing I did after reclaiming the house was to confront Lu Xuan's ex-husband. Lu Xuan's ex-husband was her childhood sweetheart. They were betrothed from a young age, and he held deep affection for her, but with his low education and no stable job, he'd been doing odd jobs on construction sites. Lu Xuan thought construction work had no future, so she brought him along to seek help from Shen Yan. Little did they know, while no job materialized, Lu Xuan grew attracted to Shen Yan's respectable career and handsome appearance, becoming increasingly distant from her husband. He probably couldn't understand why, when life was going smoothly, Lu Xuan suddenly started demanding a divorce. Do you know why Lu Xuan wanted a divorce from you? Her ex-husband looked utterly dejected. He thought Lu Xuan had been dazzled by the glamour of the big city and looked down on him for being a poor guy. Little did he know that Lu Xuan had already shifted her affections to someone else and set her sights on Shen Yan. The divorce hit him hard. I heard he's lost all motivation for work and spends his days holed up in his rented apartment, drowning his sorrows in alcohol. Because I'm useless, I shook my head and laid out the stack of photos I'd collected in front of him. Some showed them with arms slung over each other's shoulders at parties, others depicted them living together, coming and going as a couple. In the photo, Lu Xuan and Shen Yan appeared intimately close, with Lu gazing at Shen with unmistakable affection in her eyes. Shen Yan was stabbed. Lu Xuan's ex-husband caused a scene at his workplace, accusing him of seducing a married woman and breaking up his marriage with Lu Xuan. In the heat of the argument, the furious ex-husband pulled out a fruit knife and stabbed Shen Yan. 9. If the security guards hadn't arrived in time, Shen Yan would have likely lost his life. Although he was fortunate to survive, his body suffered severe trauma and would never be the same again. His improper conduct ruined his reputation, and he was eventually disciplined by his workplace and transferred to an insignificant position with no real responsibilities. Lu Xuan, however, proved to be deeply devoted and took the initiative to register her marriage with Shen Yan. I didn't attend the wedding, but Lu Xuan tracked me down anyway and gave me wedding candies. Beaming with pride, she said, Sister Channing, without your stepping aside, Brother Yan and I would never have gotten together. I should be thanking you. I smiled and accepted the candies. A scumbag and a homewrecker, a match made in heaven. Even without me, you two would have ended up together sooner or later, so don't thank me. Thank yourselves for being shameless and lacking any sense of decency. Lu Xuan stormed off, her face flushed with rage, stomping her foot in frustration. I started a new job, and life is slowly getting back on track. When I saw Shen Yan again, he was unshaven and looked utterly exhausted. Xuan was caught taking kickbacks and embezzling company funds. She has to pay back a huge sum. Channing, can you help me out? It's no surprise that Lu Xuan got into trouble, but Shen Yan asking me for help, now that's unexpected. How did he become so thick-skinned? Shen Yan, what exactly is our relationship, and what connection do I have with Lu Xuan? Xinyan's lips trembled slightly, a flicker of embarrassment crossing his face. Channing, I'm truly at my wit's end, the money can't be repaid, and Xuan will have to go to jail. When we divorced, I left with nothing. You came out ahead. I won't touch the house, but could you at least return my savings? 3 words, not negotiable. You wronged me, and those things are rightfully mine. How dare he even think of it? Divorced and still shameless enough to ask his ex-wife for money to help his mistress, Xinyan retorted indignantly. Xuan is still so young. She only made a small mistake. Can't you give her a second chance? How could you bear to ruin the rest of her life? She messed up because she has no professional ethics and no moral compass. Whatever happens to her is a consequence of her own actions. She brought it on herself. What does any of that have to do with me? There was no point in wasting my breath on him. I shoved Xinyan aside and walked away. Qiao Ning, you're absolutely heartless. His words reached me from behind, and I turned around. If you're truly determined to help Lu Xuan, there might be a way. A hopeful expression crossed Xinyan's face. Go on, I chuckled. You're not bad looking. I've heard some wealthy ladies have a taste for your type. You could play to their preferences. Might even manage to get Lu Xuan out of this mess. You're suggesting I sell myself. Xinyan flushed crimson with shame and fury. I shrugged. Wasn't me who said it. Xinyan failed to get Lu Xuan off the hook, and she ended up getting sued by the company. She was sentenced to a year in prison, unable to stomach the office gossip. Xinyan handed in his resignation. Having spent years in an office job, he developed a habit of being all talk and no action. Looking down on this, sneering at that, he kept hitting walls in his job search. He came to me for help several times, but I never gave him the time of day. Years later, I was absolutely floored to hear about Xinyan. He'd actually taken the plunge into the business world and managed to latch onto a wealthy older woman. He got caught red-handed in bed by the woman's husband, causing a huge scandal that set the whole town abuzz. Lots of our old friends came to me looking for the inside scoop. While stunned that Xinyan even had it in him, I calmly settled in to gossip with everyone about the whole affair. The end. Story 2. At my funeral, I found that my boyfriend of 2 years and my best friend were laughing recklessly in the corner. However, Lu Jingqing, my sworn enemy who had been against me since childhood, was crying his heart out with his head in his hands. I jolted up in my dying state, realizing that I had lived my life in vain all these years. Suddenly, a line of glowing words appeared in front of my eyes. Dear, watch the advertisement to be resurrected and reborn. 1. After watching a 25-second brain gold advertisement, I was reborn and returned to my senior year of high school. The moment my vision was restored, I saw Lu Jingqing, who was leaning beside me and smiling at me. Instantly, tears streamed down my face. Lu Jingqing regained his previous unruly look in an instant. When he turned his head and saw me crying, he panicked again. No, a term of endearment can be translated as my dear girl. I didn't bully you. Why are you crying? I didn't want to cry either, but the scenes from my previous life were too harsh. I dried my tears, looked at Lu Jingqing, who was looking for toilet paper for me, and rushed into his arms directly. He was hugged by me, and his hand froze in midair instantly. His ears turned red immediately. Jiang Qiqi, what are you doing? After a while, he realized that I was acting a bit abnormal and was about to push me away. I tightened my arms around him. Can you stay still and let me hug you for a while? After I said that, Lu Jingqing really didn't move until I released my arms around him. After letting go of him, I blinked my eyes at him. He reacted and turned around and ran away. I looked at his back, feeling mixed emotions inside. Lu Jingqing and I had been engaged since childhood, but I didn't like him, because ever since I could remember, my unreliable stepmother had told me that my father arranged the engagement between me and Lu Jingqing just for the sake of profit. At first, I didn't believe it, but until I actually saw the assets of Lu Jingqing's family, and with my stepmother repeating in my ear day after day and year after year that I would lose my freedom if I married Lu Jingqing, I began to hate Lu Jingqing. Whenever I saw him, I would speak harshly to him. At first, Lu Jingqing would patiently explain to me, but I wouldn't listen. Later, when I went to junior high school and was in the same class as Lu Jingqing, he also became rebellious. When I scolded him, he would retort me without mercy. It was from that time on that Lu Jingqing and I became the kind of people who couldn't stand each other. In the year of high school, I made a very good friend. Her name was Meng Qing, but Lu Jingqing wouldn't let me play with her, saying that she wasn't a good person. I still remember that day when I firmly shook off Lu Jingqing's hand and told him, I like everything that you don't like. Since then, Lu Jingqing never came to find me again, and through my so-called good friend, I had my first love in my life after the college entrance examination. When I learned that Lu Jingqing went to study in City A, I applied for a school in City B. The two cities were more than 2,000 kilometers apart, and I never saw that boy who made me unhappy every day again in my sophomore year of college. I finally got my wish and dissolved the engagement with Lu Jingqing. And I also died that afternoon because of a car accident. After I died, I found out that my so-called best friend Meng Qing was actually the biological daughter of my stepmother. And my favorite boyfriend Song Yishuan was an actor that she had hired with a large sum of money. My life was like a joke, and the only redemption in this joke was pushed away by me with my own hands too. Chi-Chi, are you going to the coffee shop after school? I'll introduce a friend to you. My thoughts were interrupted, and Meng Qing appeared in front of me. I frowned and looked down at my phone. October 24, 2015. Today was the day when I met Song Yishuan. Seeing that I didn't speak, Meng Qing took my hand. Chi-Chi, accompany me. A super handsome guy will come this afternoon. You'll definitely be disappointed if you don't come. I resisted the urge to roll my eyes and blinked my eyes pretending to be innocent. How handsome is he? Is he more handsome than Lu Jingqing? If he's not more handsome than him, I won't go. Meng Qing was about to reply, but the moment she heard Lu Jingqing's name, she was stunned. It took her a long time to ask, Chi-Chi, you don't like Lu Jingqing, do you? Why are you mentioning him? I closed the textbook in front of me and leaned against the bench. Who said I don't like Lu Jingqing? As soon as I finished speaking, Meng Qing seemed to panic and quickly started speaking ill of Lu Jingqing. Chi-Chi, how can a person like him be worthy of your liking? He bullies you every day. I can't stand it. Are you confused because of a fever? After Meng Qing finished speaking, she reached out to touch my forehead. I opened her hand in disgust. Who has a fever? It's you who has a fever. How is Lu Jingqing not worthy of my liking? I'm telling you, I, Jiang Chi-Chi, like Lu Jingqing the most in my life. I will marry no one but him. As soon as I finished speaking, there came the sound of a glass breaking at the door. I looked in the direction of the sound. It was Lu Jingqing who had just come back after getting water. Suddenly, my face turned red all the way to the back of my ears. A sense of shame welled up in my heart, and I instinctively crouched under the desk, praying in my heart, he didn't hear it, he didn't hear it, he didn't hear it. Under the desk, I saw a pair of Nike shoes striding towards me. A somewhat amused voice of Lu Jingqing came from above my head. Jiang Chi-Chi, what are you doing? I bit my lip, gently patted my face, and then pretended that nothing had happened and replied, nothing. My pen dropped, I'm picking it up, haha. As soon as I finished speaking, another head appeared under the desk. The moment I met his eyes, the blush that had just faded from my face rushed up again. Lu Jingqing smiled gently. Did you pick up the pen? I felt like crying but had no tears. Then I fled in a hurry. 3. For the rest of the afternoon, I instinctively avoided Lu Jingqing. When school was over, I took my school bag and rushed out of the classroom like a mouse. At night, I hid under the quilt. Every time I thought of Lu Jingqing, my heart would pound. It was a feeling that I had never had when I was with Song Yishuan before. I touched my chest and murmured to myself, this should be liking, right? Early the next morning, I was walking towards the classroom with soy milk in my hand. I was wondering whether I should avoid Lu Jingqing today. As a result, without paying attention, I bumped into someone. The soy milk spilled all over me. I looked at the person in front of me, and there was also soy milk on him. I instinctively apologized. The other person seemed to have expected it and took out a pack of toilet paper from his pocket. Classmate, it's me who should say sorry, you can wipe it first. A familiar voice sounded. I looked up and met Song Yishuan's gaze. Why did I still meet him at this time? Meng Qing somehow popped out. I instantly understood everything. So they were acting here. Hey, Yishuan, why are you here? Wait a minute, Chi-Chi. What happened to you? I frowned and didn't want to watch Meng Qing acting hypocritically here. I turned around and was about to leave, but a figure blocked my way one step ahead of me. Why are you so careless? I looked up and met Lu Jingqing's beautiful eyes. When Meng Qing saw Lu Jingqing, her eyes lit up and she quickly smiled and said, it's okay, let Yishuan take Chi-Chi to deal with it. We should go back to class first. I rolled my eyes. She really worked hard and still wanted to create a space for us to be alone. How could I fall for it this time? No need, no need. Before I could finish speaking, Lu Jingqing had already refused her one step ahead and took my hand and led me away. Lu Jingqing walked very fast, and I could only trot to keep up. When I looked back, I saw Meng Qing staring at me viciously. When she saw me looking at her, she immediately put on a smiling face again. It's really disgusting. I was taken downstairs by Lu Jingqing all the way. I shook off his hand and squatted on the ground, panting, "Why don't you play with your good best friend anymore?" Lu Jingqing stood beside me with his arms crossed. I waved my hand and stood up from the ground. "Good best friend? Who said she's my good best friend?" Lu Jingqing found it a bit funny and looked at me. "Who said a few days ago that Meng Qing is my Jiang Qiqi's best friend in this life and no one can separate us two?" He imitated my previous tone and repeated what I had said. He's so petty, he actually remembered this matter until now. But come to think of it, I did do such a thing. I also said that I would never like you in my life, I murmured in a low voice. He suddenly leaned closer. "What did you say?" I bit my lip and stepped on his foot hard. "I'm not saying it anymore." After that, I turned around and left, for after I went to the toilet and wiped the soy milk off my body, I got up and was about to go back to the classroom for class. As soon as I walked out of the toilet door, I saw the familiar figure of Song Yishuan again. When he saw me, he immediately walked forward. He had already changed into a set of clothes and then took out a pack of toilet paper from his pocket again. Before I could speak, he had already pulled out a piece of paper and reached out to help me wipe the wet place on my body. "Sorry, classmate, I was too careless. I didn't have time to apologize to you properly just now. Let me wipe it clean for you." I jumped back like a catapult, creating a distance between us. His hand froze in place, and he pushed the glasses on his nose awkwardly. This action instantly awakened my previous memories. Whenever Song Yishuan was angry before, he would instinctively push his glasses. At first, I didn't understand. Later, after I knew it, as soon as his hand touched his glasses, I would rush towards him like a sycophant and keep apologizing. Strangely enough, I didn't like him at that time, but I still couldn't help but try to please him. But just now, I understood I was played by him. No, it was my carelessness. I still have to go to class. I'm leaving now. Now that I had suddenly understood, I hated Song Yishuan even more. I raised my foot and ran away in one go. Song Yishuan still wanted to reach out to stop me, but I was already out of sight. When I returned to the classroom, the class bell just rang. This class was math. I saw that there was a different person sitting next to my seat. It was Meng Qing. When she saw me, she smiled and pulled me towards the seat. I sat in my seat, and Meng Qing immediately leaned over. "Qiqi, I'll have this class with you." "Hee." I frowned. "Who wants to have class with you? You'd better go back. I can't listen to the class properly with you here." She didn't seem to hear the impatience in my tone and actually rubbed against my arm. "Come on, it's just one class. Qiqi can still learn even if you don't listen." I felt speechless. If it were in my previous life, I would have been carried away by this sentence of hers. I opened my mouth, but the teacher had already stepped into the classroom one step ahead. It was too late. I held my forehead and stopped talking. 5. This was a math class. High school math was extremely difficult. Missing one class might require half a day of making up after class. I picked up the textbook and focused on listening to the teacher. Meng Qing was unhappy and started to find topics to talk to me about. "Qiqi, you scared me to death this morning. Fortunately, you weren't scalded, otherwise, I would have been so heartbroken." I remained silent. "Come on. Did you see that guy you bumped into this morning? Isn't he super handsome? He's the guy I wanted to introduce to you yesterday." I took a deep breath and forced a smile. "He's so handsome. If you like him, do you want me to help you chase him?" Her smile froze on her face. After hesitating for a while, she ignored my question and continued. "His name is Song Yishuan. He's a transfer student in class 8. When I talked to him last time and mentioned you, teacher, I'm sorry. I didn't understand this question. Could you please explain it again?" I raised my hand and pointed to the example question in the textbook. The teacher was an old man of some age. Perhaps it was the first time someone asked a question in class. He smiled gratifyingly. "Okay, this, classmate Jiang Qiqi, I want to praise you. Your learning spirit is really commendable. Regarding this learning spirit, we have to start from 100 years ago." I stared at the teacher in disbelief. He talked from math to history and I still didn't get the explanation of the question I wanted to hear until the class was over. After class, I watched the teacher fly out like the wind. Seeing this, Meng Qing immediately interrupted. "Qiqi, don't you know how to do it? Let Yishuan teach you. Yishuan's math is really..." Before Meng Qing could finish her sentence, a math textbook appeared in front of me. It was Lu Jingqing. He yawned and sat in front of me. "Which question?" I didn't react. "Huh, which question didn't you understand just now?" I understood what he meant. I opened the example question just now. His beautiful fingers landed on the textbook, and he picked up a blank piece of paper beside him and started to solve the problem. Meng Qing was stunned and also leaned over. After Lu Jingqing finished writing the solution, he moved the paper in front of me on the white paper. All the problem-solving ideas of that question were clearly written. I could even understand the solution of this question without him explaining. He stretched and patted my head. Wait for me to go home together after school tonight. I nodded. He got up and was about to leave. Meng Qing suddenly stood up from the chair. Jingqing, I also have a question that I don't understand. Can you teach me? Teacher Chen's office is just downstairs. Lu Jingqing refused her without looking back. Meng Qing seemed to be frozen. Behind her, my heart was pounding. How on earth did I manage to hate Lu Jingqing so much in my previous life? 6. After school, as soon as I packed my things, Lu Jingqing was already waiting for me at the door. I smiled and walked towards him. Meng Qing popped out again. Chi-Chi, my stomach hurts so much. I'm feeling so uncomfortable. I ignored her and continued to walk towards Lu Jingqing. Meng Qing directly grabbed my hand. Chi-Chi, I'm really in pain. I was so speechless. Did she think others were fools just because they didn't get angry? If you're not feeling well, go see a doctor. Why are you pulling me? Am I a doctor? Meng Qing let go of my hand. Then, she started crying. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Lu Jingqing stepped forward. I'll take you there. I didn't understand. Meng Qing looked up. Huh, aren't you feeling unwell? I'll take you to the hospital. Lu Jingqing repeated it again. When Meng Qing heard this, she replied softly with an okay, then she bypassed me and left with Lu Jingqing. I stood there in a daze. 2 seconds later, it felt as if something tugged at my heart, and I felt a bit uncomfortable. After taking several deep breaths, I watched as the people in the classroom gradually dispersed, and I walked away along with the crowd. On the way home, I couldn't help but kick the stones at my feet a couple of times. As a result, when I exerted a bit too much force, I sprained my ankle. My tense emotions exploded in an instant. I plopped down on the ground directly. What the hell? Why am I so unlucky? It's all Lu Jingqing's fault. Didn't he say we'd go together? He's a damned liar. I'll make sure you can't have what you want in this life either. Buddy, can't have what I want. I was startled. When I looked up and saw Lu Jingqing, I got even angrier. Ignoring the pain in my foot, I got up and walked away. Lu Jingqing followed. I gave him a dirty look. Stay away from me. He raised his eyebrows, looked at my limping figure, and stopped. I thought to myself, so he's not going to explain. Huh, fine. I continued walking forward quickly, maybe because I was trying to do 2 things at once. I didn't see the sign that said no entry. Below it was a sewer covered with an iron sheet. By the time I realized it, I had already been pulled back by Lu Jingqing. Don't you care about your life? Can't you see that huge sign up there? I only realized it later, and then my eyes turned red. Leave me alone. I'm not talking to liars. Even if I die today and jump down from here, I won't pay attention to you. Lu Jingqing was amused by me, but I was fuming with anger seeing that he didn't seem to want to explain. I turned around and walked away. After taking 2 steps, I was pulled back again. Yes, I'm a liar. Hearing his words, half of my anger subsided, but I still didn't plan to pay attention to him and just walked forward on my own. But because of my sprained ankle, I had to be careful with every step. Suddenly, Lu Jingqing quickly walked in front of me and squatted down. 7. Come on, I'll carry you on my back. I felt a bit pleased inside, but since I wasn't completely over my anger yet, I coughed twice and said in a sarcastic tone, is this back only for me, or do you carry others too? Lu Jingqing chuckled. Come on, it's only for you. Getting a satisfactory answer, I jumped onto his back. He carried me and walked slowly. I brought my mouth close to his ear. Aren't you going to explain? His tone was calm. For someone insignificant, is it necessary? I sneered and tightened my hands around his neck. She may not be necessary, but you stood me up today. Lu Jingqing stopped in his tracks and looked back at me. The moment our eyes met, my face blushed again. Much to my annoyance, I had thought that Lu Jingqing would tell me righteously that nothing had happened between them. Instead, he actually asked me, Jiang Qiqi, have you been possessed? The air suddenly fell silent, and the corners of my mouth almost dropped to the ground. Okay, I'm not joking anymore. I took her to the entrance of the mental hospital, and then I came back. I burst out laughing, and Lu Jingqing laughed too. He just kept carrying me forward. In a trance, I seemed to see our future. He walked very slowly, stretching a 5-minute journey into 20 minutes. When we got to the door of my house, I saw a familiar figure. Chi-Chi, why are you so late today? Oh, Jingqing is here too. It was my stepmother, Xia Chenxiao. The moment she saw me getting off Lu Jingqing's back, the smile on her face faded. I nodded politely at her. Just as I was about to go home, Lu Jingqing took my hand. I'll come pick you up at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. I was a bit confused. Wasn't tomorrow Saturday, he added, to give you tutoring? I smiled and agreed. I watched him leave before going inside. After changing into my slippers, Xia Chenxiao crept up beside me without me noticing. Her obsequious smile made me feel uncomfortable all over. Chi-Chi, why did you come back with Jingqing today? It's not that I'm saying this, but it's always better for you to stay away from him. Have you forgotten what I told you before? I continued with what I was doing and replied perfunctorily, it was too long ago. I can't remember clearly. She didn't give up and came closer again. Chi-Chi, don't you want to live your whole life under surveillance? I nodded. Yeah. Is there anything else? If not, I'll go upstairs first. After that, I walked straight to my room. After doing my homework for a while, I felt thirsty, so I went downstairs to get a glass of water. As I passed by Xia Chuanxia's room, I heard some noise inside. My curiosity drove me to get closer. Mom, I must be with Jingqing. I can't let that bitch Jiang Chi-Chi steal him away. It was Meng Qing's voice. Mom knows. I don't know what's wrong with that little bitch today. She suddenly clung to Lu Jingqing. But it doesn't matter. You make the arrangements on your end, and I'll ask Jiang Yanwei to dissolve the engagement between Jiang Chi-Chi and Lu Jingqing. Then she won't be able to marry him even if she wants to. I looked at the hot water in my hand and smiled. Why does she think that my dad will take her side? Back then, my dad married Xia Chenxiao just to find me a companion. I knew better than anyone that my dad not only didn't love Xia Chenxiao, but after all these years of getting along, he already knew what kind of person Xia Chenxiao was. The stupid ones are the Xia Chenxiao family. Do they really think that all rich people are brainless idiots, except for me in my previous life? I carried the water and quietly went back to my room. Early the next morning, I got up at 8 o'clock to get ready. At 9 o'clock, I went out on time, but I didn't see Lu Jingqing. Instead, I saw Meng Qing and Song Yishuan. I slammed the door shut, and there came a knock on the door. Chi-Chi, we specially invited you to go to the library with us. Yishuan is really good at math and can help you. I replied impatiently, no need. After a while, I heard the sound of a motorcycle stopping outside. I pulled open the curtain and saw Lu Jingqing. I ran very fast, ignoring Meng Qing and Song Yishuan who were standing aside. 10 minutes later, I appeared at the main entrance of the library, but I didn't bring a single book. I looked at the school bag behind Lu Jingqing, and then at myself. I was the fool after all. Where are your books? I felt like crying but had no tears. I forgot to bring them. I couldn't very well say that I thought your mention of going to the library yesterday was just an excuse, and that you actually wanted to go on a date with me. Could I? Lu Jingqing looked at my face carefully. Finally, he reached out his hand, and his finger gently brushed across my cheek. You put on a bit too much foundation. Pay attention next time. In the library, Lu Jingqing sat beside me, took out the math book, and started explaining the problems. I listened with sleepy eyes for the whole morning until I saw the clock in the library pointing to 12. I picked up my coat and was about to leave. Lu Jingqing tried to hold me back, but I dodged. Student Lu, I'm hungry and I really need to eat. Please let me go. After taking a taxi home, I could smell the aroma of braised pork ribs even before entering the door. If there were no surprises, I would be able to see my busy father today. I opened the door, and sure enough, my dad was sitting on the sofa. In the kitchen, Xia Chenxiao was busy. Tisk, she can only show off her skills in cooking. I threw down my coat and threw myself into my dad's arms. Come to think of it, ever since I got together with Song Yishuan, my dad had been completely disappointed in me, so I never saw him again until I died. Dad, I missed you so much. I rubbed against my dad's arms. He was a bit stunned, and then he patted my head. What do you want to buy this time? When I heard that, I pouted. Can't your daughter act coquettishly with you if she doesn't want to buy anything? As soon as I finished speaking, Xia Chenxiao brought out the last dish from the kitchen. Time to eat. Come on, Chi-Chi. There's also the braised pork ribs you like today. I pulled my dad and got up to go to the dining table. 9 During the meal, I kept putting food on Jiang Yanwei's plate. Xia Chenxiao beside me didn't even have room to put the food she wanted to pick up. In my previous life, not only did I not listen to Jiang Yanwei, but I also opposed him everywhere, which made my own father disappointed in me. This time, pleasing my own father is the second step of my counterattack. Oh, Chi-Chi has grown up and knows how to show filial piety to your dad, Xia Chenxiao spoke. At an inappropriate time, I ignored her, and my dad smiled politely during this meal. Xia Chenxiao felt extremely awkward, she couldn't get a word in edgewise, and she couldn't even pick up any food. After the meal, I climbed upstairs, then I suddenly remembered that my phone was still on the sofa, so I turned back. My dad and Xia Chenxiao were still eating. When I was almost at the bottom of the stairs, I heard Xia Chuanxiao's voice, Yanwei, I think there's something wrong with Chi-Chi today, she must have something she wants to ask you for. I stopped in my tracks and sat directly on the stairs. I wanted to see what Xia Chenxiao was up to. My dad was still eating, and Xia Chenxiao continued, Yanwei, I won't hide it from you. Chi-Chi told me yesterday that she really doesn't want to marry Lu Jingqing, but she's too afraid to tell you herself, so she asked me to tell you. After hearing that, my dad frowned but still didn't say anything. At that time, my dad also knew that I disliked Lu Jingqing, but he always thought that as long as the engagement wasn't dissolved, we would still make up. He always prefers gentle persuasion to force. Maybe he also guessed that I was acting coquettishly with him today to talk about this matter, so he didn't refute. Seeing this, Xia Chenxiao put down her chopsticks and continued to exaggerate. Oh, Yanwei, although Jingqing is very excellent, there's nothing we can do if Chi-Chi doesn't like him. Who told you I don't like him? I couldn't stand it anymore and got up and walked out. She and Mengqing are truly mother and daughter. They say the same things. When Xia Chenxiao saw me, her face turned ashen. Chi-Chi, why did you come down? I sneered and sat beside my dad. This is my home. I can go up or down whenever I want. It's not your place to tell me what to do, is it? Xia Chuanxiao's face became even uglier. After all, I had never talked to her like that before. Before this, our relationship was still passable. Chi-Chi. Also, I've never told you that I don't want to marry Lu Jingqing. She called my name, but I interrupted her and continued. As soon as my dad heard that, he beamed with joy and took my hand. Chi-Chi, do you really think so? Dad thought you really didn't like that boy from the Lu family. I held my dad's hand back. Dad, I wrongly blamed you before. I thought you arranged this engagement for your own sake. So many people want to marry into the Lu family, but I was ungrateful. I was so wrong. After that, my dad and I hugged each other and cried. Seeing this, Xia Chenxiao immediately found an excuse to leave, but how could I let her off so easily? Aunt Xia, you heard what I said, right? Don't make decisions for me anymore in the future, otherwise, I can't guarantee what I might say. Xia Chenxiao stopped in her tracks, looked at me, nodded, and then ran away. After dealing with everything, I went back to my room contentedly and took a nap after getting my phone. When I woke up again, it was already 6 o'clock in the afternoon. I went downstairs feeling parched to get some water and found that there was already a glass of water poured on the coffee table. Maybe I had learned my lesson, so I didn't touch that glass of water. Instead, I refilled a cup from the water dispenser. Just as I took a sip of the newly filled water, my phone rang. I took 2 more sips and was about to answer the call, but after taking 2 steps, my vision actually became a bit blurry. I forced myself to walk to the coffee table. My vision became more and more blurry. I picked up my phone, and the caller ID showed Lu Jingqing. Before I could answer, I lost consciousness. In the last moment before losing consciousness, I panicked. Am I going to die again? Can I be resurrected by watching the Brain Gold advertisement this time? The moment I regained consciousness, I instinctively reached out to touch my body. Thank goodness, I was still in my physical form, but when I looked again, the decoration style here was that of a hotel. I looked at the white bedsheet on my body and realized that my clothes were already gone, leaving only 2 pieces of cloth to cover my modesty. I widened my eyes and found that there was a man lying beside me. When I saw his face clearly, I was almost scared to death. It was Song Yishuan. I pulled the quilt over me and ran to the corner wrapped in the quilt. Song Yishuan got up when he heard the noise. When he saw me in the corner, he smiled. Sorry, it's out of necessity. I have to wrong you for now. I thought something was seriously wrong. If Song Yishuan was here, it meant that this matter definitely had something to do with Meng Qing and her mother. I had already witnessed how ruthless they were in my previous life. Maybe because I hadn't fallen out with my dad and my relationship with Lu Jingqing had also improved, I might have already watched the advertisement again, playing dirty tricks. What do you want? If you want money, I have it too. I'm much richer than Meng Qing. Let me go, and I'll give you double the amount. Song Yishuan's eyes sparkled, and then he sighed. Although that's the case, it's already too late. I won't do anything to betray my employer either. I gritted my teeth, and my hands trembled involuntarily. What the hell, a money grubber playing the loyalty card, do you even deserve it? If I'm not wrong, Meng Qing wants to ruin me. The next second, there came a fierce crashing sound at the door. I panicked completely and had already imagined the headline news for tomorrow. Song Yishuan stood up and said to me as he walked, "Sorry, Miss Jiang." I also, bang, the door was kicked open, and Song Yishuan was knocked to the ground with a punch. I looked up and saw that it was Lu Jingqing. There were still some fine beads of sweat on his forehead, and his eyes were bloodshot, as if he had just been crying. Seeing him, even though I had thought it was no big deal at first, my eyes instantly turned red. He walked quickly towards me and pulled me into his arms. "Chi-Chi, I'm sorry, I'm late." 11 I was carried home in a princess carry by Lu Jingqing. After Song Yishuan was taken away by the police, he immediately revealed his true colors and confessed everything. My dad, upon learning about this, even cancelled his plane ticket to Country M. When my dad saw me, I was lying beside Lu Jingqing and eating a cake. When my dad saw me like this, he first patted Lu Jingqing on the shoulder, and then slumped down in relief. "Thank you, Jingqing. If it weren't for you, I really don't know what would have happened to Chi-Chi today." As soon as my dad finished speaking, the door opened again. "Is my daughter-in-law okay?" I heard the voice before seeing the person. It was Lu Jingqing's mother. The moment I saw his mother, I was still amazed. Including the previous times, I hadn't seen his mother for almost 5 or 6 years. I have to say, Lu Jingqing's mother is really beautiful, and the more I look at her, the more beautiful she seems. I have no resistance to good looking sisters. I put down the cake in my hand and replied with a smile, "Aunt Lu, I'm fine. Look, I'm still full of energy." Afraid that she wouldn't believe me, I got off the sofa and jumped twice. Seeing this, Lu Jingqing's mother patted her chest, then pulled me to her side and hugged me tightly. "Oh, my little baby, it's good that you're okay. You almost scared me to death, Auntie." After chatting for a long time, my dad's face turned serious after answering a phone call. "Xia Chenxiao booked a plane ticket to Country F just now." After saying that, Lu Jingqing sat up from the sofa, and my dad didn't hesitate. He picked up the car keys and was about to leave. I also trotted along behind. Lu Jingqing glanced at me. "Go back, little girls shouldn't join in the fun for this kind of thing." I shook my head and insisted on going with them. Besides, I'm no longer a little girl, having experienced death once. My mentality is like that of an 80-year-old woman. I'd even seen the way I died miserably. How could I be afraid of them catching Xia Chenxiao? No, Xia Chenxiao has caused me so much suffering. If I don't see her being caught with my own eyes, I'll be so miserable. I acted coquettishly while holding Lu Jingqing's arm, and he had to nod in agreement. The airport was a long way away, and my dad drove very fast. I felt a bit dizzy in the back seat. Seeing that I was uncomfortable, Lu Jingqing pressed my head against his shoulder. "It will be better if you close your eyes." 20 minutes later, we arrived at the airport. The police car arrived at the place almost at the same time. After getting out of the car, my dad greeted the police. When he turned around and saw me being supported by Lu Jingqing, his eyes lit up. "Ah, Jingqing, take good care of Chi-Chi. I'll go and look for someone first." Lu Jingqing nodded and slowly dragged me forward while I was retching. There were a lot of people in the airport, and because I was carsick, I could only sit at the entrance with Lu Jingqing and wait. Lu Jingqing held a bottle of water in one hand and supported me with the other. He sighed. "I just said don't come with us, but you insisted. See, now you're carsick." I whined melodramatically. "Woo, my head is so dizzy." He gave me a helpless look and then started massaging my temples. I closed my eyes and didn't notice the fierce gaze behind me at all. 12 Chi-Chi, behind you. My dad's heart-rending shout came. I opened my eyes and found that Meng Qing was actually holding a knife in her hand and rushing towards me. I quickly pushed Lu Jingqing away. To be honest, after being hit and killed by a car in my previous life, I've become immune to any tools that can harm me. Lu Jingqing was pushed away by me. The moment Meng Qing got close to me, I nimbly dodged. She was still cursing nonstop. "Jiang Chi-Chi, it's you who stole everything from me. You even stole my mother. Why do you still get to live? Why?" She was shouting behind me while I was running in front. Xia Chenxiao was brought over by the police. She cried and called out to Meng Qing. "Qing, stop quickly. Mom was wrong. Don't do anything stupid." Meng Qing kept chasing after me, unwilling to give up. The police from all directions raised their guns, and I successfully ran to the safe area. Meng Qing looked at the scene in front of her and stopped in her tracks as if waking up from a dream. Then she knelt down and sat on the ground. The knife in her hand slipped, and she looked ahead with empty eyes. The police immediately arrested her and put handcuffs on her. Only then did I take 2 deep breaths. Lu Jingqing walked up to me. I couldn't stand anymore and collapsed into his arms, looking at Meng Qing's back as she was being taken away. I sighed. She was indeed a poor soul. Her own mother abandoned her, worked as a cook for someone else's family for more than 10 years, and in the end, didn't end up well. I shook my head and sighed again. Since when have I become so benevolent? Her mother and daughter almost cost you your life twice. I slapped myself on the face with a slap sound. Lu Jingqing was stunned and quickly protected my face. What are you doing? Don't do anything stupid. 13. After Meng Qing and Xia Chunxiao were arrested, I never heard any news about them again and focused on preparing for the college entrance examination. After the college entrance examination, my grades were surprisingly good, a full 50 points higher than in my previous life. I was so excited that I danced around while calling Lu Jingqing, but I heard him sighing and complaining. My heart skipped a beat. Could it be that he didn't perform well in the exam? It's okay. Everyone has times when they don't do well in the exam. Worst case scenario, I'll repeat the senior year with you. I seemed to have made up my mind, but Lu Jingqing laughed. Didn't perform well? I didn't say that. I looked at his back, feeling mixed emotions inside. When my dad learned about my grades, he was so excited that he couldn't sleep all night. The next morning, he pulled me into the study and said to me mysteriously, "Chi-Chi, you did so well in the exam this time. Dad thinks your talent shouldn't be limited to the country." I was shocked. It seemed that he was going to let me study abroad. "So Dad has decided to send you abroad. The school has already been found. It's the best one in country M." My dad kept talking, but I was stunned. Was I going to be separated from Lu Jingqing this time too, if I went abroad? The distance between us wouldn't be just 2,000 kilometers. "Dad, what about Lu Jingqing?" I asked. My dad didn't hesitate. "Jingqing will definitely go with you." After he said that, I couldn't hear anything else he said clearly. Going to university with Lu Jingqing. This sentence kept repeating in my mind. 14. 2 months later, Lu Jingqing and I said goodbye to our families at the airport. At the airport, I suddenly remembered Meng Qing and the others, so I casually asked my dad, "How are Meng Qing and the others?" My dad waved his hand. "They've already been sent to do hard labor in prison." He said this lightly, as if Meng Qing was just an insignificant person. Hearing this, Lu Jingqing tightened his hold on my hand. The moment the plane took off, Lu Jingqing whispered in my ear, "Miss Jiang Chi-Chi, would you like to have a campus romance with me?" I looked at the plane gradually leaving the ground and nodded firmly. Story 2. On the day my amniotic fluid broke prematurely, my husband was busy celebrating his ex-girlfriend's birthday. I died on a street corner waiting for help. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself back in high school. A handsome, sunny boy sitting behind me blushed as he asked if I would be his girlfriend. "Stop with the disgusting talk. Don't let me hear that again." At school, everyone was talking about how Jiang He's devoted follower, Lin Yan, had fallen for someone else. She hadn't brought Jiang He his usual morning milk, nor had she brought him drinks and towels during basketball, nor had she saved him a seat in the library. She wasn't even chattering beside him during breaks. She's been following him for almost a year, and she's just giving up. Maybe she's just throwing a tantrum, waiting for Jiang He to sweet-talk her. I think it's really a change of heart. I heard the school heartthrob from Third High is chasing her. With a slap, Jiang He slammed his English book on the desk. "It's reading time now. If you want to gossip, go outside." Just as he said this, I happened to walk to the door. The classroom fell silent. Dozens of eyes stared directly at me, pretending not to notice. I walked to my seat, pulled out the chair, and sat down. When I opened my bag, there were 2 glass bottles of milk inside. It must have been the aunt at home who, out of habit, heated 2 cups of milk, forgetting I had said I only needed 1 from now on. Jiang He's deskmate, Zhang Xiaoyang, nudged his arm and whispered, "Lin Yan is trying to make amends with you. I told you she wouldn't last a few days." Jiang He's eyes flickered, but in his line of sight, I handed the milk to my deskmate instead. "Here, you drink it." Song Ning, visibly shocked, asked uncertainly, "For me?" I nodded. Then, I opened my Chinese textbook and started to read silently. Song Ning leaned closer, curious. "Yan Yan, why have you started studying?" I didn't look up. "I'm thinking about getting into class next semester." I had entered the school with the second highest score in the city but had deliberately underperformed on the first monthly test to be in the same class as Jiang He, dropping from class A to class F. But now, I had no reason to stay in this class. Thinking about the boy behind me, who, 9 years later, would become my husband, yet, when I was struggling to carry our new life, he lingered in the tenderness of his first love, our child, carrying his blood, hadn't even seen the world before dying with me on that cold night. I couldn't forgive him, so, it was time to end this tragic connection early. At noon, I went with Song Ning to the cafeteria. After the chef served me the pork rib rice I wanted, he smiled and asked, "What are you getting for Jiang-hee today?" "We have his favorite squirrel fish." I paused. I remembered how passionately and boldly I pursued Jiang-hee during high school. I stuffed his desk full of love letters. Despite the principal's warnings, I confessed loudly to him with a megaphone on the podium under the fluttering flag. Even the cafeteria chef knew his favorite dishes. Everyone knew I liked Jiang-hee. It was almost like I was a joke, determined to bash my head against the south wall without turning back. Now, thinking about it, it all seemed ridiculous. I shook my head. "I'm not getting his food anymore." I paused, then added, "I won't do it ever again." The chef paused in his motion to serve the squirrel fish, and I turned and walked away with Song Ning. Unexpectedly, we met Jiang-hee at the end of the line. Our eyes met, and he looked stunned. I moved my gaze away first and walked off without looking back. Song Ning whispered, "Lin Yan, what's going on? Why are you suddenly ignoring Jiang-hee?" I sat at the table, mixing the pork rib sauce with white rice. "It was nothing special, just that life used to be quite dull before," she said. After I stopped revolving my life around Jiang-hee, I realized how much free time I actually had. I could chat with the girls about celebrity gossip, share my favorite strawberry milkshakes and donuts. With the guys, I could arm wrestle or see who could throw paper airplanes the farthest. I took out the old exercise books from my desk and gradually finished them. During breaks, I'd feed the stray cats at school and even made them a shelter out of old cardboard boxes. A high school life without constant worry turned out to be youthful and wonderful. Several days passed, and then came our school's basketball tournament. The homeroom teacher asked us all to go to the playground to cheer for our classmates. I remember in my past life, I even formed a cheerleading squad and learned a complicated dance to support Jiang-hee's team, but due to a mishap in a lift, I was dropped hard on the ground, resulting in multiple injuries. Eventually, Jiang-hee's team won the game with a high score amidst a sky full of congratulations and applause. His eyes shone with brotherhood and honor, but I was absent from his gaze this time. I used feeling unwell as an excuse to ask the teacher for leave and stayed back in the classroom to memorize English vocabulary. Such silly, absurd things. I thought I'd never do them again in my life. Song Ning came running back halfway through and said to me, "Today, Jiang-hee was completely off his game," kept glancing at the spectator stands as if he was looking for someone. After saying that, she looked at me and asked, "Yen Yen, could he have been looking for you?" "No way," I replied, continuing to write down English words, calmly denying it. During this period, Jiang-hee's dislike for Lin Yan was practically written all over his face. He was happier when I wasn't there. Song Ning continued to ramble on about the game. I really wasn't in the mood to listen, and although I didn't want to interrupt her, I excused myself to go get some hot water. Just as I stepped out of the classroom, I saw a few people walking quickly towards me. Just as I was stepping aside, Zhang Xiaoyang, supporting Jiang-hee, shouted at me, "Lin Yan, don't you have a pain relief spray? Quick, bring it for Jiang-hee. He's hurt." Indeed, because Jiang-hee liked playing basketball, I had prepared a small medical kit with many imported medicines not available on the market, which were very effective for bruises and sprains. However, he had clearly won the match in my previous life. How could he be injured this time? "Lin Yan, what are you spacing out for?" Zhang Xiaoyang urged anxiously. I snapped back to reality, glanced at Jiang He's swollen ankle, and said with an indifferent voice, "It expired." I threw it away. After saying that, I took my water cup to the water room to fill it up, not sparing him even a glance. What was I thinking? His injury, what does it have to do with me? He didn't care a bit about my pain in the past life. Why should I feel sorry for him? Behind me, Zhang Xiaoyang gasped in shock, and a piercing gaze seemed to bore into my back, as if trying to drill a hole through me. Jiang-hee took leave due to his foot injury and didn't come to school for 2 days. When my mother heard about this, she had the maid make bone soup and insisted I deliver it to Jiang-hee to help him recover. Just because our families have been close for generations and she watched Jiang-hee grow up, she insisted that I personally visit him. Only then would she be at ease. Although I repeatedly expressed my reluctance, it was hard to withstand my mother's insistence. She even took measures to ensure I wouldn't run away. Halfway, he also instructed the driver to make sure I was dropped off right at Jianghe's doorstep. So, there I was, holding a pot of chicken soup, heading to Jianghe's house. It was dusk, and the leaves of the plane trees rustled in the wind as I walked. Wrapping my thin coat tighter around me, I got out of the car and was greeted by the sight of a small, three-story white building. The last rays of the sunset cast an irritating orange hue over it. It was all too familiar. As a child, I often ran over to his house, and we even lived together there for nearly 2 years. Every corner of this place was filled with memories of us, me, trying to comfort him through his heartbreak, and him, promising to treat me well for a lifetime, a promise I believed in. My heart felt like it was being torn apart, the pain making my whole body tremble. After a long while, I calmed down, opened the thermos, and the aromatic scent of bone broth wafted out. I ended up feeding it to a stray dog on the ground. He didn't deserve such a fine soup. Only after the dog had finished it did I prepare to leave. Just as I turned to go, someone called my name. The voice was youthful yet familiar, but I was too indifferent to even turn around. Jiang, he quickly caught up to me, his cane wobbling, nearly causing him to fall right in front of me. Sweat beaded on his pale forehead as he almost choked out, "Lin Yan, what on earth are you thinking?" Swallowing the bitterness in my throat, I looked at the boy before me, once my dearest, now just defiant and youthful. I curved my lips into a half-smile, my expression cold and fearless. "I don't understand what you're saying." With that, I continued walking. He quickly stepped in front of me again, his chest heaving, lips pale. It was clear that even those few steps had been a painful struggle for him. "Why are you ignoring me?" Jianghe's eyes were desperate for answers, but he couldn't read my face. Then, pointing to the ground where the food container lay, he continued, "Wasn't that bone soup for me? Why would you feed it to a dog? You used to insist on visiting me at home, and now you won't even come up. I've been hurt for days, and you haven't shown any concern. Isn't this better?" I cut him off coldly. "After all, you find me annoying." Jianghe was speechless for a moment before he nodded. "Yes, I don't like you pestering me. I'm happier when you stay away from me." He stared at me, a sneer forming. "Lin Yan, you better not be playing some twisted game. You know I hate that game." I couldn't blame Jianghe for thinking that way. In my past life, I did many foolish things to catch his attention. Although he eventually became my husband, I never truly won his heart and even met a tragic end on the streets. So, in this life, I won't waste any more time or emotions on him. "You think too highly of yourself. I don't have time to play games with you." My voice was flat, emotionless. The bone soup was my mother's idea. She insisted the driver bring it. "You know how she is. Just pretend you've already had it, and don't bother me." Jianghe's look was one of disbelief. "You think I'm a dog?" I shrugged. "If that's what you think, I can't help it." Without giving him a chance to argue, I walked away. Seeing him every day at school was already enough torture. Now, I just wanted to disappear. But just a few steps later, the thermos suddenly arced through the air and crashed to the ground with a bang. Then came Jianghe's furious voice. "I sure as hell don't need your damn soup." Since the soup incident, Jianghe and I had not spoken a word to each other. I've decided to no longer be involved with anything related to him. Instead of desperately trying to win his favor, I've shifted all my focus to my studies, aiming to return to Class A as soon as possible. Once I'm back in Class A, I won't have to see him every day. With the college entrance exams 2 years away, unlike my previous life, I won't deliberately downgrade my academic track to stay in the same city he chooses for university. Watching him break up and get back together with his first love in a dramatic cycle, I plan to distance myself far from all this drama, ideally to the point where our paths never cross again in this lifetime. However, the high school curriculum is proving quite challenging for me at the moment, so I asked my mom to find a tutor to help me catch up. Among many candidates, I chose Xijing, a top student from Class A who significantly outperformed me in the middle school entrance exams and attended the same school and grade as I did. Our first conversation was notably straightforward. I said, "I want to improve my grades as quickly as possible to return to Class A." He simply replied, "Leave it to me." I began to spend more time with Xijing, accumulating questions about problems I couldn't solve and then visiting him during breaks to discuss them. We even started to meet at a nearby fast food restaurant after school to work through questions together. Over time, new rumors began to swirl at our school. People said that I had stopped obsessing over Jianghe because I had shifted my affection towards Xijing, using my studies as an excuse to harass this academic achiever, which they found repulsive. Xijing's fan club, particularly the girls, were not pleased. One day after school, they cornered me behind the academic building. Lin Yan, stay away from Xijing, someone from Class F like you doesn't deserve to be around him, said a girl with a buzz cut, muscular build, and taller than me, likely a shot put specialist from Class C. The three girls with her, though not as tall, looked just as menacing. They quickly formed a circle, trapping me in the middle. Trying to remain calm, I said, Xijing is my tutor, I pay him for his services, and I haven't taken any undue advantage. The girl with the buzz cut scoffed, what tutor? Isn't that just your excuse to hit on Xijing? Lin Yan, you're shameless, you went to extremes chasing Jiang He and now you're harassing Xijing. Even as a girl, I'm embarrassed for you, you're truly disgusting. Another added, he'll never like someone as fickle and academically indifferent as you. Xijing is a good student. If his grades drop because of you and it affects his college entrance, can you bear the responsibility? I was speechless. Yes, I admit I was a bit of a romantic fool before, but I've since reformed and am focused on my studies. Why does helping me with a few questions upset them so much, especially when I'm paying for his help? Enough talking. The buzzcut girl lost her patience and stepped forward, bumping into me with her chest, pushing me back several steps. You won't realize your mistake until we teach you a lesson. As they rolled up their sleeves, ready to start a fight, Xijing suddenly appeared. He grabbed my wrist and pulled me behind him. His tall frame and broad shoulders exuded an air of inviolability. The girls, who had been aggressive moments before, instantly changed their demeanor, showing a mix of innocence and cuteness at his arrival. Xijing, don't be fooled by Lin Yan, they pleaded, she's just a schemer, couldn't chase after Jiang He so now she's bothering you, they said, we're just looking out for you, she's a poor student from Class F, what if she affects your studies? She just wants to date you, unlike us, who truly care for you. While they called me a schemer, they continued to gossip. At that moment, someone nearby spoke up, Lin Yan is my sugar daddy, they declared loudly, leaving even me momentarily stunned. Xijing confidently put his arm around my shoulders and announced, I rely on her for my livelihood, anyone who tries to cut off my financial support will have to deal with me. After his bold declaration, he quickly pulled me away amidst the shocked stares of everyone around us. Finally, we stepped out of the school. He held my shoulder, turning me around to check from head to toe. Did you lose out on anything? He asked. I shook my head. He sighed in relief. That's good, I'll handle those people. They won't bully you anymore. You won't stop me from tutoring you because of this, will you? I can safely say no one could teach you better than I do. Seeing my silence, he grew anxious. I'll take over your duties too. I'll even fetch hot water for you until you graduate. From now on, you're my boss, he said, looking down, his scent of cedar filling the air. Is that okay, Lin Yan? I found him amusing and nodded my head. Honestly, Xijing really has a knack for explaining things, and I'd probably struggle with a new tutor. His expression relaxed. From now on, when I come to your class, if they have to say something, let them talk about me. The next day during the big class break, Xijing showed up in my class as arranged. You know, Class A students are academically excellent and proud, usually disdainful of mixing with Class F students. His arrival instantly caused a sensation in the class under the gaze of dozens of eyes. Xijing confidently walked up to me, casually took the pen from my hand, glanced at the math problem I couldn't solve, and quickly jotted down the solution on a scrap paper. I admiringly gave him a thumbs up, a true genius indeed. Behind me, Zhang Xiaoyang nudged Jiang He's arm and whispered, that's Xijing, the one who's been getting close to Lin Yan recently. Jiang He scoffed and turned his head to continue sleeping. But just a few seconds later, he sat upright and kicked my stool's leg hard. Lin Yan, you're disturbing my sleep, he complained. I frowned at him. I had been quietly studying the problem. Besides, the class was noisy everywhere, much louder than me, so I ignored him and continued discussing the problem with Xijing. Out of nowhere, a ballpoint pen flew from behind and hit my notebook, leaving a long black line. Damn it, just when I'd solved the problem, Jiang He leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, legs on the table, looking unapproachable. We from Class F don't welcome people from Class A, be sensible and get out, he said. A bottom-ranked class rejecting a top student that was just looking for trouble. I took a deep breath and retorted, Jiang He, if you're sick, go take your medicine, don't go crazy here. Jiang He's face darkened completely, his eyes fixed on me fiercely. Zhang Xiaoyang and Song Ning were so frightened that they gasped for air. I glared at him, turned my head, and began to tidy up the books on the table. Xijing, let's go to the rooftop and ignore the lunatic. After saying that, I grabbed Xijing's hand and walked out. The noisy classroom suddenly fell silent, and all eyes were on us. Behind me, Zhang Xiaoyang muttered softly, "Damn, is she really with Xijing?" Jiang He was silent. Due to Jiang He's disturbance, the long break was almost over. I made plans with Xijing to meet at the milk tea shop after school to study together. However, when I packed my bag and was ready to leave in the evening, Jiang He appeared at the classroom door. Considering his behavior during the day, I didn't want to waste words and planned to ignore him and leave, but he blocked my way. "I heard you want to get into Class A." I was a bit impatient. "Yes, what about it? I'll find you a tutor," he said, staring down at me. "The best one. I don't need it. Xijing is enough for me." Jiang He's face turned ugly, and he gritted out a few words. "What does he know? Anyway, he knows more than you." I pushed past him and walked away without looking back. 6. Under Xijing's guidance, my academic performance improved by leaps and bounds. I achieved good results in several quizzes. However, I was still some distance away from returning to Class A. One day, when I was writing a physics test paper, Song Ning rushed in from outside, holding a bag of snacks. "I heard that a transfer student will come to our class later." I paused my pen, calculating the time she should be coming. The class bell rang. Just like in my previous life, Jiang He carried her into the classroom on his back. On her way to report to Class F, she got lost. When she passed by the basketball court, she was hit on the leg by Jiang He's basketball. I looked at Bai Xinjin's face. To be honest, she wasn't really good looking. Her eyes weren't big, her nose wasn't straight, her skin wasn't fair, and she wasn't very smart. She was thin and small, barely considered delicate. Yet such a person could make Jiang He defy his parents' orders and even go on a hunger strike to protest, just to make her his girlfriend. I almost witnessed the entire process of their relationship, from being affectionate to breaking up, getting back together, and finally breaking up again. In fact, I kind of took advantage of the situation. At that time, Jiang He was deeply hurt. He got drunk every day, looking haggard. I just accompanied him. I drank with him, smoked with him, and stayed with him when he couldn't sleep. I cried when he cried and laughed when he laughed, just like that. After getting drunk one time, he pinned me down on the bed. When he woke up, he was dazed for a while, and then he said he wanted to marry me. I laughed until I cried. I thought that all deep affection would not be let down. Who knew that when I was 7 months pregnant, these two people went on a date behind my back? I was just a side note in their magnificent love story. Bai Xinjin's seat was arranged in front of mine. Jiang He carried her carefully and placed her on the seat. She looked up, her cheeks slightly red, and whispered a "thank you." Jiang He shook his head and said it was nothing. My heart felt bitter. I quickly lowered my head, and tears welled up in my eyes, almost falling. In my previous life, I was arrogant and never regarded the ordinary Bai Xinjin as a rival, but this time, I really wanted to escape. After school, Xijing came to me. "Boss, your favorite strawberry milkshake." It's funny to say, although Xijing is my tutor, I should be the one providing him with good food and drink, but he always buys me all kinds of delicious food. He claims that it's for a good balance between work and rest, which can improve learning efficiency. I shook my head. "Xijing, I want to drink." So the two of us went to the night market behind the school and ordered beer and skewers. Since I decided to study hard, every time I met Xijing, we were doing exercises. It was rare to come out and relax. During the meal, neither of us spoke. He was wolfing down skewers, and I was gulping down beer. After eating and drinking my fill, I was so dizzy that I could barely stand. He immediately squatted down to carry me. "No need, don't be polite. I ate to have the strength to carry you." Xijing carried me without asking for my opinion. "Boss, be happy." He had been with me all the time. When I didn't talk, he also remained silent. It was not until now that he said this. I lay on his back, and tears couldn't help but fall. Patter, patter. I couldn't tell anyone about my experiences in my previous life. No one could understand my pain. It's like I really wanted to, and should have, hated some people, but these people in this life hadn't done anything, so I had no reason to. Xijing carried me all the way, and I cried all the way. When there was only one intersection left before we reached home, I exhaled softly. "Xijing, in this life, I'll be willful just this once. In the future, no one can make me cry again." "Boss," Xijing's voice was gentle, "if you want to be willful, then be willful. Anyway, I'll comfort you. After all, I'm good at studying and don't need to work too hard, I have plenty of time. My heart warmed, and I smiled silently. 7. The monthly exam was getting closer. I started to study even harder, hoping to be transferred to Class A as soon as possible. One day during self-study, Bai Jinjin threw a paper ball over and quietly asked me to pass it to Jianghe behind me. I was looking at the key points marked by Xijing. And this sudden action interrupted me. I was a bit annoyed. I remembered that in my previous life, it was the same. At that time, I was extremely hostile to all the girls who wanted to get close to Jianghe. I immediately opened the paper ball and found a chocolate candy and a little ghost face she drew. I was instantly furious and unceremoniously declared my ownership of Jianghe to her, telling her not to waste her efforts. However, after class, she was crying in Jianghe's arms with red eyes. The way Jianghe looked at me was as if he wanted to kill me. Thinking of this, I just glanced at the paper ball. Miss, it's self-study time. If you don't want to study, it doesn't mean others don't either. Bai Jinjin's face turned bright red, and she said, it's just passing a note. Is it really necessary for you to be like this? If you really love studying that much, would you be in Class F? Damn it, was she looking down on me? I'm in Class F because I want to be here, not because I only deserve to be here. After saying that, I immediately stood up, packed my things, and threw them on Bai Jinjin's desk. Since you want to pass notes so much, fine, I'll switch seats with you. You can pass them to your heart's content. Bai Jinjin's eyes were filled with tears, and her teeth left a mark on her lips. Why are you targeting me? I didn't want to snatch Jianghe from you. I just wanted to thank him. Hearing this self-exposing tone, I guessed she must have heard about how I had pursued Jianghe so blatantly. Passing this note was just to embarrass me. Unfortunately, I didn't care anymore. First, you can snatch whoever you want and thank whoever you want. It has nothing to do with me. Second, I've created convenient conditions for you. You should thank me. Then, I pulled her up and sat in her seat. In fact, I had long been fed up with being sandwiched between these two people. I just took this opportunity to leave. Finally, I sincerely hoped that these two people would be locked together and stop harming others. At this moment, Jianghe, who had been lying on the table sleeping, suddenly sat up straight. Seeing us switch seats, he frowned and said, Lin Yan, what do you mean? Since I refused his offer to introduce a tutor to me last time, we hadn't talked for a long time. I turned my head and smiled faintly, helping others achieve their happiness. You're welcome. Jianghe's face looked ugly. Taking the opportunity, Bai Jinjin picked up the paper ball and said, I'm sorry. Did I wake you up? It's all my fault. I just transferred here and made classmate Lin Yan unhappy. Jianghe, I saw you didn't have breakfast. Do you want to have a chocolate candy? Jianghe was in a bad mood and impatiently knocked the paper ball out of her hand. I fucking hate sweets the most. Bai Jinjin's face turned deathly pale instantly. I didn't want to watch the love-hate drama of this couple, so I tidied up my desk and continued studying. Soon, the class ended. I picked up my cup and was about to go to the water room to get some water. Unexpectedly, Bai Jinjin snatched my cup first. With that innocent and aggrieved face again, she said, Classmate Lin Yan, I'm sorry, I said the wrong thing during self-study. Let me get water for you. Will you forgive me? No need. If you don't let me get water for you, does it mean you still don't want to forgive me? Do you really hate me that much? My temples were throbbing. It was really tiring to talk to this person. I just want to be friends with classmate Lin Yan. She continued talking to herself and shook the cup in her hand. Don't worry, I'll be quick. Then, without waiting for my reply, she ran out in a flash. Song Ning was also stunned. Is she okay? I shrugged, indicating that I didn't understand. About 5 minutes later, Bai Jinjin came in with hot water. Classmate Lin Yan, here you are. I reached out to take it, but she let go in advance and deliberately tilted the cup towards herself. The steaming hot water gushed out and almost all poured onto her hand. Bai Jinjin cried out in pain. Classmate Lin Yan, I just wanted to be friends with you. Why can't you forgive me? This shout instantly attracted the attention of the whole class. Can you believe it? A 16-year-old girl had such scheming. I originally thought that although she was plain looking, from a poor family, and not good at studying, since she could make Jianghe deeply in love with her, she must have some unknown charm. But now, this was all she had. I was about to get angry when Jianghe suddenly rushed over. What's going on? Where did you get burned? Bai Jinjin, with tears on her face, held up her red-hot hand and said, I'm fine. Don't blame classmate Lin Yan. She definitely didn't do it on purpose. Unexpectedly, he bypassed Bai Jinjin and came straight to me. He held my hand and carefully examined it several times. compared to Bai Jinjin's bright red hand. I only had a few red dots splashed on mine. Are you blind? Jiang He roared at Bai Jinjin furiously, you can't even hold a cup of hot water. When these words came out, not only was Bai Jinjin stunned, but I was also shocked. I was forcefully taken to the infirmary by Jiang He. The doctor's exact words were, if you came any later, the wound would have already healed. Jiang He coughed softly and looked away. On the way back, we walked one in front of the other, not talking to each other. When we were almost at the classroom, the person behind suddenly spoke, Lin Yen, switch the seats back. Why switch back? There was a long silence. When we were almost at the door, he said, I take back what I said about hating you before. After a pause, he added, the day after tomorrow is my birthday, the whole class will be there. Will you come? 8. It was on Jiang He's birthday that I found out I was pregnant. The reason was that I, who usually slept little, suddenly became sleepy and gluttonous. A friend sent me a pregnancy test stick. I tried it, and sure enough, 2 lines appeared. To make sure, I also went to the hospital for an examination. The moment I confirmed the pregnancy, I almost jumped for joy. As soon as I came out of the hospital, I went to the store and bought a gift box. I put the examination result inside and tied a beautiful bow with a ribbon on it. I wholeheartedly thought this was the best gift for Jiang He's 25-year-old birthday, but it was a long time later that I learned from Bai Jinjin that actually, that day, he came to break up with me. Memories really hurt. I rubbed my temples. I have something to do. I can't come. The person behind stopped. It's at the manor we used to go to. I'll wait for you. When you come, I have something very important to tell you. I realized that Jiang He, like Bai Jinjin, couldn't understand simple words. I didn't respond and directly entered the classroom. Time passed quickly, and 2 days later, it was the day. The whole class prepared birthday gifts for Jiang He. Zhang Xiaoyang prepared a basketball, and Song Ning put a bag of crispy noodles in an empty box. She snorted at me and said, Jiang He always bullied you before, giving him a bag of crispy noodles. I think I'm being kind to him. I pursed my lips and smiled. Turning my head, I saw Bai Jinjin put a coffee-colored scarf in a paper bag. There was no logo, so it should be hand-knitted by her. Unfortunately, she didn't know that Jiang He never wore anything without a brand. I went to class, took notes, and did my homework as usual until school was over. Everyone went together to take the special car sent by Jiang He's family, but I avoided the crowd and went alone to a deserted intersection. I took out a paper-folded airplane from my pocket and burned it with a lighter. In this life, I cut my losses in time, stayed away from scumbags and bitches, and lived my own life well. I'm living a good life now, and my future should be good too. The only thing I feel sorry for is the unborn child. The fire quickly devoured the paper airplane. I thought that if I ever had the chance to fall in love and get married in this life, you could come to be my child again. I'm stronger now. This time, I will definitely protect you well. I went home, curled up in the quilt, and read a book. Outside, it started to rain heavily. At 12 o'clock, Jiang He called me. I directly turned off my phone. In the middle of the night, my mom came to wake me up, saying that Jiang He was in the yard. I looked at the clock on the wall. It was 3 o'clock in the morning. The rain outside still hadn't stopped. I went out. He was standing in the drizzle. His hair was sticking to his face, and his eyes were also covered with a layer of moisture. The first thing he said when he saw me was, "Why didn't you come?" I held an umbrella, standing about 5 or 6 steps away. I didn't want to go any closer. The umbrella was small, and I really didn't want to share it with him. I never said I would go. Jiang He closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and said, "Forget it, it doesn't matter." Opening his eyes, he went to the car to get the cake and then brought it to me. "Waiting for you to blow out the candles." I didn't move. Rainwater dripped down from his hair tips, and his lips were frozen purple, but I didn't feel the slightest bit of pity. Our eyes met. In my cold eyes, he flattened the corners of his mouth, sighed, and said, "Lin Yen, can I admit defeat? Please, have mercy on me, talk to me and don't look at me like this." My eyes fell on the cake in his hand. In the past, when it was his birthday, I was the busiest one. I had to pick a gift, make a cake by hand, write a greeting card, and decorate the venue. I didn't ask for anything in return, nor did I expect to blow out the candles with him. I just hoped he would be happy. I didn't know why Jiang He's attitude suddenly changed in this life and he started to care about me. But belated affection is cheaper than grass. I didn't care anymore. "Jiang He, do you understand? I don't like you anymore. Not only that, I don't even want to be friends with you." As soon as these words came out, Jiang He was completely stunned. What what did you say? I switched seats with Bai Jinjin because I wanted to stay away from you. I'm trying to get into Class A also to stay away from you. I used to like you, which might have troubled you. I know I was wrong, and I've changed. Jiang He shook his head vigorously. No, it's not like that, Lin Yan, I like you. From the moment you ignored me. I knew I was wrong. I wanted you to come to my birthday party because I wanted to confess to you. I prepared flowers, fireworks, and a 3,000-word confession letter. It's too late, or maybe I'm just too vengeful. Once I've been hurt, I'll remember it. Jiang He, that's it. In the future, don't come to me again. The bond between us ends right here. The rain hit the umbrella, making a loud clatter. I turned around and walked back to the house without a second thought. This time, I was really stingy. I didn't even leave him the cheap umbrella. 9 Soon, the monthly exam results came out. I ranked among the top 10 in the school and was honored on the honor roll. I also successfully returned to Class A on the day I was packing my things. Song Ning hugged me, crying with swollen eyes. Yan, I really don't want you to leave. After you go to Class A, we won't be able to see each other often. I stroked her head. I'll come back to play with you often. You should also work hard. If you can get into Class A, we can still be desk mates. Song Ning wailed. You might as well kill me. Zhang Xiaoyang gave me a notebook, hoping that I would study hard and make progress every day, and be the light of Class F. Many of my good classmates also came to talk to me for a while, giving me snacks and some small gadgets. After saying goodbye to everyone one by one, I picked up my school bag and was about to leave. Jiang He, who had been silent all this time, came over and wanted to help me carry my things. No need, I refused. Jiang He's outstretched hand froze awkwardly just then. Shijing walked in from outside. He naturally took the school bag from my hand and, under Jiang He's gloomy gaze, accompanied me to Class A. When we reached the door, he went in first, hung the school bag on the desk next to his, and then patted the chair with a big smile. He said, Lin Yan, welcome back. I smiled, sat down next to Shijing, and held out my hand to him. Let's get to know each other again. Classmate Shijing, I'm Lin Yan from Class A. 2 years passed in a flash. During this period, Jiang He came to Class A to look for me from time to time. He would buy meals for me, bring me water, and give me an umbrella when it rained. He was chasing the person he liked with enthusiasm, persistence, and no expectation of return, just like I used to be, but I didn't respond at all. The greatest kindness in my this life was that I didn't hate or take revenge. I put all my energy into self-improvement, aiming to have no more connections with these people and avoid repeating the tragedies of my previous life. After the college entrance examination, Class F organized the last gathering. Jiang He got drunk. With red eyes, he approached me cautiously. After hesitating for a long time, he asked, Lin Yan, I really want to die clearly. At that time, you clearly liked me so much. Why did you suddenly stop liking me? I thought for a while and said softly, I had a dream. In the dream, you were not nice to me. I babbled on about a lot. Strangely, when I told it again, I felt no waves in my heart. It was as if those once vivid and painful memories were someone else's story. He listened carefully. At the end, his long eyelashes drooped, and his eyes were as silent as a deep pool of autumn water. I originally thought he would take it as a clumsy joke, but unexpectedly, he looked at me seriously. Lin Yan, the Jiang He in the previous life didn't love you, but the Jiang He in this life loves you. I took a sip of wine. The alcohol was slightly getting to my head, but the Lin Yan in this life doesn't plan to wait anymore. When the college entrance examination results came out, I applied to a university in the capital, in the city I liked, for the major I liked. I would no longer lower my status and lose myself for anyone or anything. On the day I went to the school to report, Jiang He came to see me off. In the crowded airport, his eyes were full of reluctance. He opened his arms and said, Lin Yan, after you leave, we may not see each other for a long time. It's not too much to ask for a hug before we part, is it? His college entrance examination results were not ideal, so he chose to repeat the senior year. After this separation, it was really hard to say when we would meet again. I took a step back, not letting his hands touch me. Cutting things off cleanly was my way of doing things in this life. His face was full of disappointment. Okay, Lin Yan, wait for me for 1 year. I'll come to find you. I shook my head. I won't wait. Don't waste your time. At this moment, the airport announcement sounded. I turned around and left without hesitation, not even bothering to say a polite farewell. Behind me, Jiang He's voice came, I won't listen to you, Lin Yan, I will definitely come to find you. I took out my earphones and plugged them into my ears. After getting on the plane, I found my corresponding seat and sat down. At this time, a pleasant cedar-like smell wafted over. I turned my head and saw a face that was so handsome it was breathtaking. Shijing smiled at me. Boss, I'll rely on you to take care of me in the next 4 years. Sure, I replied,